Latvians, they're going to be so strong here, so used to this incredible track. But you know what? Enough of the talk, enough of the waiting. We came here to watch some drifting. Let's get qualifying underway. Well, we are in a very mixed conditions here at the moment because I'll tell you what, Ian, a lot of rain dropping earlier on, threats of rain coming in. Will this qualifying session be up, down, left and right? We expect so. But the drivers can't think about that right now. They've got their practice in the bag. The cars are running smooth. And they have to put in their best runs now. They're looking across the grid left and right, and they're saying this is the place to make a name for yourself. And one man looking to make a name for himself is from the Netherlands. It's Clint van Oort. He is the 2018 Dutch Drift Champion. He's a debut this weekend in the European Championship. Said it's a big step up, but he's ready. He's watched his good friend Sebastian Fontaine from Holland come here to the Drift Masters Championship, made a name for himself. He wants to do the very same. He's in this incredible 780 horsepower Toyota-powered Nissan S14. He's warming up his tires, Ian, and it's going to be a little nerve-wracking for him because right now, he's never been at this level before. He wants to show that he's as good as everyone says he is. He's got the whole of Holland behind him. Can he make it happen?
Well, this is the time to prove it, Dave. And speaking to his spotter earlier, he said this is a brand new build. This is the shakedown weekend, first time out here in Riga, driving on this track. Said he felt a little bit nervous, getting used to the car and getting used to this fast circuit. But he lit the tyres up straight away as he comes through the chicane. He gets the green light to go down through the gears. As we make his way round, me and Dave are going to explain to you exactly what the judge is looking for. Early initiation, that's completely messed up his line. You can see now, that long line on the outside of that first turn, that is the first score in outside zone. Transitions down now towards the tyre wall, outside zone 4 there, and 5 on the outside as he comes down. The decel zone after that outside zone. There we go, another outside zone on that wall. You can see that scrappy initiation on the lead up to the first run-in, Dave, completely upset the line. And as you know, the initiation, the first outside zone, if you don't get it right, the rest of the track falls apart.
Yeah, a little first run jitters there from Clint van Oort. And of course, those boxes painted on the ground. Well, drivers are expected to get one wheel in them, but if they want to be awesome, they got to get 2 wheels in them. A couple of zones missed there by Clint as he came around the course, especially that last wall run. That's where you really put the exclamation point on your run. That's what the judges are watching. Is this guy super in control of the car? And unfortunately for Clint, missing a couple of those zones. That early initiation, as you said, it's a really fast first corner, upwards of 140 kilometers an hour. And if you go too early, it messes your lineup. If you go too late, you're in the wall. You got to get that sweet spot, and a 46 on the board. It'll struggle, it'll struggle to he has to get those scores higher because we know these scores are going to sit up in probably the 80s at the cutoff today. So high 70s, 80s will probably be where you need to be. So he's got work to do, but he moves on to another countryman from Holland, Sebastian Fontaine, returning after a little bit of an absence from the championship. 650 horsepower 2JZ BMW E36. Sebastian, though, cool as a cucumber. He's always relaxed.
Certainly does, Dave. Well, here we go, a man that we're expected to see into that outside zone. There we go, look at that big drag of the handbrake, sets the car up in outside zone 1. Fully wheel off the tarmac as Fontaine puts to floor. 6-cylinder turbo power underneath the bonnet of this BMW E36. Navigates his way around. You can see just dab of the handbrake now. This is the only decel zone as he gets up onto the wall, into the outside zone. You can see him scrubbing the handbrake on the foot brake. Front wheel lock there as he gets in and out of that outside zone, across the line. And Fontaine, a much stronger contender there in qualifying.
Well, what I liked about that run was he was fully committed, but he used a little bit of the handbrake just to make it a safe run. He wanted to put a score on the board. What he didn't want to do was score a 0 or a low score. I think that's going to be rewarded by the judges. What I really loved about it was how wild that angle was through the course. Watch this switchback. Look how close he gets to the wall here. Just scrubs the bumper right up along the wall. Used the left foot brake just to slow the front end of the car, get out. Didn't get as wide as he would have liked to, but I think it's a great run. 75 on the board, and what a way to announce your return on the championship.
Exactly that, yeah, a little hiatus away from Drift Masters. Did a little tour in the Middle East and pushed James Dean around. James Dean said he's a man to look forward to. Now, a man that me and you, Dave, have been favouring this weekend already because the sound of this car is Lauri Heinonen. Incredible Nissan 200SX because it has a NASCAR V8 under the bonnet, Dave.
What sort of idea did you come up with? We're just going to take a NASCAR engine, put it into a drift car. This thing sounds incredible. It revs so much higher than a normal V8. And he's looking strong in practice. Let's see, on his debut, can he put in an incredible run? Very wide, very flirting with the edge of the track. That's exactly what the judges want to see. Really exciting one here, right up onto the curves. He is not holding back on this front run. You can see him just lighting up the brake lights. This is a great run so far from Lauri Heinonen as he takes it right now. Can he get close to the wall here? Can he settle that car in? Looks like he can. A little bit of left foot brake. He gets 1 wheel in, and now he gets 2 wheels in. This is a strong, strong first run from the Finnish driver. He's the 2018 and 2020 Finnish drift champion. Comes with all the accolades, and you know what? He's just backed them up.
Well, he certainly has, Dave. What an incredible run there from Lauri Heinonen. Look at this. You can see the rear wheels making their ways into those zones. You can see slowing the car down as he made his way in and out of that zone before the transition, back on full throttle, the slow-mo camera picking up all of the angles of Lauri Heinenen's Nissan 200SX there as he transitions back. As you said, look at the way it glances out of the side window on the handbrake again and gets the back end of that car dangerously close to the wall. 84 for Lauri Heinenen, and a big statement as his debut here at the Drift Masters European Championship.
Well, as you often say, Ian, he is not messing around. He came here to do an incredible job, and you know what? That takes a lot of the pressure off him. And 84 on the board might be enough to qualify him. He can go for broke on the second. Moving it back to the start line, we have got Roland Berzins, 36 years of age. He's the hometown hero. Everyone here wants to see him do well. You know, everyone's not biased in drifting. But I'll tell you one thing, the Riga fans want to see the Latvian boys do well. And this guy is going to start the charge as he comes off the line. Roland Berzins, 720 horsepower this car. He's a high-ranking driver here in Latvia, but he's come a little shy on the first corner. Has to work the car back into the later parts of that zone, so the judges will deduct him for that. As you can see, they want to see that full smoke cloud through this. They want full throttle the whole way through. And at this point, he's just gone a little bit wide maybe, and that curb is so dangerous there. It's like half a foot high. Really unsettles the car. You know what? Smooth run in terms of power, but just not getting as wide as we would like to see him on some of those outer zones. But a solid run to put a score on the board, settle the nerves. These guys have been practicing since early in the morning, and we've had some incidents on track. So, you know, it's shaking a couple of drivers to say, well, do I push, you know, at the start of qualifying? Do I just put a score on the board? Do I leave it all for my second run? Do I want to put that kind of pressure on myself for the second run? And you can see on the handbrake a little bit too early there, Ian. They only want that decel on the handbrake as they transition.
Yeah, exactly that, Dave. You can see the wheel there compressing up and down in the arch and the wheel wobbling around. Look at that. Dragging the handbrake through the outside zone. We move back to the start line to another Latvian. Oh, we get the score first, sorry, for Roland Berzins, and he is a 61 third place. He's going to need to improve on that as we go back to the line for a fellow Latvian. It is Ivo Sarulis, a man that we are very fond of and know this man very, very well. Incredible driver. He was on the line, on the clipping zones, straight away from first practice. This man, he came into the championship a few years ago and blew the doors off the place because he really wowed us.
He did, and I think he's got that home track advantage too. I mean, I really like his driving style. He's a very aggressive driver. He's been in this chassis for a couple of years too, so he's not debuting a new car. He's comfortable in this setup. He's comfortable on this circuit. I expect a good score here.
Yeah, certainly is. So it comes down through the gears. As Ivo Sarulis goes for an early initiation, waits though, gets into it now. Look, snaps that car to angle into the outside zone. Makes his way down, early transition. Now, look, talking to Kevin O'Connell, our head judge earlier, he said to me, outside zone 1, they want to go all the way to the cone and leave the transition as late as possible before they get to outside zone 2 and don't put a wheel on the curve. Ivo Sarulis gets himself into the final outside zone, falls off of it very early though, drops a wheel in the mud and almost takes down the drone there with a little shower of dirt.
I mean, it's very difficult to be comfortable on this circuit, Ian, because it is so high paced,
yes, so
knife edge. But what is so important is that line. You get the transition timing wrong, you get the line wrong, you put yourself in a world of trouble for transitions, for missing zones. And you can see the curb on the outside of that corner unsettling the car. It bounced around on the rear suspension, and that's difficult for the driver to, you know, catch that drift again. So 70 on the board, not a bad score, puts him into third position. He'll be happy with that, but I think we will see bigger things from him in the second half of qualifying.
Certainly so. So we move along from Ivo Sarulis. He's now Raivis Alcaris, the Latvian, in this Nissan 200SX V8 turbo underneath the bonnet, 660 horsepower. Not really seen much of him in practice, maybe a few issues with this car. You can see tyre marks on the door already from some half-full practice earlier on. Makes his way down those planes, shooting for the front bumper. Gets into the gears, big handbrake drag though, gets himself up nicely, just about keeps the wheel in outside zone 1, dabs a foot brake, transitions back once again, nicely done. Gets very close though to that curb. He's going to sacrifice outside zone 3 there, and that's going to upset his line. He's going to have to work hard. You can see now just starting to drop outside zone 4. Worked hard to get into outside zone 6 on the wall. He's just about got a wheel on the line. Scrappy run there.
Well, the judge is explaining very clearly to the drivers in briefing that if they see that rear wheel lock up at any point other than initiation and the first deceleration zone is when they come to the wall, it will be a deduction. You can see it there. He made a couple of adjustments, and I think he didn't need them. It slowed the car down a little bit. It didn't allow him to get out, you know, push the car as wide as he would have liked. And don't get me wrong, it's a very scary track. You don't want to wreck your car so early in the competition, especially when you've got a back-to-back weekend where you want to, you know, preserve as much of the car as you can to get through the 2 rounds. But in this very tough qualifying session where it's going to be so knife edge, I feel you got to push a little bit harder than that, and you've got to be brave.
Yeah, I think that is it, Dave. I think bravery is going to reward you in the points. And there we go, a 48, 5th place at the moment for Raivis Alcaris. And he is definitely going to need to improve. You can see style way down there. Line 29, almost at the halfway point of 60 points maximum. We go back to the start line to Janis Jurka, another Latvian driver.
We got a lot of these, Latvian wild cards in here, and I like it. They shake it up, Ian. They come in there, you kind of go, is this his year? And these guys are competing in the Latvian Championship. They do this layout quite a bit. I think they can pull some incredible rabbits out the hat when it comes to main competition. I'm expecting Janis Jurka now to hit this track flying. Big speed on entry. Doesn't look it from this camera angle, but I can believe you when you're standing down there. These guys go back by you at such a pace. But again, a little bit shy on that first outer zone. He's got to keep the throttle in here to make sure that he absolutely nails this course the whole way around. Nice and wide, transitions late, that's what the judges want to see, but will he be able to extend it out just about, almost getting a tire at the back? That little straight for me, and this mistake cost him big.
Yeah, it certainly is, Dave. You can see the transition, as you mentioned, timed it wrong, and that got him on the wrong part of the circuit for outside zone 6. Upset him, couldn't get onto the wall. Judges want to see the rear bumper of that car on the wall the whole way round. A few years ago, we see James Dean paint a blue line the whole way around that wall and absolutely storm away in qualifying. Look at this, the transition, mistimed it completely, doesn't get himself onto the wall. And of course, qualifying, what it's all about, well, we're looking for the perfect lead line. We're looking for the best lead line for when it comes to top 32 battles tomorrow.
You might also notice, if you're a casual viewer, that a lot of these drivers, or all of these drivers, will have a different colored spoke on their wheel. And a lot of people wonder, is that just for fashion? Does it look cool? Well, the reason that's there is that the judges, as you can see, know when the wheel is not spinning, when someone is on the handbrake. And again, that is just for a visual reference for the judges to say he should be on full throttle there, he shouldn't be slowing up, and they can see it clearly as you see the bright orange spoke spinning on that car. So there's a little bit of info for our viewers at home, that is what the judges are looking for.
Of course, if you're new to drifting, welcome. And where have you been? You've missed it so far. 2 rounds of the 2021
You know what? If you haven't watched it before, from my perspective, this is the time to start, because Riga always delivers.
Riga certainly always delivers. We always have an incredible round here in Latvia, and this is just the technicality qualifying here today on the Friday as we whittle down 50 plus drivers down to just 32 who will go head to head tomorrow in top 32. And there we go, 38.
So Edmunds Burzins, that's actually wasn't Janis Jurka, that was our mistake there. So Edmunds Burzins was the driver there. Apologies, we jumped a little bit ahead on our notes there, Ian. We're just so excited. That's what happens. We lose the run of ourselves. Mikkel Norman Tultz. Now here's a man in one of the coolest cars on the grid. People are taking these Mark IV Supers, they're shining them up and they're putting them away in garages and saying, I don't want to touch that, it's getting such a highly valued car now. He says, I'm just going to build one into a drift car and absolutely throw it sideways at over 70 miles an hour. That's what we came here to see.
That is what we came here to see, and this car looks incredible and it goes incredible as well. Very fast initiation. Can he hold on to it? Just keeps the wheel into the outside zone. You can see him with the foot brake very wide. Perfect transition, just what the judges wanted to see. Little wobble on the steering wheel there as he gets himself through outside zone 4. Dip of the foot brake, and you can see, more steering corrections, gets himself on the curb. That's going to really affect him now. You can see him wobbling, foot brake locks, he tries to put the back end of that Mark IV Super on the wall. He gets into the wall. Can he hold on to it? He just about does.
I shouldn't have said anything about how valuable that car was.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful car, so clean. And then we've already lost the tail light, a rear quarter panel, and a boot lid because he was pushing hard. Made a little error as he transitioned, bobbled on the curb. Watch it here. Rear end of the car gets really unsettled, and he goes in very late on this. Now he's in there, but he just pushes that little bit too hard. Once he makes contact, you can see the front wheels, the steering corrections. Did a very good job of not going all the way into the wall. He'll live to fight another day, but it will be a big deduction from the judges for that mistake. So a 0.
Oh, it's a 0.
Yeah, 0 for Norman Tultz. And the reason being is that he straightened up. He straightened up. Those front wheels were not on angle all the way around. Those judges are harsh.
They are harsh.
They are so harsh. This guy's out here in a Mark IV Super, throwing it in 70 miles an hour. Give him a 0. I think he should get at least 10 points just for being that cool.
Exactly that. We go back to the line. It's Edgars Karigas, now another Latvian driver. V8 underneath the bonnet, naturally aspirated V8. Just 26 years old in this full carbon Kevlar BMW F22.
And this is an incredible build, and built here in Latvia.
Yes.
By HGK. So all carbon Kevlar car makes this very, very durable. They can take a couple of hits and they bend instead of cracking from fiberglass or carbon fiber. And this car named after a fighter plane that was famous here in Latvia, and I can see exactly why as it flies through that first corner, pushing it up onto the carbs. Very late transition, but he's pushing very hard. He is not backing down, just got the angle wrong there, missed that outer zone, and now he's got to straighten that car up, just make sure he gets this last section. I mean, we're seeing such beautiful machinery out there, you almost wince every time they go to the wall, but he's too far away from the wall to score big here, Ian. I would like to see him a little bit closer, a little bit more aggressive, but you know what? He's feeling his way into the course.
He certainly is, Dave. Yeah, first time here in the Drift Masters European Championship, and nerves settling in there, you know. A young guy on the line against some of the most heaviest hitters from around Europe. And Edgar's there just struggling to cut the mustard, as they say, Dave, in this class.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a 2017 to 2019 Estonian champion. He's a North European champion. He comes with all those accolades. He's done it at the highest level, but this is another step up from the highest level. This is the Premier League. So a little bit of nerves, I think, creep into some of these drivers, especially when they're newcomers. But he still puts a 51 on the board. It's enough for 5th position at the moment. I think he's going to need to improve on that in the second half of qualifying, because that is too close to the drop zone for his or my liking.
Exactly that, yeah. We're going to see a lot higher scores coming through as we move through qualifying. We go back to the start line to Ayurveda right now. The Estonian driver sits on the line, the Baltic champion.
He's eager to move off the line. You can see him just holding on to the handbrake, making sure he gets as much speed on the run-up as possible. Through the gears he goes.
700 horsepower. Underneath the bonnet, 6-cylinder turbo. Oh, and a big error. Yeah, looked like he wobbled on the initiation, just couldn't get it together. Early transition, gets in too early into outside zone 2. That's going to mess up his line. You can see he didn't go deep enough across the circuit on the transition. Sacrificed outside zone 5, now into 6 and straight out. He's in the middle of the circuit, bleeding points away now, David, as he crosses the line. And again, another guy affected by the nerves of the competition.
Absolutely. I think one of the things to note is that every time you see a wobble of the front wheels, every time you see a handbrake pull when those rear wheels lock up, it's an error, and that error is not only punished at that moment, but it's punished throughout the rest of the course, because this is a momentum track. You got to go full throttle through the first corner. As you can see, he's on the handbrake halfway through. Now he doesn't have enough speed to actually get to the outer zone 3. He's on an early transition, as you guys can see. He's not on the perfect line, and he's fighting that car the whole way through the course. And what happens there, very obviously, is that you're bleeding points right throughout. So 37 is all he'll salvage from that run. I don't think that's going to be enough, as we have so many incredible drivers on the grid. But you know what? We've watched guys put in fairly average first runs and come out and smash qualifying in the second half. So don't count anyone out at this stage.
Maciek Jarkovic now pulls the line, the Polish driver. It's a 200SX, 800 horsepower, 6-cylinder turbo engine underneath the bonnet. It's an incredible looking car. Can Maciek make it work? Pulls through the gears down, and we just take a little look on the onboard. Oh, and slipped on the gear shift there. Barely made it into 4th gear as he hammers on the throttle. Left foot brake, he dropped out of the outside zone. You can see the front foot brake completely locked. As now Maciek comes through the centre of the circuit, sacrificing zones, starting to fall apart. It's going to go too wide, too late. That's going to upset the entry into outside zone 6. And yeah, you can see he gets a wheel in, pulls out of it, now makes his way back in again. Keeps the wheel on the edge of the track, but bled a lot of points there, a lot of mistakes creeping in.
Yeah, I think the guys who have driven this track a couple of years, who have been into those high-intensity battles, who have, you know, mastered it, are going to have such an advantage here this weekend, because it is not a track that you turn up and just do your regular thing. It's crazy. You're throwing that car in at speeds that nobody is comfortable with. So it takes that little bit of time to be able to go out there and do that. And I can see that these guys will probably go a little bit faster with nothing to lose in the second run to say, hey, I got to make it work. I got to get a score on the board. And they know by that stage the scores will be very high.
Yeah, exactly that. And you know what, we always say, we watch these guys in practice and they're flying, you know, they're putting in run after run, really consistent. When it comes down to qualification, solo runs, all the eyes on you, it kind of falls apart. And there we go, a 47 drops in, style points dropping away massively there for Maciek Jarkovic. As we go back to the line to you, Harpoint Alaxco, the Finnish 2-time champion in this incredible BMW. Dave, this car, this driver, an unstoppable force in years ago.
Absolutely, and he hasn't been in the championship for a little while, which I'm excited to see. You know, he's still been driving in Finland, he's still been honing his skills. We haven't watched him in this level of competition in a while. I'm excited to see what he does. This car sounds like nothing else I've heard. It screams around this circuit in Riga, and there's the little bit of experience. Late initiation, he drops out of that zone very quickly.
He certainly does, Dave. Now he's looking for an early transition into outside zone 2. Making a few mistakes there on the foot brake, extends it out to outside zone 4 as he now makes his way in to the final outer zones, into 6, nice and early. Look at that, stays in it, consistent smoke trail as he gets on throttle, lights the tyres up, puts the back bumper as close as he dare to the wall.
I mean, he looks comfortable
Yeah.
on the edge, and that's when you really separate drivers that have got that experience, that have been in crazy tracks before. They've been in those battles where they've crashed, they've spun, they've built up that repertoire, and they've also built up the confidence. It's that first corner for me. Just if for some reason it looked like the car had so much grip, it didn't want to wash out to the edge of the corner. It just sort of almost like a touring car, just gripped it and went through.
Straight line,
and he had to readjust that. And then towards the end of the run, he absolutely does and gets it back onto the wall. And that car looks absolutely incredible here.
Yeah, an absolutely stunning machine. A 68 for Juha Poitalaxko. As the Finn makes his way through. Now we jump on to a man. Well, Dave, this man needs no introduction, but we will introduce him. It is the three-time Drift Masters European champion. He is your former and current King of Riga.
He's the man that everyone wants to beat. And let's be honest here, he
man.
is, I think, pound for pound, still, you know, probably holding that top ranking in the world as best driver in the world. He's, you know, three-time US champion, multiple 5, 6, 7, you count him, European champion. This guy has all the experience, he has all the skills, but he's under pressure this weekend, jumping back in against a very stacked grid. Can he hit the ground running? That entry from James Dean, absolutely outrageous, knocking the cone over on initiation. Big speed transition, he's full throttle, no adjustments whatsoever through the course, no braking, no handbrake, a little bit on the front brake there just to settle that car. Now this is where Dean is so precise, puts it to the wall, gets 2 wheels in. I think he's got more to give, but this is going to be the highest score that we've seen all day. James Dean doing exactly what he does best, justifying why they call him the machine, because that was clockwork.
Wow, that was certainly exactly what we've been missing and what we've come to love from James Dean. Look at this initiation, so wide, takes down the cone, drops 1 wheel off the edge of the circuit onto the dirt. But for me, made a little error there, transitioned too early, gets to outside zone a little bit too early, gets a wheel up on the curb. As you can see, the little bump in the car there. But nevertheless, the machine gets himself back on that perfect qualifying line, and the job he did for the rest of the circuit was absolutely spot on.
Look at the concentration in those eyes as he comes through that. I mean, that is a crazy corner. You're trying to get as close to the wall as possible to take the paint off the bumper without cracking the bumper, and there we have it. Straight into first position with a 91, and as I mentioned, I still think he's got more to give on that track. That's the safe run with a 91. And our marshal, James Dean, no respect. He made that man run so far to pick up that cone, but that was the precision he had on entry. I thought he was going to drop a wheel. I thought, you know, he might have made an error there, but I think he was just making sure that he got that absolute most out of that outer zone, and no questions there. We move on to our next driver, Ian. Can anyone match that 91?
Well, Nico Matala is going to definitely try. Another Finnish driver making their way over. And again, you see that huge air filter sticking out of the bonnet, and you're going to wonder what the hell is under the bonnet. Well, I can tell you, it is, of course, again, another NASCAR engine. 800 horsepower of naturally aspirated V8 sits under the bonnet of this Nissan 200SX S15. In the Latvian Drift Final, second place, finished up Drift Masters European Championship in 2020, finished in the top 16. Felt confident, said I'm going to come back. You're back in Latvia. Another little dabble. Look at this. Whoa, big early flick across the track. He's going to make all the use of the circuit. That's going to upset him. Oh, he's DB'd the tyre straight away, Dave.
Yeah, I was just about to say something weird happened there. I think he transitioned a little too early. I think he's got a tyre that may not be up for him. He's still trying to make this run work. This is where it gets very dangerous for these drivers. I'm not sure if that tyre has re-beaded onto that tyre, but let's see, or onto that rim. Let's see what happens. But from my perspective, it looked like he definitely had an issue. There's something very up with that car. I think that tyre has definitely got an issue, or is there a suspension issue with the car? I'm not too sure, Ian. We'll have a look at it, but you were right, it bobbled very strangely into that first corner because he actually flicked, had a really nice angle, had it all lined up. And our Latvian fans absolutely loving it. We have restricted access this weekend. We're expecting bigger crowds to be allowed into the venue over the weekend, but right now, look at that, just, yeah.
I'm not sure if it did. I think it debeaded and then re-beaded itself, because you could definitely see the edge of the rim on that transition. And these guys running incredibly low tyre pressures, as you can see.
Look how close he's getting to the wall here. That is incredible. Inches, millimeters, but that's what it takes. Any given Sunday. You've got to claw with your fingernails for those inches and millimeters.
But the judges not liking it, Dave. A 13th place at the moment for Nico Matala. And that would have been that big error where he dropped out of outside zone 1.
And I also think a little bit of straightening up. Not quite, but just enough for the judges to say, hey, we want to see it on big angle, big acceleration. We don't want to see some, some stop and short. So here is one of my favorite cars on the grid this weekend, Paweł Grosz from Poland. This car is immaculate. It's beautiful. I'm scared that he's throwing it at walls all weekend. I wish he could just park it up. He can win all the trophies in the car show. But this guy's not about car show. He's about driving hard, and I can't wait to see this one. Big flick. That is over 70 miles an hour, unsettling the front of the car in full throttle around this corner. Rush looking incredibly strong as he transitions back to outer zone 2. Inner zone 1 collected. This is a great run so far. He means business this weekend. Can he slow the car enough? Just a little dab of the handbrake. Oh, hits hard on the curb. That curb is so aggressive, but somehow he makes it work. Can he massage the rear end of that car back out onto the wall? Of course he can. Very solid run. He's one guy to watch this weekend.
He certainly is, Dave. And what a car. Just look at that Toyota GT86. What an incredible build. And as you say, stunning. Too nice to be thrown around at concrete walls. Look at this, though. Really, really nice job. Look how late he transitions. Look at the line he takes into outside zone 2. Absolutely spot on. Front wheels through that front clipping point there. The only front clipping point on this track. And this is where he got a little bit upset. Look at that tyre completely decompressed, and the rim took the paint off the curb, Dave. That is how hard these guys are going this weekend.
I absolutely love this shot.
That is just incredible.
Shows how much compression on the back end of the car when you hit those curves. And how do you stay in drift? How do you stay in speed? He didn't even come off the throttle there. And that was, you know, the tire completely compressed to the point that the curb went through the rim and he just carried on. And that's rewarded with an 82. Into third position goes Paweł Grosz from Poland. And you know what? He's smiling in his profile photo there. I think he'll be smiling in the car too.
He certainly will be, Dave. We go back to the start line to another Polish driver, and it is Paweł Korpolinski. Brand new build for 2021. Stepped out of his BMW, which shocked me and you, stepped into a Nissan 200SX S14 and said, you know what, I'm kind of feeling things out here a little bit. Toyota 2JZ engine on the bonnet, 6-cylinder, 3-litre turbo engine, 850 horsepower. Paweł Korpolinski taking a podium in his hometown at the last event. He entered a big flick across the track. Look how wide he goes for a James Dean style initiation and absolutely nails it. Korpolinski, a man that has been in various Final Fours here at the Drift Masters European Championship, looks strong as ever in a brand new build, hangs the rear bumper over the curb, gets into the outside zone. He's going for the top spot, Dave. This is looking tidy as Korpolinski gets the back bumper to the wall across the line.
That is one outrageous run to come out of the blocks, brand new build. We haven't seen him in over, what, 2 years?
2 years now.
You know, the world was a strange place for 2 years. He couldn't travel, and he kept competing in his national championship, honing his skills, getting better and better. And he came back this weekend focused. Well, what an incredible run. I mean, this is precision. Watch that rear wheel. He just scrubs the edge of that curb. Amazing stuff from Korpolinski. He's back in the mix.
He certainly is, Dave. And you know what? We was always in awe watching him drive that BMW, and we was kind of, you know, why has he changed chassis? It works so well. And I think maybe he's done the right thing, because we know nothing about what this man can do behind the wheel of a car. Look at that, hangs the rear bumper onto the wall. Look at that, 87, goes second place at the moment. Korpolinski looking strong. That's just his first qualifying run as well.
That's the safe run. The safe run. 55 out of 60 online on your safe run? And he can still go a little further on style and angle. I'm looking forward to the second one already. Well, you talk about pressure, and they say pressure is just for tires, but for Martin Richards, this is a special place for him, Riga. He took home the King of Riga, top step in 2019, and he's back, and he means business. But it's been a while. He hasn't been in European competition for over a year and a half. Can he get back into the swing of things? We're about to find out.
We certainly are, Dave, as the Englishman comes down. Big clutch kick for Martin Richards as he gets into the outside zone. Oh, but he's fell out. Gets himself back into it now. Look for a nice transition into 2. Times it absolutely perfect as Richards jumps on the foot brake, back bumper to the tyre wall. Not scared whatsoever as Richards gets back into it again. Oh, and a little correction as he makes his way into outside zone 6 on throttle. Not scared to put the back bumper on that Nissan Skyline to the wall. Richards hangs it out there, gets the job done.
An interesting fact about this car, Ian, this is the longest serving competitive car in European drift history. Early 2000s, this car was out competing, and here we are in 2021, and it's still going. Now, it has been changed many times. It has had a lot of different panels, a lot of different engines, but it's the same chassis. Incredible to see it out here, putting on another great show. I mean, Martin Richards wasn't the strongest qualifier when he won this event. So, I mean, you can win qualifying, you can top qualifying, but it doesn't, you know, it's all decided in the battles once you get there. But a lot of these guys want to do such a good qualifying run that they don't have to worry, are they going to make it or not to the battles? And Richards put in a very solid run there. Would like to see him a little wider in some areas, a couple of errors, but, you know, plenty for his team and his spotter. And of course, these guys have spotters, which is someone on the outside of the car looking at what they're doing and giving them some advice. And they'll be saying to Martin, a little bit of tidying up and you can improve on that 73, which is enough for 6th position at the moment.
So there we go. We move it back to the start line to another Englishman. It is, of course, Steve Biaggioni in this V8 PS13 supercharged Chevrolet V8 underneath the bonnet, 800 horsepower. And Bagsy, as I mentioned earlier on, Dave, doing some incredible work in the UK. As you say, it's been a tough time, so Bagsy went back to the UK, did some competitive drifting there to the podium in nearly every single event he's attended so far. Looking to regain that as well here in Europe. Then feeling comfortable, the team are looking good. Can he make it work? Bagsy on the handbrake, nice and deep. He's outside zone 1. Oh, but the car gripped up from the 9. Do you see the way it shot across the circuit? Almost fired him completely out of the outside zone. Puts his foot to the floor, and Bagsy on the left foot brake as he transitions now into outside zone 5. Oh, way too early. The car way too gripped up here, Dave. You can see how it reacts. He's out of outside zone 6. Bagsy struggling. This is going to hurt his score massively.
That car looks like a drag car trying to drift.
Yeah.
It has so much grip in the back end of that car that every time he came off the throttle, it just shot him forward, shot him forward. You can see a little bit of understeer as well around the course. And I mean, these guys are pushing incredibly hard. It's a great view from on board of Steve Bagsy Biagione's car. As he transitioned here, look, it wobbled a little for him. A little bit of, you know, the back end is trying not to drift all the time. That's how much grip these guys are running. And you might say, well, hey, you're drifting. Why are you putting so much grip in the car? Well, there's no point in going sideways if you're not at momentum. And what these guys are trying to do is get all that horsepower and all that grip together, so they're sideways, but they're sideways at speed. And unfortunately, all that grip may have brought Bagsy's score right down to 61 into 10th position at the moment. But he's got a second run. He'll sort that out. Maybe they'll take a little bit of grip out of that car, make it a little easier to drive for qualifying, and then grip it back up for the battles if he gets there.
If he gets there, Dave. We move it along. Christian Burkhoff's now, another Latvian driver making his debut here.
And what a machine. What a machine.
Drift Masters European Championship. And you may be looking at your screens now saying,
what
is this car? Because I certainly did the same.
The last thing you do in drifting is sit there and say, an early 90s Pontiac Trans Am. That's drifting. But that is the craziness of Christian Burkhoff. It's the first time I've seen this car in action, and he's an incredible driver. This car is running an LSX, which is a great motor from Chevrolet. He's got 720 horsepower, naturally aspirated, and he's getting used to this car. This is his first time out for a proper European debut. And it's not looking too bad, but it just looks insane on track. It's so long, so big, and so unusual. He can drive it really well.
He certainly can, Dave. Struggled to get into outside zone, but then made it work. As Christian said, having a few issues with the car, popping off the auxiliary steering belt underneath the bonnet, and been working hard to make it work. But look at this car. It just looks insane.
It really does, and he's jumping from a very conventional chassis in an E36 BMW to something that I don't think anyone else in the world has ever built. So there's obviously going to be teething issues. You can't just make a call or an email and say, hey, how did you sort this problem out? Nobody's ever done it, so you've got to figure it out for yourself. And unfortunately for everyone involved in their team, they've got to figure it out at over 70 miles an hour on entry here in Riga. It's a 52 on the board for Christian Burkhoff, and you know what? Not a bad start.
No, not a bad start at all in that brand new car. We go back to the start line. It is Victor Ionescu, the one half of the Swedish Drift Brothers in this incredible BMW Eurofighter.
Aggressive looking car, Ian.
It's
very
so
pretty.
aggressive, but look at the damage on the front bumper, Dave. That tells a story from Austria just a few weeks ago. Took it to the tyre wall in qualifying. Said he's feeling more and more confident now. Feels like when he comes into this event, he knows what he's doing, how the car's going to react. Nice initiation for Victor as he gets himself very deep into outside zone 1, but he gets on the curb and that upsets him. You can see he has to use the handbrake to scrub some speed. Now he's off throttle in outside zone 3, back onto the throttle again. And Victor slowing that car down now, working his way into those outside zones, looks for the wall, looks for the back end, in that outside zone, foot to the floor, on the throttle. Across the line he goes.
It looked comfortable at getting around the track, but in terms of what the judges are looking for, a couple of errors. Transitioned a little bit too early from the first to the second corner, meaning he had to extend the drift with the handbrake. It slowed the car a little bit more than he would have wanted, and he had to adjust. You'll see him in the car here. Handbraking here, not what the judges want to see. And as he comes back again, another handbrake. This is all adjustments to make sure the car gets back online. There's not much you can do once he's made the initial mistake. He has to go through this process. But I like the fact that these guys are throwing incredible cars that close to the wall here in Riga. It's exciting to watch. You know what I mean? These guys are really pushing it, and even a very low-scoring run here is still a brave run because this track is so scary.
Yeah, so demanding as well. And there we go, a 66. Judges liked it a little bit more than what maybe we did, Dave, and the 9th place at the moment for Victor Ionescu.
Had no luck in Austria. Maybe they'll turn around from this weekend.
This could be it, yeah. And the guys saying they're feeling a little bit more confident. And very Japanese-inspired car now sits on the line of Adam Nagy, the Hungarian driver in this Nissan 200SX S13.
He's competed all over the world. He's gained experience from being in Japan, from being in the USA, the UK, Ireland. He's been everywhere. Gaining that experience, real fan of drifting as a sport. But here it's not about what you know, it's what you do. So you got to go into that first corner as absolutely crazy as you can. Big entry from Adam Nagy, who just drops very short. And those 2 wheels on that inner white line, I think that may be a 0. So the judges are saying you cannot put 2 wheels on the inside of that first corner. Chase, what a big angle. He's going to struggle here to slow that car down, and it looks like that run is one to scratch for the history books and say, let's try that again.
Yeah, and I'm just going to elaborate on why that piece of outside zone is marked there. And speaking to the judges earlier, they said that is for later on in battles, so that if you are the chase car, you can't work your way up past the front wheel. You have to be on the back bumper. And there we go, 2 wheels into that zone on where outside zone 1 is will be a 0. And Adam Nagy got it all to do, Dave, on his second qualifying run, as we say.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not the position you want to be in, because you got to do it all in one run. You haven't got a safe score on the board. You've got to throw everything at it. He's going to be nervous, and I'm looking forward to seeing if he can handle those nerves and get back out and put a score on the board. Next up, from Poland, we have Szymanski in this Nissan S15. You know, just a casual. 1,000 horsepower. Casual. What do you got? 1,000?
3.4.
This car came with 202 horsepower.
Yeah. On a good day.
He's got 4 times that under the hood. Incredible. So he throws into that first corner. Late initiation. I haven't seen this driver on this track before, but another driver dropping way too short on that inside. So that inside that corner, that box, you do not want to be in there, especially putting 2 of your front wheels in. He would be flirting with a 0 there as far as I can see.
Yeah, exactly that, Dave. And this run falling apart every single turn of the track, as you can see, way off of that zone on the inside of the circuit. And you know what? To me, that came down to the commitment on that first outside zone. He was not committed 110% when he initiated, and that just dropped him way down. As soon as he got on throttle, the amount of grip these cars run pushed the car on the inside, and he's going to know that. Szymanski's going to know that. Look at this. You can see way off that line, just about tipped the edge of that outside zone, the whole car over that front clipping point, not what the judges want to see. And there we go, fires dust up. Them tyres, they're about a metre away from that outside zone. And we've seen Gregor Zipke there destroy his car. That's a dangerous place to be playing. I
think you can pick every corner. Oh, you can see that running up on the curb, just throwing up the dust. Every corner on this track has claimed a lot of victims. So there is no safe zone. That is a 0 on the board. As we mentioned, dropping 2 wheels on the inside of the first corner. You don't want to be in there.
No.
You got to stay to the outside. So your rear wheels aren't on the outside zone, you get a deduction. But if your front wheels are on the inside, you're getting a 0.
Yeah, you certainly are, Dave. And yeah, as we say, that comes down to the battles later on. Well, tomorrow, sorry. Not later on today. It already is late, Dave.
It is. And to be honest with you, I think I've had enough excitement watching practice and qualifying today that I am happy they're going to take a rest from battles tomorrow, because they are going to be hot and heavy. Peter Kozlowski, our next driver, you know what, I'm a fan of turbos coming out through the bonnet on the car. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it looks very cool. It looks like machine guns coming out the front of this car. There's a lot of power, casual 1,250 horsepower, which is too much horsepower in my opinion. But he needs it to get around this circuit, but he's a little shallow in that first corner. Drops a handbrake up onto the curb, but he now annihilates the cone on the inside. He's on the wrong line completely here. He's now got a bumper that wants to escape this track altogether. It may hamper his steering. He's now not on the outside zone, and as you can see, one mistake. Just when he went too far on that inside zone, it messed up the rest of his run. So what we're learning here as we're watching, if you're not perfect through the first corner, you can actually be still making or rectifying that mistake on the last corner.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical that you get the initiation and that first outside zone perfect. You know, you can rescue the run with a few slight corrections, but this for me is no way near rescuable for Kozlowski. You see him in the complete wrong place, using the handbrake there before he gets to outside zone 5. And Kozlowski struggling massively, destroys the tyres on the back of the car with so much power. The push of the accelerator absolutely obliterates them.
1,250 horsepower, Ian. I mean, this is where drifting has just got to crazy levels. A 43 on the board for Peter there, and to be honest, it's probably justified. Didn't get the run right. Watch a lot better runs from him in practice. I think he's definitely got what it takes to get into top 32. He's going to have to rethink that when we move back to the start line. It will be Eli Hutunji, the first of our Red Bull Drift brothers, in these brand new BMW M4s, factory backed, and they are causing some issues because they're completely brand new builds. They've never been used. You know, some of these chassis out here, these old Nissans and Toyotas and BMWs, they've had 10, 15 years of development. These guys have had about 15 days, and every run is like a school day because they are trying to get all the max they can have. A very wide initiation from Eli Hutunji. This car running 1,050 horsepower, but they're struggling. And look at the flames firing from the back window of this car, because 4 exhausts coming out the back window. A wild, wild build, and done in quite a hurry to make it to displays at the Formula 1 track in Austria. They're learning every single run. You can see these two drivers, Ellie and Joe, are incredibly experienced, know exactly what they're doing, but every single run they got to go back into the pits and change something, tweak something. But compared to where we started in Austria, I mean, I talked to Eli Hutunji briefly in the paddock, and he said, if I can make the progress I did from the start to the end of the Austrian events here, I might be just winning the event on Sunday.
Well, there we go, a confident man. Very nice initiation. Look at the outside zone one as well. Completely fulfills it. Nice transition. It was only here where he sacrificed this outside zone that it kind of made a few errors. Apart from that, Dave, for me, where I'm sitting, looked very good for a man that's only probably had about 10 hours of driving.
Watch the flames coming out of that back window. And here's another incredible thing, 3D printed body kit.
Yeah.
I mean, we are living in the future. 66 on the board for Eli Hutunji. Be happy with that. Mid-pack score to start things off. Struggled a little bit in Austria with those cars for round 1 and 2, but I think as we go through the season, they said this season is very much for us all about testing, all about development. Well, they'll be happy with that. Next on the line, we have Gediminas Ivanauskas from Lithuania, 33 years of age. 2020 finished third in the Lithuanian Pro class. So comes with a lot of height behind him, 800 horsepower. He's been going pretty hard in practice. Let's see if he can continue that form. Big late initiation, that's what the judges want to see. A little bit of handbrake is not what they want to see to extend it, but can he tidy it up here as he comes through the course? Oh, transitioned a little early. Looked like the car sort of did put the power down or something. Came a little bit too early, but getting back on it again now, getting out to those outer zones, kind of decel into that last outer zone. I want to see that rear bumper right up on the wall. That's probably about 8 to 10 feet away there, and that is going to bleed his score down from, you know, the 70s and 80s, just below that. We don't like to predict the scores, Ian, because we're often very wrong in that regard, but I would say that, you know, unless you're really risking it here, unless you're very brave. Watch this, he's on the front brake. I think when he transitions here, it just doesn't go, it doesn't wash as much as he thinks it will, and it puts him on an inside line, and from there he's a wheel up on the curb. He's trying to make up for some errors, missing outside zones, and as he throws it back. But I love this shot. You can just see how much smoke is being created. You can see the pieces of rubber flying off those rear wheels. Most of these drivers, and if you're a newcomer drifting, brand new set of tires, just 2 passes of the circuit. A 51 on the board for Ivanauskas puts him into 15th position, and you can see there on his line score, only really getting 31 out of 60, so work to do.
Yeah, certainly is. There we go. We go into the inside of a vehicle of a man who looks nervously on the line. Ukrainian driver Roslav Rahovsky now sits on the line. Now, Dave, it's safe to say, and he will admit this openly, he has not been looking confident in practice.
No, he's been struggling a little bit. This car, 11, all the goodies. It's a bit of a beast to try and tame around this circuit, and you've got to really be one with your car here. He's coming in very fast into that first corner, and a little bit shallow, and again, flirting with that inside. Maybe not 2 wheels in, but very, very close to the inside of the course. Lots of power in this car, another carbon Kevlar bodied GT86. Oh, a little bit of a wash there, straightened up a little bit. Judges will be watching that. Gets back out to the wall, but now dropping onto the inside of the circuit. So this is what the judges don't want to see. He does, to give him full credit, work it back out towards the rest of it. But again, he set himself in practice, just struggling a little bit. This track is very technical.
Yeah, it is. It's very demanding and not an easy track. And we say that, you know, it is very, very demanding. I wonder if judges are going to want to see a little replay maybe of the wheels and of that first corner, because
I don't feel it was 2 wheels, but it was definitely enough of the car.
It was very close.
Yeah, it was enough of the car in there to not be a good time.
Yeah, that's the problem. He did rescue it though, Dave, and as you mentioned, did manage to get the back end of that GT86 back out onto the wall after he fell out of it here. You can see carrying way too much angle, has pulled the car on the inside of the circuit.
Yeah, you got to really modulate your throttle, you got to really modulate your angle. Of course, everyone wants to see big angle, but
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because you end up making this, I mean, let's be honest, drifting is a very fast donut. The more angle you put in, the smaller that donut gets.
Exactly.
38 on the board, putting Rahovsky into 21st position. He looks a little dejected in his photo, and I think he's going to be a little dejected in the car. Yeah, he's got work to do. Moving on to our next drivers. Oren Nielsen from Norway, driving this Toyota Sora, usually a big, you know, luxury car, but this has everything taken out. It's super lightweight, 900 horsepower 2JZ. And you know what? He's a guy with a lot of credentials from Scandinavia. He's competed at Gatsbill, Norway's Drift Championship. You know, he comes with a lot of confidence. Nice guy behind the scenes, but he's going to have to be a little aggressive here in a very early initiation here. Can he get it wide? It looks like he can. Nice, putting those rear wheels to the outer zone. Very nice so far. Transitions a little early. It's going to cost him, but he makes it work. This is where he's going to struggle to get all the way out here. Doesn't struggle. Wow. Absolutely makes it work. Oren Nielsen doing an amazing job so far getting around this course. He transitions back into that wall. Look at that, putting the rear end of that Toyota right up close and personal with that concrete wall and brushing the concrete wall. Excellent run from Oren Nielsen. And we talk about guys stepping up on this course. You just watched the Norwegian driver Oren Nielsen step all the way up.
That, Dave, from me, from Austria a few weeks ago, is a completely different guy. Didn't look at home in Austria, just didn't really gel to the track. But look at this Toyota Sora, and his driving style may be more suited to the circuit out here in Latvia. All the way in outside zone 1, completely fulfills it. Nice transition, and look at outside zone 6. On to the wall he goes and just flirts with the back bumper and the concrete. Incredible. Very impressed.
And that's a big old car to get around there, you know. Sometimes I drive, a van, and I can't tell where the back end is, And these guys are so committed. There's an 84 on the board for Oren Nielsen, 4th position. That's a big statement.
That is a big statement.
The guy's struggling to qualify round 1 and round 2, now into 4th position so far. After, let's be honest, most of the grid have gone through.
Exactly that. We go back to the start line to Christian Erlsson, the Swedish driver. This Toyota Subaru BRZ, 2JZ underneath the bonnet, 6-cylinder turbo Toyota engine in a Toyota for once. There we go off the line. You can see the radiator in the boot with the fans blowing that hot air away through the gears, down 963 horsepower being unleashed through those back tyres. Nice initiation. As he goes very wide, just going to say, lost him out the camera there and got a wheel on the outside edge of the circuit, and that completely upset him. He's going to keep in it though, try and gain some points back as he makes his way into outside zone 5. Up onto the wall he goes. He knows the damage is done on the back bumper. Is he going to sacrifice it on the wall? He's going to aim to, as Olsen finishes up a run.
You know what, I just watched that initiation. I think he pulled a gear just before he initiated or something that delayed his initiation. So while he got to that out of zone, his arc was very sharp. So it ended up just dropping the car off the circuit. I mean, you are now losing traction at over 17 miles an hour, eating cones, breaking bumpers, and you know what you say? Just keep going. This is transition, keep the throttle in. It does sacrifice an outer zone. It is scrappy from there on in, and again, as I mentioned, if you mess that first corner up, it's going to hurt you throughout the rest of the course. He's missing a lot of zones, but what I love about this guy is he's committed, he's brave, it's go hard or go home.
He certainly is. He has the go hard or go home mentality, and snapped a steering rack clean in half in Austria, and still tried to finish the run. It will be a 0. Yeah, 2 wheels off the edge of the designated circuit, which is denoted by that white line, is a 0. So there we go. Erlsson, no score on the board. Work to be done for the second qualifying run.
And you got to remember, we got to keep reminding you guys, 24 of these drivers who have travelled from all over Europe won't be seeing battle action tomorrow. That's how tight it is, and that's how much is at stake here in qualifying. We move on to our next driver, and he's coming all the way from Georgia, where our final round will be in the end of September, and he's trying to bring the whole championship with him, but he would love to be in the championship fight around that time. It's Dodo Kudua from Georgia, 23 years of age. He is the 2019 and 2020 Georgian Drift Champion. What can he do here in Riga?
Well, he broke the gearbox earlier, Dave. It looks like they've got it fixed, and it looks like they've got it working absolutely perfect. Supercharged V8 underneath the bonnet, through the outside zone he comes, hammers down. You can see the way the car went to angle across the circuit. Judge, we taking a look at that one. Very strange transition. Gets himself into the outside zone though, put flat to the floor for Nodu. And the Georgian driver will be happy with that after breaking the car in practice earlier today.
Well, what I love about this is that you take that original chassis. I mean, this is a 4-cylinder engine that would have come in this small 1 Series. Now they're throwing in a 7 plus 7.4 litre LSX V8. One of the biggest displacement engines.
Supercharged as well, just for the fun of it.
Just put a supercharger on it as well. That's how insane the level of machinery is in Drift Masters. You're taking chassis. It's like playing a computer game. You're just picking engines, picking chassis, throwing them all together, different suspension setups. And these guys make it work, and they sound and look incredible. And to be able to drive a car that you've created essentially yourself is a big feat.
It certainly is. And stick it to a concrete wall over 100 miles an hour. There we go. 66 on the board for Nodu Kudua, and he'll be happy with that one, especially after earlier on today when the car was damaged and broken. Back on the start line is Kevin Piscolti, Hungarian driver in this BMW E92, and again another supercharged LSX 7.4 litre V8 with a supercharger on top, 800 horsepower. This guy been looking strong in practice.
He's young, 20 years of age.
20 years of age, yeah.
He's got a big future ahead of him. He's out here, with the best in the business at such a young age. He can only get better. Love the super exciting livery on this car. As he throws it into the first corner, wow, very late initiation, but it dropped off. It just didn't stay on the throttle long enough. It's got to start tidying up from here. Judges straight away marking him down. Got a little wobble in the first quarter. Really can't afford to miss too many outer zones, and he does miss another one as he now starts to transition through the course. This is the dangerous part. The only decel zone on the track gets it into that outer zone just about. Dropping a wheel in there now. He's got to work the car in. Does a very good job towards the end of the run. A couple of scrappy moments at the start, but showing his potential towards the end. Do you know what I like about it? Shows he's got the ability to get that track down. He's going to have to do it on the second run.
There we go. Let's give him his goal.
Flame on, Ian.
Yeah, flame on. Revving the car in front of the judging tower. I think it was a snap to angle on initiation. I think he just threw too much angle at it. And that sacrificed a little bit of speed and the line, and that upset him massively. But he managed to get himself back into it. You can see it works the back of that car up onto the wall. And Biscotti firing smoke in the cameraman and the drone's face.
The drone is the only chase car you're going to see today. Tomorrow you're going to see these guys inches from each other around this circuit. And a 67 on the board for Kevin Piscolti puts him into 10th.
So there we go, 10th place for Piscolti, and now we go to Linus Junosu. It is the other brother of the Swedish Drift Brothers in matching BMW E92 Eurofighters.
Linus looks like a Scandinavian warrior.
He is, they are Scandinavian, but they are also the most nicest country.
They are
terrifyingly scary to look at.
Well, I think, to be honest, that's what we want. We want them to be aggressive on track and nice in the pits, and that's what these guys are. Big entry into that first corner from Linus. He drops off that outer zone just ever so slightly as he comes around the second corner. Has to straighten the car up again. He's working it a little bit here. It's not as smooth a run as you like. He's very wide here. I think he's going to have to bail out.
Yeah, he's had to bail.
He's had to bail out of that one. He was definitely going to go up onto that curb. We've watched a car flip over on its roof on that curb in previous years, so these guys are not going to take a chance on that, especially if you know you're going too wide, you know you're going in the dirt. There's no saving it at that point.
No, there certainly isn't. And yeah, a 0 there for Linus Junosu. I wonder if that car got stuck on lock.
It looked to me like
it looked like it. Yeah, the wheels
it was going one way, and it said, "No, I quite like going this way. I don't particularly want to go back from there."
We go down to the back of the grid where we do see this young man warming up the tyres on the back of a Nissan 200 XS15. It is Dragos Hipki, the Polish champion.
This is a guy that's been in the business end of this championship for many years. He had an E30. He was still cutting it. He said, "No, what? We're building a brand new car from the ground up. S15 2JZ running." He's a little underpowered. He's got 1,019 horsepower. Well, he definitely didn't have that in Austria, as he had to throw an engine in overnight just to make it back for qualifying. He's a lot more comfortable this weekend. He started as he means to go on. The car is working. He's feeling confident. This guy's always got a smile on his face in the paddock. He just takes the pressure, soaks it in like a sponge, and he comes off the line ready to show us exactly what he's all about.
Well, this is the event that killed that car in the previous year. Just last year, this car was absolutely in tatters. Can he hold it together this year? He certainly can, right to the edge of the circuit. Goes Dragos Hipki, hammers down, waits for the transition, gets it timed perfectly. Oh, just sacrifices a little bit of steering angle there to make sure he doesn't put a wheel up on the curb. Now sacrifices outside zone 5 as he transitions into 6. Big decel there as he gets himself on the white line. Starts to fall apart ever so slightly for Dragos Hipki.
What I'm noticing out there, Ian, and I don't know if you're picking up on it, is the timing of both transitions are so pivotal. You go too early, it just messes up your line. You're avoiding the inside curve where the judges want to see a meter out from that inside curve. And the second transition also, if you don't get it right, you kind of don't get back on the line again. So watch this. As he comes through that first zone, he's really, really wide. If he transitions too early, stay out wider there, you would actually have a little bit better of a chance. So I'm noticing this as we're going through the runs, and I hope you guys at home are noticing it as well. Timing is everything.
Yeah, it certainly is, and like you say, those mistimed transitions are upsetting scores. An 80 though for Dragos Hipki, and he'll be happy with that at the moment, sitting in 6th inside the top 10.
Lots of commitment, lots of speed.
Yeah.
Judges like that bravery on the track, and Hipki did a great job on that first corner, filling that outer zone. That's where a lot of the the weight of the points are going to be. That's the most dangerous part of the track. That's the toughest one to do. Norbert Samic is going to try and do exactly that. The next driver on the line from Hungary, 25 years of age, comes with an impressive trophy collection from his Hungarian nation. But here in the European Championship, he is going to try and impress the judges in this first qualifying run. Throws it in late. Very nice initiation, but drops on too much angle. I think he's put a wheel on the inside there. Now he's in a real no man's land and trying to get back onto the line.
Yeah, carried way too much angle in outside zone 1. That completely upset him. Now he's going to sacrifice all of these outside zones to try and get his way in to the wall, but just cannot get there, and that is really falling apart now for Norbert Samic as he sticks the back end across the line. And he won't be happy with that one, Dave.
No, we watched Norbert Zamic do incredible things in this championship, and that was a little uncharacteristic for me. I mean, usually a guy that sits very comfortably on the circuit, having a lot of issues, and I mean having issues right from the off.
Yeah.
And you know, so much speed, so much angle on this track, it actually broke the fastener for the rear boot lid on this car, and that happens quite a bit. A lot of drivers say to me, you actually are going so sideways at such speed, the air is trying to go underneath the panels, and it's tough to keep them on the car.
Incredible, incredible. So there we go. You can see Zamic out of that outside zone. And
what I like about this European Championship also is the switch from left to right-hand drive. Almost every single car jumps from right to left-hand drive. I mean, these guys are from so many different regions, so many different styles of build, which I like as well. And then you throw them all in the melting pot and see who comes out on top. And of course, James Dean still sitting top of the leaderboard right now with a 91. I even mentioned in that run, I think he's got more in him. I think that was kind of a conservative run to say, I'm happy I'm in the game. And I'll be frightened to see what he comes out with for his second. But we've got a lot of big names yet to come.
We certainly have. Well, we await the score for Norbert Zamic to drop in before we will send the next driver. And Dave's getting windy here.
It is a little bit of wind picking up. And it's good for smoke. Clears off the track pretty quick. But what it's not good for is temperatures. These guys were in, it's 52, by the way, for Norbert Zamic on his run, up for 18th position. But what I'm saying is the temperature dropping on the track is difficult. So you might think, hey, cool is good for the cars. It is. These guys have been practicing in sweltering heat. Then there was rain. Now it's cold. Very hard to know what the grip conditions are going to be like on the tarmac.
Yeah, exactly that. Mikkel Reinhardt is on the line, driver of this BMW E92 M3, 1150 horsepower, but issues.
Looks like he stalled up on the start line there. I'm not sure what's happened.
Oh, and the door's open. That start line marshal Martin.
Oh, lights on and off means he's restarting the car, it looks like to me. It looks like it cut out.
So he is going to, reset.
Just to make sure everything's safe, you can see Martin on the start line. He's the man down there.
He is the man.
He is the puppet master on that start line, making sure everything runs smoothly. Look, he's a bit of a car.
Oh, there's issues with that car. There's issues with the car. He goes to pull away, the car's cutting out. Oh, look at the aggression, David. The car shaking his hands around. Or has he broken something now off the line?
I'm not sure.
And Larson, this guy, points issues out left, right, and centre. He's like, you've broke a drive shaft, you've broke a prop shaft.
He'd be an amazing doctor. He'd walk in and go, I'll tell you what's wrong with you. He'd diagnose you without you even saying what's wrong with you. But the thing is, we had Michael Reichardt have a big issue with a differential.
Yeah.
While we try and figure this out, it looks like, the thing is, if he can't get off the start line, he's going to forfeit this run. And that car does not look like it wants to move at all under its own pace. And he's going to forfeit that run, I think.
Yeah. Oh, look, the differential's hanging out again.
I was just about to mention, in Austria, what happened was he thought the car was in first gear, it was actually in neutral, revved the car up, it didn't move, then he pulled a gear, so he sent about 1,000 horsepower in a split second to the differential of the car. It almost spun in its place. They've repaired it since, but this car runs so much grip and horsepower, 1,150 horsepower to be exact, that it just keeps chewing through the back end of the car. There's that much torque. It's ripping bolts, it's shearing steel. It looks like he may have fallen foul to that again. Well,
he's got a lot of time to get back to the paddock and get that car repaired as we go back to the start line to Krzysztof Romanowski. Now, the Polish driver in this BMW E46, 800 horsepower, 2JZ underneath the bonnet. Straight 6 turbo engine through the gears under Romanowski. And this guy really comes alive, learning this new chassis again, jumped into a new car for last season. For the one-off round we had here in Riga, and he's back for a full season now, looking stronger than ever. Romanowski gets the back end of that BMW into that outside zone 4 into 5, absolutely perfectly timed. Look at the transition, barely slows the car down on the brake, just lets it do it all on angle, but he sacrificed a little bit of line there, works the back end up into the wall. Romanowski finishes up his first qualifying run.
Yeah, I'm noticing as well, you've got to remember if you're watching on that the rubber that's being laid on the track makes every run stickier and stickier and stickier, because you've got the track temperatures cooling, but now you're laying down all this sticky rubber. These guys are actually drifting on top of that rubber at this stage, especially when it comes to outer zone 3, because it's just so much rubber. We went down there, you would stick to the floor.
Yeah.
Like you walk there, you could leave your trainers there, just you can walk off in your socks because they're going to be stuck to the floor. But Romanowski doing a great job here. Out to the outside zone he goes. And this is just, for me, absolutely perfect through the course. He actually messes up one of the easier parts of the course. In 81, I think there's more in the bag there for his second run. 6th position so far. Definitely getting to grips with that chassis. Looking strong. Keep an eye on him for the second half of qualifying.
Exactly,
and you can see the wind, starting to pick up here.
Yeah, and the raincoats are out, Dave. Max Cotton now sits on the line. Another English driver making his way across to Riga, 16 years of age in this V8 Nissan 200SX PS13.
Yeah, we were just mentioning it the other day. Lowest horsepower car on the grid.
And the youngest driver on the grid.
Yeah, so he's up against it.
He's got all of his work cut out. Well, struggled a little bit in practice. Had to do a few modifications to the car, make some clearance on the front wheels. Max Cotton, though, an incredible line driver. Look at that, tags the cone. As we say, not the most horsepower in the car, but these guys making it work. Gets to outside zone 2 a little bit early. Judges would have noted that, but the line driving impeccable so far from this young Englishman. As he makes his way down into outside zone 5. Look at that, absolutely clinical in to the final outer zone, and Max Cotton puts the back bumper of that Nissan onto the wall. Dave, what an incredible drive here in Latvia from Max Cotton.
Incredible drive is right. I mean, I thought he would go into that first corner a little tentative. He'd just, feel it out. He absolutely flew in there. No, true caution to the wind, and I think he realized that he's here to prove a point. Look at that. Glances the cone on initiation. I mean, that is incredible. A little bit of left foot braking, transitions through. I mean, this is a 16-year-old kid up onto the wall, looking so comfortable behind the wheel. Judges are going to have to reward him for that.
Yeah, they certainly are. And look at that arm out the window. Max Cotton absolutely ecstatic with that first qualifying run, and rightly so, because look at that, an 88 puts Max Cotton in second place at the moment. Dave, you're lost for words.
I am. I'll tell you why, because he said he was struggling a little bit in practice. He said, you got to remember, he's a 16-year-old kid. He arrives to the paddock, here's all the champions from everywhere, and he goes out there and puts an 88 on the board. Incredible.
Well, we jump from one end of the scale, Dave, to the other. And
From
this man with
low
500 horsepower to a man that has over 1,000 horsepower is, of course, Dmitry Ilyak, the Ukrainian driver in this Nissan 200SX with a Nissan VK56. That is a V8 Nissan engine, a Titan engine. But not only that, he's strapped 2 turbos, Dave, in your favourite place.
I feel if you were 7 years of age and you were told to build a car, this is the car you would build. I want the turbos to come out of the bonnet.
But like Dave, look in the headlights.
What have we got in the headlights?
The
LEDs?
rain is falling.
Ooh.
Windscreen wipers are on, Dave. Things are going to change.
Things are going to get slippery.
Things are
That's
change.
the problem. You put a sprinkle of rain on that fresh rubber, anything can happen. I think it's going to get very difficult for these drivers. You see the wind picking up, a couple of drops of rain on the start line. Will it affect the drivers? How, again, Ilyak dropping on the inside, maybe not wanting to risk too much of it. Slippery out there. But it looks like it's dry-ish conditions, but you can see a lot of wavering from the front wheels there, trying to get a feel for the track here as Ilyak transitions back. Late transition. It's exactly what we want to see, and again, put it back out onto the wall. No issues there, but he goes too early and shuts it down.
Wow,
Sparks out of the car. I'm not sure what happened. Is that sounded like metal, or it looked to me like metal on metal, which means a differential or a gearbox or some sort of half shaft just absolutely left the building. Said, "What do you want from me here?
Are
you serious? Build a 7-year-old car here with turbos at the bonnet. Something's going to give."
Something's going to give. Well, there we go. We make it official. It is a 0 on the board for Ilyak, and he does fall into 31st place at the moment. And we aren't done. And here we go. The rain starts to fall in Latvia, Dave. And this is what we was worried about, because, we are 10 drivers, 15 drivers away from all of their first runs. So half of the grid have had a dry qualifying session. Now the second half of the first qualifiers are going to be wet conditions. And we've got broken down cars, so it's going to get even wetter.
Yeah, well, let's see what the attitude is like in the paddock. Becky's down, one of our drivers now. Things are getting a little bit windier, a little bit wetter down there, Becky.
I'm down here with Ellie Hutunji. Now, Ellie, you have had a big weekend so far. You've got brand new M4s. These are the highest tech vehicles that we've seen on our start line. This is a development year for you. How are you finding it so far?
I'm finding it really, really good. The team did an awesome job. We learned so much in round 1 and 2 in Greimbach in Austria. And coming here, actually, the car is now better than me. So I'm the limiting factor now, and this is a quite good way. I mean, it's pressure on me, but I'm really happy. The car feels great. I just need to get to learn it. And the first run, I was happy, because first turn was fine. After that, I messed it up, but I know what I did wrong. And the car proved that it can do it, so I'm super happy, I'm super stoked. And yeah, looking forward to the next run and praying to the weather god that the rain stops, hopefully, quite quickly.
It's great to see a smile on your face out there, Ellie. And do you know what? Talking about the weather, it can make or break your weekend here at Riga. How difficult is it when the grip levels change due to cold, rain? What is it like as a driver to contend that with?
Like, this is the most difficult track I've been on in the rain, because it has so many different surfaces. The grip changes so much when it's raining. It's incredible. For me, this morning, when it was half dry, half wet, it was undrivable for my skill set. Like, I couldn't do anything about it. If it's fully wet, you kind of find your way around, but it's still so difficult. So I'm not looking forward for rain. I'm praying for keeping it dry.
Thank you so much, Ellie. I think we're both praying to the weather god right now.
Thanks, Becky. And we will see Dimitri Iliak's car being removed, and now it is getting fully wet on the circuit. Now, Ian, we are about to change the game entirely. We're not going to see a whole lot of tire smoke from this point on. What we're going to see is nervous, tentative runs where a lot of these guys are going to be going, if I go in the same speed it was 20 minutes ago or half an hour ago at the end of practice, I'm going to spin out.
Well, a lot of these guys as well, Dave, some of them didn't have a practice in the wet. Some of them only practiced in the dry. So this is going to be a learning curve for most of these guys. I'm looking through the list, Dave, and we've got some heavy hitters coming up, including your championship leader, Peter Ventek, Connor Shanahan sitting down there, Zalewski, but look at this, Joe Hutunji, he's cool as a cucumber, Dave, chilling in his brand new car on his phone.
Yeah, well, he's just sending a tweet saying, oh, it's going to be the rain emoji, just the rain emoji repeated, because that's what they're seeing there. Some of these guys not even running windows on their cars, and now it's rain and wind, so it's going to be an interesting one. Caelan Curtin sits down there, and all he can see in front of him is misery, rain, no grip, rubber everywhere. I've got to go out there as the first driver on a fully wet circuit. Now, they did get some wet practice earlier today. It is showery. One thing we will say to you guys is that even if it rains here, because the temperatures are so high, once it stops, the track dries very, very quickly. So from my perspective, like in Austria, the weather is a factor. And if you're the best in the business, you've got to be able to handle not only, you know, how scary this track is, and you can see the understeer straight away from Caelan Curtin. This is going to be very slippery out there.
It certainly is, Dave. Yeah, it's going to be very unpredictable. It's going to be almost dangerous. It's going to be to a point where you're going to have to put a safe run in. We said that safe runs were, you know, a thing of the past here at the Drift Masters European Championship. But now it's going to be a war of nutrition, because it's going to be a war of just getting a score on the board.
Yeah, I think we've watched some big. I mean, if you look at Max Cotton there, an 88 on a full dry track, and then it just disappears. He's got the best opportunity ever to stay high, because now scoring, as the judges say, scoring above an 80 at this point is very difficult, because the track isn't, you know, the conditions aren't good. You got to go full throttle, but you can't go full throttle in a wet track. So now I'm interested to see how Caelan Curtin, and the worst thing is it's like half wet, half dry. So some parts are going to be slippery, some parts are going to have more grip. You're going to see a lot of handbrake here as the guys adjust to it. From my perspective, this is probably the most pressure we've watched any driver under so far. And it's going to be the Romanian driver, Caelan Curtin, to sort of be the guinea pig to go and test how the surface is at the moment.
Well, he's off the line, Dave. As you say, the Romanian driver has 750 horsepower at his disposal, but he's not going to be using half of that at the moment. As you can see, early initiation, and he just lets the car slide into the outside zone on the foot brake. Caelan Curtin struggling to keep that car on any form of qualifying line. Wheels up on the curb. It's like a forklift. It's that sideways, comes down. This is the most treacherous part of the circuit, right in front of the judging tower, into outside zone 4. There is so much rubber laid down there. There is like an ice rink. They transition onto the wall. Look at this tarmac change. You can see the change in the track surface, and that wall area, driver's saying, gets so slippery. It's like you're almost dancing on ice.
And then the amazing thing is, I was speaking to one of the guys here who works at the circuit. From the start line to the finish line, you go across 5 different types of tarmac or asphalt, or, you know, all 5 different types through the course. Isn't that incredible? And every single one, as the drivers say, has a different grip level.
Yeah.
So I don't know how these guys are going to manage this. You can see Caelan Curtin, and you said using every bit of angle he had in that car. This is the slipperiest part. The reason being, a lot of tires have dropped there. They've pulled the mud and dirt in out of, you know, from over the curb, and it's super slippery. Watch it right here. As we go up to this wall, another surface change there. And now we've got a completely different surface for the most scary part of the track, which is that big concrete wall.
And even in the wall area, if you had to take a look at the next camera angle, there's a portion of the circuit, of the walled area, that's different tarmac again. So really challenging for the guys. Wow.
I don't know. Are we going to see the likes of, you know, the guys finishing high on the podium at the last round? It was a 0 for straightening up in the middle of the circuit there for Caelan Curtin. If you look at the guys from the last round, the Shanahans, Zalewski, Kvyat, Peter Wiańczek, they're going out in treacherous conditions with all the wild cards putting in big scores because they had it in the dry. So we could see we could see some of the top championship contenders not qualify for battles.
And you know who was one of those guys that scored high? James Dean in the dry, looking strong now. Juha Rintanen now sits on the line. The Finnish driver sits in this incredible Nissan XS15, this 300 style livery. I know you're a big fan, Dave, I am too. screaming through the gears, over 800 horsepower. Rittenen fires in tentatively low. Look at that very shallow angle. He knows he just needs to put a score on the board. Shallows up the angle, now starts to dial it on the transition. You can hear that car hitting the rev limiter every single way. He's modulating the throttle, just trying to make his way around. Goes wheel up on the curb, looks for the transition. As Rittenen now makes his way into outside zone 5. Very tidy job at the moment. No windows on that car for Rittenen. He's getting absolutely soaked in the rain. Fails to get to outside zone 6. So can he work the back end in? He can, as he puts it 90 degrees to the wall and takes the back bumper off.
Something definitely fell off the back of that car around that wall. Sorry, I'm not sure what it was. I'm sure just pieces of car falling off. And the one thing is, you look at the Scandinavian drivers, I mean, the closest thing you're going to get to ice is this Riga circuit right now. And these guys have got a lot of experience with low traction drifting. And you can see Rittenen really playing with the throttle and the handbrake, just trying to keep the car moving. I think all of the teams and the spotters will be saying to the drivers, just put a score on the board.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of zeros here. You can see it just in the background. I'm not sure what that was. Something coming out of the back of the car. And then he says, well, I'll take some more pieces off the car.
Yeah, Rittenen there doing a very good job in difficult weather conditions as the rain continues to fall.
That's a 73, but I think that's a good score for where we're at right now. I don't think we're going to see those 90s in these conditions. You want to do something incredible to get up towards the 80s and 90s at the moment. But 11th position, he's got a score on the board, and a lot of nervous drivers. You can see next driver up will be Max Heidrich from Germany. But if there's one man that's afraid of absolutely nothing, it's Max Heidrich, and he doesn't know how to wind back.
No.
All of his settings are 100 to 150%. Nothing goes below that. It's max commitment. But look at the car, and the wipers are on. This is going to be, you know, a jarring moment coming through the gears into fourth gear, flicking into that first corner. Go early on the handbrake, feel the grip levels, massage the car out, but he's dropped out of that outer zone a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to have to work now to get this back on that qualifying line as he transitions back into outside zone 2. Looking a little bit more comfortable though, as now he washes down. He's going to go very wide. And look at that, little kicks, a little bit of dust in the air. The only dry part of the circuit as Heidrich works the back end into outside zone 5. Looks for the transition back. Little dab the handbrake sim, working the handbrake, trying to get that car set up nicely into outside zone 6. On the throttle goes Max Heidrich, back bumper on the wall, and yet another contender for a back bumper competition.
We are going to have a graveyard of back bumpers down there on that last wall. I'll tell you one thing though, I think the rain easing a little bit now, and once the rain stops, it starts to dry. That's the thing. It's not going to take a very long time for us to see smoke again once that rain stops. Temperature on the ground, very warm. You know, it's very humid here at the moment in Riga, in Latvia. And at this time of the year in the summer, we're obviously going to get these little thunderstorms that just throw a little bit of a dart into qualifying to just mess everything up. But watch Heidrich. He's on full angle on both walls, or on the last wall, and then just, you know, gets nice and close and says, you know what, I wonder how close I am. Yeah, I'm close enough that the bumpers come off. And, you know, it's a little exclamation point at the end of the run, saying to the judges, what about
That's
that?
where I am.
That's a 70 on the board for Max Heidrich from Germany, 12th position. And this is around about where I'm going to see the scoring for a while. I think we're going to see it around the 70s, get a run on the board. I think a perfect run now is going to take incredible talent.
It certainly is. Well, there we go. We go back to the start line where we should see Mikołaj Jarhuski.
Yeah, Zarkowski from Poland, and we watch. I mean, this is a big old car to get around here.
I'm just looking.
He's got a 780 horsepower, but he struggled a little bit in qualifying in Austria. Liked his practice runs earlier today, looking very strong. Growing into the championship, it's a big step up for him to a European level, but he's really got to find it within himself now to stay calm and put a score on the board.
Well, he's going to fire that car in. He's carrying a lot of speed. He's going to go wide. Oh, wow. Takes off the back bumper already on that cone, but he drops out of the outside zone. He's going very fast down into outside zone 2. No messing around now. He starts to scrub the speed. Very wet portion of the circuit. Puts the back bumper up onto that tyre wall. Puts a wheel on the edge of the circuit. He's going to go wheel on the curb again. Holding it together, though, right now. As Mikołaj, as he gets in to outside zone 6, shallows up the angle. Falls out of that outside zone now. He's going to have to really work to get the back end in. You can see big clutch kick, working it onto the wall he goes and across the line.
I think there's a lot of exhaling going on over that finish line. A lot of people going, oh, I'm still alive.
I made it.
I made it. The back end of the last 3 cars haven't made it, but you know what? The initiation, as you said, went wide. Watch, you got a little scared here, just to the edge of the circuit, and kind of came off the throttle a little bit just to make sure he stayed going. Nice job, but I think, watch just when the tarmac changes. I'm just going to show you as I come down here.
It's slippery.
It's just so slippery here.
Yeah.
Right here, the back end is just completely washing. He is a passenger at that point. He's off throttle, he's on full angle, and he just about gets away with it. That's going to be make or break.
It is going to be make or break. That is exactly where it's going to be make or break. There we go. Guys standing under the umbrella. 69, 14th position for Mikołaj
Yeah, rain not so heavy right now.
Yeah,
It's starting to lighten up a little bit.
It's easing off ever so slightly, so who knows what we're going to see as we move through. But it is going to be Felix Lindvall up next on the line. Oh no, sorry, Joe Hutunji now on the line. Jumping ahead of myself there.
You know what? It's exciting.
It's
It
exciting.
happens.
I'm excited, Dave. I'm excited.
You have every right to be in. And I'll tell you one thing, Joe Hutunji, another driver looking to find that extra couple of inches out of his car. Eli Hutunji, we heard him on the interview. He thinks these cars are actually better than he is. That's a big statement.
That is a big statement. That's saying that he is holding the car back and
he's the limiting factor
now. Well, if we go through the gears, goes Joe Hutunji. Looks for a nice flick on the initiation, tidily done, and Joe Hutunji keeps the back end in, just dials on a little bit more angle to put the rear wheel in to the outside zone 1. Flicks the car across the track now, as you say, Dave, the slipperiest part of the track. Oh, gets it very close to the tyre wall. Comes out unscathed though, as Joe Hutunji now looks for outside zone 5. You can see on the foot brake and the handbrake slowing that car down as he looks for the fall once again. Rear wheel in that zone. As Hutunji looks to finish up the run, puts an exclamation mark to it though and damages the car for the first time on the wall.
I think he can get the award for most expensive tail light repair because I'm pretty sure those tail lights are not blanks and they are not cheap, and he was not afraid to put it onto the wall at the end of the run. Very experienced driver, Joe Hutunji, probably one of the most experienced on the grid. He's been in these situations before, maybe not in this machine but in previous machines. He's been in the wet, he's been in the dry, he's been in different conditions, but I think it's this. Watch this transition back. That transition to outer zone 3, we're going to see spins there.
Yeah,
we're going to see people
100%.
just complete. I think most drivers are a passenger at that point.
You can see the way the car picks up speed. You can see the rear wheels spin even faster as soon as they go onto that patch of tarmac. And Hutunji
beautiful shot, beautiful car. You know what? He can't think about that. He's got to think about, I got to get in the show here.
It's built to do a job, Dave.
Whether it's an old car, new car, whatever car it is, the judges don't look at it any differently.
So, judges just giving us a little bit of background information, Dave, to this score. A 0.
2 wheels off.
2 wheels off and 3 straight.
Outer zone 3. Outer zone 4. So outer zone 4, wow. 2 wheels off. Well,
so, there we
that's
go.
put some pressure on Joe Hutunji.
Certainly has, and from where he's looking, it wasn't that bad of a run. We move back to the start line. To a man who I got a little bit ahead of myself here is, of course, the Swedish junior champion, 20 years of age, Felix Lindvall. This man, well, he wowed us in Austria.
Imagine 20 years of age. What are you doing this weekend? I'm going to Riga.
Go to Riga.
I'm going there, my 700 horsepower carbon Kevlar S15, and I'm just going to throw it down with the best in Europe.
But this is just normal now, Dave. This is normal now to most teenage and early 20s guys. To us, this is just a mere distant dream.
I mean, this shows that, and I like these guys because they're fearless. Yeah. They want to go out there and make a name for themselves. They've got the machinery now. Felix did a great job at round 1 and 2 in Austria. Can he continue his success here at round 3 when he's got a tough challenge ahead of him with conditions like this? A little bit of a wobble on entry, just tries to keep it moving, and he does, but you can see how slippery it is. I think that track is going to start drying very quickly, and it's going to be even worse when it's patchy. Watch, washing through. Did a good job though to go out onto the curb. A little bit wide here. Is he going to stay off the curb? Just about. So he's managing as he goes through the run to learn the conditions, but make a big error at the end, which I think might have undone all the good work he did at the start of the run. Oh, and now he smashes into the wall. There must be a media guy down there that these guys don't like.
Yeah, they're
just like, we're gonna, or maybe say, let's push the wall back so it's a little bit easier. So if we all work together and push it a little bit each run, that wall will be much easier for the battles tomorrow. But yeah, another rear end suffering from the lack of grip there just at the end of the wall.
So Felix Lindvall, as you can see, this part did a very tidy job here through probably one of the hardest parts of the circuit, carrying a lot of speed down there onto that tyre wall. Nice transition back. Where does he score? 47, 27th place at the moment.
Yeah,
so
big errors though coming into that last outer zone. I mean, he was almost on the inside of the circuit. So
and almost no style.
Yeah.
But can you have that much style in the rain?
You gotta be on the wall to have some style, Ian. That's the whole point.
This is it, yeah.
I see. People are high. So we've had some fans come in here from the UAE, fans come in from South Africa this weekend. They want to see Drift Masters action, well, they're getting it. And this man always delivers. Tor Arne Kavia. He finished a qualifying run in Austria with the bonnet on the windscreen. And then he finished in the top 2 of both round 1 and round 2 qualifying. So big pressure on his shoulders right now. The Norwegian sledgehammer is going to try and command this run. He's a very good driver in the wet. Let's see if he can first to take to this course with maximum angle. It looks like he can. Definitely much more aggressive and control to that first section than any other driver we've seen so far. Now this is the tricky part. Has to come off throttle here. You see him on the front brake trying to keep that car moving. Does a good job. It's so hard to know where the grip is and the grip isn't on this track right now. And on your screens, it might look very consistent. I can tell you here in the flesh, it is a very difficult track when it's wet and dry and patchy. And Bikernieki Riga, he is a different beast this year. Another driver smashing into the wall. Photographer's absolutely loving that last section. So are we. And Bikernieki Riga doing an incredible job in the wet.
Yeah, that was an absolutely stunning run to Bikernieki Riga. Could have been, you know, improved in slight areas, but for me, probably one of the best runs we're going to see in this weather at the moment, as Kvyat handles that circuit like an absolute champion. As you say, style, well, he did it in bag loads in Austria. Won it on the windscreen and completely fulfilled the run, but of course, it is part of the rules that all of the body panels have to stay on during the run. Look at that, pushes the back end up onto the wheel as Kvyat makes his way across the line. Very nice job for Bikernieki Riga. And an 81, 8th place goes Kvyat. I'm going to say that's probably one of the highest scores we're going to see.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the conditions. Take 10 points off for the conditions.
Yeah.
And you're looking at 81 there. That's the way I'd look at it. So an incredibly strong performance. Kvyat, the battles let him down. Mechanical failures, making some silly errors at round 1, round 2. I don't think he said to me in the paddock, kind of as bad a weekend as round 1 and 2. So it looks like it's starting okay. Next up, Manuel Vacca from Italy, 38 years of age. 2-time Italian drift champion, 850 horsepower in this. He's got a BMW S54 turbo. And he's a guy that's not afraid to throw down, big speed, big angle. But weather always, you know, in Italy is pretty good. So he might not be so used to these wet conditions. And again, I think that first corner, how do you approach it? You know, it's so slippery, but yet so fast. Suffering a little bit through the center of the course here is Manuel Vacca, as he now washes into that outer zone, but does a great job. Just a little jump up on the curb, settles the car a little bit before the transition, but he's going to come up shallow here, and a little bit of a straight line towards the wall. Not the line the judges are looking for, but making a good job of getting around the course. And is he going to go to the wall like every other driver here? Of course he is. Everybody's getting to the wall there. Finishing up very nicely is Manuel Vacca, but a couple of errors creeping in across the run. Not as strong as Kvyat's, but definitely an improvement on some of the runs we've watched before.
Yes, certainly so. And for me, I think the initiation's slightly dry. I think it's very, very windy now here in Latvia, and I think the initiation just after that cone is a little bit drier than what these guys are assuming, and I think that is catching them out, and that's pushing them wide on outside zone 1. There you go, you can see Vacca taking down that cone.
Well, what I like about this now is we're now moving to the top 8 drivers in the championship. They're in the worst conditions. All the wild cards have put in high scores. Now we've got the top 8 in the championship. This could be all changed up in the first half of qualifying. And these guys who are now, you know, starting to dream, starting to believe, this is my year, I could win it, I'm chasing down Peter Viancek at the top. Will it all fall apart in the first half of qualifying? Anything can happen. We move to the start line. Marko Zakaril from the Czech Republic, 850 horsepower, BMW, one of the fastest cars on the grid. Lots of horsepower, counts for very little when the conditions are wet. It's a little fist pump from our start line, Marcin. Marcin says, hey, take it easy out there. There should be a big road sign saying, tricky conditions ahead.
Well, there we go. Starts to line up and waits for the final light to illuminate before he leaves the start line. There we go. Marko Zakaril out the gate, hot through the gears, and he comes screaming down. Looks like the wind's starting to dry the track up massively. Zakaril gets himself into it, nicely done on outside zone 1, carries big angle now as he fires across the track. A little bit of tyre smoke fired up. This is looking good for Zakaril. Now gets to the tricky part of the circuit, very wet, big angle dialed on, almost over-rotates, but he holds on to it now. And Zakaril back on throttle again into outside zone 6. He goes big handbrake drag, sets himself up for the wall, almost makes a big impact. The back end of that BMW, Zakaril looking to hang the back end on the wall, 90 degrees to the wall and across the line.
What an incredible run from Marko Zakaril. In the wet, he drove it like it was bone dry. The end of that outer zone on the first corner, I thought he was just going to spin around. He held it. He came through outer zone 4, held it again. Look at this, he's on full angle. Look at those front wheels on full angle. Transitions on full throttle again. And this is the even more impressive part. Watch the angle he pulls as he goes through this section. He is on full throttle, full angle, and gets through the whole course. Incredible.
Makes it work. Where does he score though? Judges may not have liked it as much as what we did. Look at that, so close to the wall, firing those rubber marbles up.
Ricocheting off the wall. Amazing shots from our phantom camera. And Marko Zakaril puts in an 83 on the board.
Wow.
6th position.
And we're saying that an
Unbelievable.
81 was a higher.
I didn't expect to see any 80s
No.
when the conditions are like this. It goes to show he's in the top 8 in the championship. He's in 8th position.
He's waiting, look, sitting down there waiting for the score. Look at that Sui spotter underneath of us in the tower. Thumbs up.
That'll do. That'll take the pressure off.
Well, a man that can benefit from the weather, Axel Francois, now sits on the line, struggling with a little bit of power in this car, saying that the car not really working that well, not really feeling this track, felt at home in Austria. Now probably saying, I stand a chance.
Yeah, well, he's got a Toyota V8. 1UZ V8 under the bonnet of this car. Not the most expensive engine in the world. No, he's a guy that runs this program on a budget, but boy can he drive. And he's got precision. Might suit him here. Let's see how Axel Francois goes into this first corner. Early initiation. Will he be able to drag it? Has to go back on the handbrake again to extend that drift, take it out to that outer zone. Those zones are almost disappearing with the change in weather conditions as well here. Hard to see them. As Axel Francois, he's kind of not as committed as Marco Zaccarol was before. A little bit more tentative than Zaccarol. Zaccarol took the chance. It paid off. Francois with a much more calculated approach to this run as he now takes it out nice and wide. And this is where he's better than Zaccarol. Out early. You see him adjusting on the handbrake, brushing the back end of the car off the wall. Phenomenal job from Axel Francois, showing why he's 7th position in the championship right now. Always smiling. He'll be smiling again after that run.
He certainly will, Dave. Yeah, we say, you know, lacking with a little bit of power. Still 700 horsepower, but Axel struggling with this car the last couple of events and saying that, you know, it's not 110%, and this weather looks like it's helped him out. A lot of use of the handbrake, though, slowing the car down a lot, making those big adjustments. Judges will be looking at that, especially in the full throttle zones. As Francois, though, gets the car and the rim onto the wall as he crosses the line. And the Frenchman will be happy with that. Where does he score? 79, drops himself into 11th place. Very nice job there from Axel Francois.
He's happy with that because,
Yeah.
you know, it's best case scenario, because the worst case is you get a 0. You've it all to do in the second run, and we don't know what way the weather's going to go. Will it be full dry? Will it be full wet? I feel like we've seen the last of the rain for a little while now, so that means we're going to end up with the track
Patchy,
drying. We're going to
yeah.
start seeing tire smoke. And I spoke to Conor Shanahan yesterday. He said, I don't mind it being wet, I don't mind it being dry, but please don't let it be both, because he said it's impossible to drive. And now Oliver Randalou, I think, is going to feel that pressure as we get to the business end of the championship. They're under the worst conditions in this qualifying session.
Well, they certainly are. And this young man wowed us at round 1 and round 2 and looking very, very strong today. Came out the gate swinging. Can he do the same now in patchy weather conditions? You can see the initiation drying up, tyre smoke there on the back end of that BMW as he gets full throttle through outside zone 1. Onto it, dials big angle through that inside front clipping point. Oh, up on the curb goes Randalou. Can he hold on to it? Certainly can as he gets himself into outside zone 5. Looking for the transition back now, starts to make a tentative dive up into the wall as Randalou wanders in and out of that final outside zone. Looks to stick the back bumper onto the wall, just can't make it there.
We're starting to see that tire smoke come from the back of the cars, but the place that's slowest to dry is right in front of the grandstand, and you can see Randalou got a bit of confidence through the first corner when he had a little bit of grip, then all of a sudden, boom, it was all gone and just about held down. Watch, he's starting to put tire smoke down. He's got some grip going on. He's like, hey, this isn't so bad. And watch that line of tarmac in the middle of this course. Boom, hits it there. The car just absolutely takes off washing, and he just about holds it on. So impressive stuff from Oliver Randalou. He's really come on this year. Driver, I actually think, has a real shot at this championship if he has a good, strong weekend. I mean, we've got 2 rounds this weekend. These guys can double points, you know, if they get the feel of the track early, like Randalou putting a 69 in. If he gets the feel early, you know what I mean, get into that zone, start getting that muscle memory going, you're going to be a contender for the whole weekend, and you got 2 rounds. So we saw Peter Bjorn say get a hang of that Austrian track, and he never let go for the whole weekend. Will we see someone do the same? Well, we've got the top 5 drivers in the championship now lined up and ready to go. And in 5th position in the championship is Jack Shanahan. He's a man that's finished 2nd in the Drift Masters European Championship in 2019. He's a top qualifier more often than not, but not in ideal conditions here to put on a show like Jack Shanahan likes to do.
Exactly that. Judges saying he was the man to keep an eye on earlier on in practice. He had an absolutely clinical line. Can he put that down right now in these tricky weather conditions? Shanahan going to see what he's all about as he slams through the gears in that Toyota GT86. Shanahan goes for a big flick initiation. Look at this, into the outside zone, dials on the angle, holds onto it. Look at the tyre smoke now as things are starting to dry up, the wind picking up once again. Shanahan makes his way down. This is where it gets tricky. Look at this, on the foot brake. Wow, Shanahan 90 degrees to the tyre wall as he transitions back. Tyre smoke once again. Shanahan making this look easy, like a walk in the park. Gets the back end into that final outside zone. Now he's going to work it up into the wall. He certainly does, dial some more angle on it. Shanahan crosses the line, incredible job.
Well, that's just, you know, there's a driver on form. There's a driver that's just at one with himself. You can see shaking his head. He knew that was going to be a tough run. He knew that was a challenge. And I think the worst thing about Jack Shannon is he's sometimes his own worst critic.
enemy. Yeah.
His own worst critic. I mean, he has a very high standard. He likes to drive. That outside line in these conditions is sensational. As he throws out here, I thought he was going to end up in the tire bales.
The way he does, the angle him.
Dials on full lock, gets off the curb, and this is another thing. Watch, no handbrake. You don't see those back wheels lock up at all. He just keeps that throttle on the whole way through. That's what the judges are going to reward, that commitment and that angle. But Shannon doing an awesome job. And 85 in patchy conditions for Jack Shanahan. Don't take your eyes off him this weekend. He is now very much a contender.
He certainly is, Dave. And there's us, and 81's the highest you'll see. Shanahan comes out and says, watch this, hold my beer.
We should never underestimate these guys, no matter what the conditions, what the track.
It's like dangling a carrot, Dave.
Yeah, they say.
They're like, there's an 81. They're like, these guys.
They're in the car. Did you say I can't get an 85? Watch this.
Well, Adam Zalewski, the 2018 Drift Masters European champion, now comes off the line.
Yeah, we were talking to Adam after round 1 and 2. He always has a slow start to the season. That's a cracking start to the season this year. Wants to continue, and that's a very aggressive entry from Zalewski there in these conditions, playing with the outside. These guys are just taking it up a notch straight away, going to the curb. Zalewski with an absolutely monstrous run, not backing off the throttle. Looks like the grip's coming back into the circuit, gradually run by run, and Zalewski looking good again, going to the wall, nice and close, even probably closer than Shanahan was, right to the edge of the circuit. Zalewski and Shanahan are the two guys who always seem to end up in a crazy battle on this circuit, and we just saw them back to back, and you know what, Zalewski looking just as strong.
Looking incredibly strong. That was a very, very nice run there from Adam Zalewski, and where I was sitting, Dave, not too many mistakes.
Well, what I love about it is you got Jack Shannon, 21 years of age, you know, in a GT86 with a Toyota 2JZ. Zalewski, same car, same engine, same age. You know, it's like they're like mirror opposites from Poland.
Polar
and
opposites.
Yeah, Poland opposites.
Wow, I like that. I like what we did there, Dave.
First punt of the weekend.
First.
And what I love about this is that he stayed in throttle the whole run.
Yes.
Incredible. And he's thumbs up, he's cash. He's just sitting there going, 84? What did Jack get, 85?
85.
It's already started. This rivalry will never go away. I love this. These two guys just seem to one-up each other every single time, and we still get to see them in the second half of qualifying. But if we're seeing scores like this so early on in the worst conditions, you guys don't want to go anywhere for the second half of qualifying when these guys go for broke.
Well, there we go. Back to the line we go, and we are in the top three. It is up next, the Lithuanian driver, Benediktas Čerba, E92 BMW Eurofighter, 900 horsepower. This man, well, he said this is the year. New car, new me, coming for the championship. At the moment, Vincek is the only man holding it down. Can Benediktas Čerba get himself back on the podium? He did at round 2. Can he do it again? Broken car, knocked him out of competition last time. Čerba slows down, lifts off the throttle early before the initiation. That's hurt him. He's had to work now into it. You can see left foot brake, getting the back end, that BMW into those outside zones. Tentative as he makes his way down in front of the judging tower. Look at that on the foot brake. Track now almost bone dry completely through the middle part of the circuit into outside zone 5. Nice line as Čerba slows the car down, works the back end into that zone, drops out of it though a little early. You can see front wheel completely locked as he tries desperately to get the back of that BMW into that zone.
You know what, I think Čerba's team were probably asked what are the conditions like. They said kind of wet and dry. That almost looked bone dry through the first. Yeah. I mean, the wind here is starting to, you know, take away that water off the surface of this circuit. Watch this, full smoke towards the end of the run. Watch this, when he transitions, doesn't stay full throttle, goes on handbrake, slows the speed down. Now he's in trouble, got a handbrake, keep working the car out there, and it is still quite wet there, but I think within about 5 or 6 runs, we're gonna have a fully dry circuit here.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. I think the more these guys run through the circuit, and the wind, as you say, relentless today, cutting through the place, and there he is, first place qualifier, James Dean, looking happily confident down there, Dave, on the grid. But what did Benediktas Čerba do at 66? Judges not liking it, 23rd position,
yeah, I think
work to be done.
So much handbrake work on that run, and I think he thought it was a lot slippier than it was.
Yes,
and that's, and you know, he learned from that. He'll come out much stronger for the second half. But we move to the second ranked highest driver in the championship right now, and it's Conor Shannon. Debuted this new GT86 at round 1 and 2 in Austria. Had the dream weekend, turned up in a new car, got to the podium, qualifying first in the second event. I mean, this guy is back in full swing, but Riga's always been a little bit of a weak point for him. He says he has struggled in this track in the past. Can he now make it work here when it really counts? Has to come in very aggressive, very early initiation, and he almost doesn't make it work. And probably too early on the initiation. Now on the left foot brake to that first corner to try and make it work. This is a little bit scrappier than his brother Jack's run, and I think he was expecting this to be a lot wetter than it was.
Yeah, he underestimated the amount of grip that's out there, Dave, and that threw him off outside zone 1. Now he's working, he's going to go wide. Look at that, the way he had to dive across the circuit to avoid hitting the curb. Very shallow. Shanahan shuts it down. Oh no, stays in it. Looked like he was going to completely shut it down, understeering towards the wall. Oh, Shanahan will be absolutely bitter with that run.
I think Sherba and Conor Shanahan both have been, it's not really their fault, they thought they were on a patchy circuit. It wasn't patchy when they got there. They both initiated early to sort of, not go too fast into the corner, but they didn't have enough pace. Watch Shanahan on the left foot braking here. He's on the brakes and trying to come through this course. Watch you'll see the illumination on the front of the windscreen and the rear. He's on the front brakes through there. Didn't need to be. It wasn't that slippy.
Look at this. Massive, massive correction.
Yeah, I think it's going to hurt his score here. I think a little unfair on some of these drivers that are coming, they're watching these guys putting in 84s, 85s on a patchy track, and then what? 2 minutes later, it's fully bone dry. That's how crazy this place is. It's like the Bermuda Triangle, but it's not a triangle, it's not Bermuda, it's Riga, and this track brings it every time.
Insane. So there we go, slow-mo shots. James Dean hangs around in the background, just waiting to see if anyone will topple him.
Well, I'll tell you what he's doing. He's on his phone, he's looking at the same broadcast you're looking at, and he's checking the scores. He's watching as it's rolling in. But Conor Shanahan, I think, 57, I think it's a fair score. A lot of mistakes. That puts pressure on it. Sitting second in the championship, now in 30th position in qualifying after what will be the first half of qualifying. Not where you want to be.
No, certainly not where he's going to want to be. Down almost on the drop zone. And Shanahan knows work to be done. We go back to the start line.
We've got to move to our unstoppable force.
I mean, a man, Dave, technically, that is unbeaten so far in this championship.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's now sitting there going, do I attack at a full 100% or do I try and put a safer in? I don't know if there's a right answer to that right now.
I don't know if he knows if there's a right answer for that. He's on the start line, ready to go. He waits for that light to drop out. If anyone knows, it will be Vincek. He comes through the gates, down through the gears, 850 horsepower underneath the bonnet, unleashed through the tyres as Vincek goes for a nice initiation. Look at this, he's going to go a little bit tentative. That's going to hurt him. Yeah, it does. Just about holds one wheel into the outside zone. He's realised it's dry. Now he's got to work on it. Hammers down, looks for the outside zone. He knows that part of the circuit is very slippery in the wet. Gets back into it once again. Vincek not on that perfect line. He's going to struggle to score higher than Dean now. Then that is the man that he wants to beat this weekend. Foot flat to the floor as he looks to put the back end on there. Almost straightens up before the line.
There's some errors there.
Yeah,
and I think those, if you look at the pattern, I think the last, what I would call patchy run, was probably Adam Zalewski. And Chirba, Conor Shanahan and Peter Vincek all getting caught out by how quickly that track has dried.
Yeah, massively. Look at this. You can see the errors creeping in and look at the big handbrake drag to that outside zone, and then he realised, it's drier than what I thought, and that sacrifices outside zone 5. You can see not as deep in as what he would have liked to have been. And then he transitions back for 6, fails to get all the way up into the wall and almost straightens across the line. Big mistakes there. 69, 19th place for Peter Vincek.
Well, that's shaking things up.
That has definitely shaking it up, Dave.
Absolutely. Well, I want to hear what the conditions are like out there. So Becky is down with Peter Vincek. Becky, these guys are struggling towards the end of qualifying.
Well, Peter, a very tricky track out there. What are the grip conditions like?
Yeah, it's simply awful. In my case, I initiated a bit too slowly. Then my run was a one huge correction, pretty much. I have to be on the left foot pretty much for a whole first corner. Same in the second one. It was really hard to adjust the speed for the conditions. It was my first run on a wet, if you can call it that way. So let's hope for a second one.
And what is it like with the steering out there? You have to be really busy, or is it quite smooth?
You simply need to expect everything and adjust to that. So and adapt. Yeah, it was definitely an experience.
Well, good luck, Peter. Here's it all going good for the next run.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. I mean, what I love about that is that if you're a professional driver and you're at a course that's this scary, and you say the word, it was an experience, that sounds like you're not 100% comfortable. And it's right. He said exactly that. He went to the first corner too slow, and then it's one big correction the whole way through the course. And I think
he knew that. Yeah,
and he knew straight away, I've come in too slow. I'm now working this track far more. I mean, there, if that is the outfit I would wear, to be honest.
That's the outfit I wish I had right now, because I'm cold. I'm cold now, Dave.
Full raincoat. You know, they're still having fun. It's now a little bit windy, but... Oh, and there we have Nicholas Bertens.
Nicholas Bertens.
Yeah, one of our favourite drivers in Europe. He's watching on. And to be honest with you, I think now the weather is starting to chill out a little bit. The wind is starting to die down. The track is drying. Will we get a full, dry second half of qualifying? Well, the answer is we don't know, because it changes in a heartbeat here in Riga. We're promised this all over the weekend. I think it's going to mix things up. I think it's going to cause a couple of upsets. I mean, you're looking at the top 3 drivers in the championship not getting past a 70 in their scoring for the first run. Now we go back to the start. It's the second half of qualifying. A lot of zeros on the board. What do you think, Ian?
Do you know what, Dave? I think the guys that were stuck in the middle of the pack that got the rain were the most unluckiest guys of the weekend, because those, and as well, the top 5 guys, because they were unlucky, because they got the really patchy conditions. You know, they would have been at the back of the grid watching the rest of the guys go out and say, look, it's full wet, it's getting drier. They would have been letting their tyre pressures down. Then they've gone out for those almost bone dry runs, tentatively on the initiations, and it's completely messed them up. You heard Peter say it, I went in way too slow compared to what he'd been doing all day.
But here's the thing, have they gripped the cars up now so much for the wet that they go back out and have trouble in the dry? It's just going to be crazy to watch. We're back to the start of qualifying, the second half of qualifying. It's one and done for everybody. Remember, 2 non-consecutive runs. Everyone from this point on is on their second run. The highest score from their 2 runs counts as their overall score. So to be fair, if you have a bad first run, you can erase that from everyone's memory and put in an awesome second run. We'll start with the Dutch driver, Clint van Oort. He is a 2018 Dutch Drift Champion, 780 horsepower. His first run, hit and miss.
Hit and miss, yeah. I mean, look, a lot of mistakes creeping in. As
46.
we said, 46, Dave. It was his debut here at the Drift Masters European Championship in his brand new build. Now he faces a circuit with an unknown, but he's coming in hot. Oh, and he drops out of the outside zone. He's gripped up way too much. Another driver that underestimated the level of grip out on the circuit comes down there in front of the judging tower, and he's sacrificing outside zones left, right, and centre. He's going to go wide, just about keeps it off the curb as Clint van Oort now sacrifices outside zone 6, falling apart right now for the Dutch driver as he takes it across the line, and he'll know, Dave, from that run that I don't think that's enough to get himself in the show.
From my perspective, look, this is debut. It's a new track, it's a new car. That's a lot to try and make come together in one weekend. And I'm not sure any driver on this grid can arrive with that much sort of so many variables, so many unknowns, and put it all together. Now you add the weather in there, that was a big ask. I mean, never say never.
No.
But that outer zone being completely missed in front of the grandstand, it's right in front of the judges. You know, they're really gonna be nitpicking there. And I think Van Oort, a little bit of experience gained this weekend. But the great thing is, he can, if he doesn't qualify, who on the 24 drivers won't qualify, remember, they can just come back out here on Sunday
and do it again
and win the whole event, and no one will remember any of this.
No, they'll forget all about that.
They'll forget all about this. So that's the thing. You sort of get 2 chances, 2 rolls of the dice. And for those guys in the championship hunt, they need all the points they can get, because each round counts for an equal amount of championship points. So, yeah, 49 knocks him out of competition. We predicted it.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes, especially when you start looking at the 9 out of 20 on angle, you know, and 7 on stop. So Van Oort will have to rethink, spectate, learn. We've got the rain back again. We do not have the rain back again. Could this get more dramatic?
Is it raining again? It is raining again.
Wow.
And how is your luck? Sebastian Fonten, well, look, we was talking earlier to his spotter downstairs, and a man that knows him very, very well. This man, hiatus away from the Drift Masters European Championship, but he's been doing a lot of wet driving in the Netherlands. Dave's going to feel right at home. He's in his pro car, he's in the wet. This is Sebastian Fonten's time right now, fires it in, dab of the handbrake, gets himself into it. And that part of the circuit, though, still bone dry at the moment, foot flat to the floor as he unleashes all of the horsepower, 650 horsepower. Fonten now comes down in front of judging tower, sacrifices outside zone 4, needs to get himself back into it, big handbrake drag down. That's a full throttle zone again, handbrake drag into outside zone 6, starting to fall apart. This is not looking like Fonten's weekend. Wipers are on still, on the foot brake and across the line.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's the conditions again, striking. I mean, it's getting wet, but it's still quite dry. And I don't know. I think the idea here is you got to look at this from a human element. That first corner at that speed, without any knowledge of how much grip there is, he comes in full throttle, full commitment. I think this is where it went wrong. As he transitions back, he's on full throttle. I think he expects when the change of tarmac comes that it's going to slide. It doesn't. Grips up, and he's kind of making a mess from there on the rest of the run.
Wow, that's a shame. Sebastian Fontaine, as I say, been having a lot of wet driving in the off-season at his local circuit. And not really paying much here. 72, almost matches his first score. Stays where he is in 14th position with a 75 at the moment.
You know, we say when the conditions change, when it gets wet, drop the scores down 10 points. That might be enough. That might be enough to be safe.
Enough, yeah. Here we go. Laurie Heinonen now sits on the line. This incredible Nissan 206 with a Dodge NASCAR V8 underneath the bonnet. The best sounding car, easily on the grid. Wipers on though. Laurie Heinonen had some seat time earlier on in the wet conditions. He'll know what it's all about. Makes his way through that start line through the chicane, which will come into play tomorrow. We'll tell you more about that as the day progresses. Through the gears he goes. Windscreen wiper. Big dab on the foot brake as he flicks that car into that first outside zone. Look at this track now, almost completely saturated, full wet weather conditions. Oh, gets a wheel onto the dirt, fires mud up the side of the circuit. Very nice line though from outside zone 4 into 5 now as he dials on big angle, looks for the wall as Heinonen balances that car on angle. And Heinonen just dropping out. Can he work his way back in? He's certainly going to try to as he gets the back bumper on the wall and across the line. Laurie Heinonen doing an incredible job in treacherous weather conditions.
Yeah, doing a little bit of gardening on the outer zone there, digging up the grass. And that's the thing. I mean, we now have the rain spilling down again, and the track is drying so fast. While the rain comes down, these guys have no idea where the grip is. As he transitions, once he hits the curbs, they are definitely very, very slippery. He does a good job. He actually comes away from it, keeps the control in the car. I'm liking his chances this weekend. He looks very comfortable in the car, and the angle these guys are pulling through that outer zone is crazy. But some errors creeping in as well, so he won't outdo his first score of 84. 84, though, a very strong score. Still enough for 5th. I think he's in the game with that.
I think he is in the game with that, Dave. I think you're correct there. 84, 5th place. He's inside the top 10. His debut here, the Drift Masters European Championship. Roland's Berzins now sits on the line. The Latvian driver in this Nissan 206 S15. BMW V8 twin turbo underneath the bonnet. And we take a ride on the inside of Roland's Berzins Nissan. And on the bonnet, as you can see, rain dropping down. He puts his hand up to shut the roof vent. As he fires now into outside zone 1 on the throttle very late. That part of the circuit still kind of dry. As Berzins wakes his way out, another sacrifice wheel up onto the curb. Tyre smoke from the back end of that car, but look how wet it is there on outside zone 4. Transitions back, looks for 5, dials on big angle, uses the angle to slow the car down. Very clever move there from Berzins as he gets on to the wall, then drops out of outside zone 6, looks to get back into it again, throws angle at it, oh, and over-rotates almost across the line, holds onto it just about.
Well, I like that phrase, Ian, holding on to it, because it looks like sometimes the cars are driving the driver at this point. The grip level's crazy. I mean, I think that first corner is still bone dry. So you've got to come in at full commitment. Weird. Then, as you come through the course, you've got absolute, no grip whatsoever. Gets up on the curb. I think this actually helps him to extend a little bit. But watch here. Watch how loose the back end of the car gets. Just completely loses it. And then at the end, I think we've got a little bit of the end of that corner staying very, very, very wet. But that was just after the wall. Maybe the judges will score him for that.
Yeah, not sure how and where it's wet, because like you say, Dave, that outside zone 1 seems to still be very much dry. And I thought he had a roof vent, isn't it? His windscreen wipers, his electronics is all up there.
Cool place to have it on the roof.
Easy to get to when you're strapped in. These guys are having fun.
They don't care about the wind and the rain. They're like, we're here for drifting. We're having fun.
We're having fun.
It's the thing about drifting. We've watched it in all conditions. Sometimes I think the rain in qualifying, and I'm going to say it, can mix things up nicely for the gridding of the battles. So yeah, I'm just going to say, we've got a couple of guys here sitting very close to the drop zone there. Roland's Berzins from Latvia, 28th position. That's not a nice place to be.
And it's not. And a 61 is almost on the drop zone.
And there's a happy man, Max Cotton, always smiling, win, lose or draw. But an 88 from his first run, I mean, he couldn't be happier. I mean,
no.
Will anyone be able to do an 88 in these conditions from this point on? Well, never say never.
Well, there we go. Ivo Sarulis now sits on the line. A fellow Latvian. JZ underneath the bonnet. It's BMW E46 through the chicane, down through the gears, wipers on. Not sure what's going on in the back end of that circuit. Is the rain still falling? It looks like it. No smoke now. But then Could it be dry? Because it fires him off. He's gone wide. Oh, just about holds onto it. He's going to try and get himself back into this one, but not sure if the judges are going to score that one or not. And you can see right in front of the judging tower, completely saturated track. And yeah, look at this, Cerullis, massive straight, and that's going to be at 0, Dave.
Now, you know what? I was speaking to some of the drivers after we had that shower in practice, and there was one word that I kept hearing quite a bit: undrivable. Saying that it was undrivable because you have no idea where the grip is. You can see he washes to the outer zone. When he transitions back, he's got full grip.
Yeah.
So how do you predict that as a driver? You can't. It's incredibly difficult. And there you have a very talented driver, Aniva Cerullis.
A 0, yeah.
0 on a second run and sitting in 17th position with a 70. I think these scores are going to be interesting. I think the lineup is going to be very interesting. And you know what? I think when we look at that score sheet at the end of our qualifying session, there's going to be a lot of surprises. Remember, 24 drivers are not going to make battles tomorrow. And that's so harsh now that you have to risk so much to get in and get the score.
Yeah.
But risk just that little bit too much and you're on a 0.
Wow. Well, there we go. We move back to the start line. It is Ravis Alskars. Now, Alskars,
48 on his first run, sitting
Yeah.
in 37th, has to improve.
I mean, we say that so easily, Dave. Has to improve on probably the odd track.
It's easy for us, Ian,
It's
because
easy.
we don't have to do it.
And we're in the drive.
Exactly. So the last place I would want to be is in the cockpit of one of these machines in these conditions. Into that first corner, takes a big risk. He's going to go wide here. But watch the end of the corner, gets very wet very fast and loses the back end a little bit. The transition might help him. Oh, backed out of it a little bit as he transitioned back. Flames firing from underneath the front of the car. Now here's absolutely no grip on the circuit here. Now all of a sudden, big ton of grip comes in as they come down the hill. Doing a good job so far of negotiating. Now he's got to go to that wall. He's got to take the risk. It's the second row, but he's on the inside of the circuit. Judges aren't going to like that. And he's going to get a wrong arc here, so he's going to get very close to the end of the wall, but not where the judges wanted him to be.
Oh, do you know what, Dave? I think all that good work he done on the initiation was undone on that final corner on outside zone 6, and that's going to hurt his score. And I'm not sure if that's going to be high enough to get himself into the show. A 61 was 28th place. So where does... Look at this. I mean, full commitment and fair play. Look at the way it snapped to angle and he had to transition.
But when he transitioned, it just stopped.
Yeah.
There's grip on one side of the corner and not on the other. How do you drive that? How do you even... I mean, these guys are incredibly talented right from top to bottom of the grid, but how do you adjust when you don't know what you're adjusting to?
Yeah, it's just... I wouldn't even want to attempt it.
No, I'm pretty happy where I am. All you guys at home are happy where you are, because the last place you want to be is on the scariest drift track in Europe with patchy conditions. A 55 does improve just onto the drop zone in 32nd position. He's going to hope that nothing moves left, right, up or down for the rest of this qualifying session, but I see that not happening. So he's probably going to be looking at a non-qualifying position there.
Session. Yeah, there we go. So we wait and go back to the start line. Edmunds Berzins now sits on the line.
And what he's doing here, you might say, well, it's not very hot, why is the door open? I think what he's doing here is trying to demist the front windscreen.
Yes, of course.
So you got to let that air in to make sure that you demist it. Now, of course, you can't see. That's another thing to throw in the mix. Can't see at 70 miles an hour in the first corner.
And it's still hammering down. It is still hammering down on the back end on the start line. No windscreen wiper for Berzins as he looks very late, very tentative initiation, and grippy still on the initiation, now fully wet. Is there grip there on the transition? Oh no, as it snaps to angle, holds onto it now, it gets really dicey. Right in front of the judging tower, flicks some dust up in the air.
Oh, big understeer moment. He got all the grip there, and what happened there is the back wheels gripped and the front wheels did not.
Yeah, had nothing.
That's exactly opposite of drifting. So what we're looking for is oversteer. What we got there was a bunch of understeer. I think he also has issues with that wiper. He can't see where he's going. So it's all gone wrong very, very quickly for Norman Schultz. Oh, and look at that, firing the dust onto the tire bales. I mean, you're holding on at that moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Berzin's there. We'll score a 0. He's out of the show, 41st place.
Oh, has to rethink and pray for
Sunday
and it being a little bit more predictable.
So we go back to the line. It is Mikael Norman-Toltz.
Yeah, Mikael Norman-Toltz, who, we said had a very pretty car, and they took the back end off it.
And then he destroyed it, Dave.
He just said, well, it's a little too pretty, so we need some work to do overnight. Boys are relaxing there in the pit area. We need to give them a little bit of work.
Give them something to do. It looks like they've got it half prepared anyway. Through the wheel, down in this incredible Toyota Supra. It's Mikael Norman Toltz dances in the rain, gets the back end of that super into the outside zone. Now this man looks like he's fully committed. Look at that, on the edge of the circuit, picks up the throttle nice and early, gets himself into that outside zone, looking very tidy. This could be the run that he needed. Could be what he was after. Mikkel Norman Toltz looks at the transition back. You can hear the tyres screech, but stays in it, gets up on the curb, takes the cone down, holds on to it as he plays a dangerous game, dancing on the edge of the circuit right now as Mikkel Norman Toltz puts the Supra into the outside zone and across the line.
That's excellent for the conditions that are out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely excellent. And you know what? You're right, committed. That was the word I really wanted to highlight there, because he came into a track, he was unsure of the conditions. And what will be happening right now is, you guys won't see it, but in the cars that are, 2 or 3 back on the grid, they're watching this broadcast. They're watching where other guys are gripping up. They're watching where other guys are getting, to those slippery areas. And you can see he's learning. He's learning there is a bit more grip here, not so much that it comes off the throttle here. Look, little handbrake just to, as the transition of tarmac, handbrakes it very clever to go, I don't want to wash too heavy. No. Now he hits the area where there's a little bit more grip. And I think that's a good job from him. 57 into 31st position, but those handbrakes, while they do help you get around, the judges are still deducting for them.
But he is literally hanging on the drop zone right now, so he is hanging on by his fingernails, Dave. Can he stay in the show? Well, we'll have to find out. We go back to the start line. It is Edgars Kogeris now. And Edgars, well, he's out of the show. 36th place with a 51.
Yeah, he also has no windows.
He also has 0 windows in that, because window delete.
He has a window delete, which I think is probably, it looked cool up until about an hour and a half ago,
yeah.
And now he's like, I'm just getting really wet here in the car. But let's see if he can handle it. I mean, he had a bit of a sketchy first run, 51 on the board. He'd like to improve from there. He's definitely coming in a lot more committed here than the couple of previous runs we've watched. But he drops off onto the inside. And this is where it's tricky. Watch the transition. Car needs a bit of work there to keep that moving. And again, look, you can see him coming off throttle, and now he's got to go back on throttle here, or he's not going to transition. That's a good job as he takes it out nice and wide up onto the curb, but that's going to really unsettle the back of the car. You can see the sparks fly as the exhaust smashes down on the track, and it's right on the inside of the corner where you don't want to be. And the judges again say, oh, and a smash into the wall, maybe out of frustration at this stage. The problem we have is the judges are going to judge the criteria exactly as they've laid it out. They're not going to give you a whole lot of leeway for the conditions. And this is where he got unset. Look, up on, bounces down, transitions too early, and now he's on the inside of the last corner, not where he wanted to be. And then takes a late lunge.
Yeah, and it puts him on the wrong arc, where he didn't get into outside zone 6 early enough. As you mentioned earlier on, it puts you on the wrong line. You end up at the end of the wall.
You end up in the wall, in fact.
So Edgar's now waiting for his score. As we mentioned, sitting out of the show at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. It's a 50. It's not enough for another Latvian driver. Bites the dust. 36th position. Will not make it into battles tomorrow. We'll, of course, get another roll of the dice on Sunday at round 4. But I think this is the harshest qualifying session we've ever had in Drift Masters, because, sometimes we've had rain, sometimes we've had sunshine, but very rarely have we had so much mixed conditions.
No, exactly that. And now we have a whole bunch of guys in the middle of this qualifying session that had dry conditions but didn't score high. So now we have Ayurveda sitting on the line with a 37. So he's out of the show as well. Work to be done. The spotters would have said to him, hey, what do you do? Go for it. All you can do is
more importantly, he has got a rubber duck on his on the front of his car. So that's the, and they say,
good luck charm.
Yeah, and to be honest, ducks love wet conditions. So let's see how he gets on.
He's dropped a wheel on the inside edge of the circuit there, so that's points deducted massively. Now he's fallen off that qualifying line. It's starting to fall apart right now for Ayurveda as he gets into the wall, takes the back end off it. And can he continue the run? I think he's going to just get this one done and out of the way and say, you know what, Sunday's a new day. I take some time off and think about the situation, Dave.
You know what? When he just went off the track there, do you know what I thought? Dirt Vader.
Dirt Vader. That car's going to need some work.
You think?
just a little bit of minor cosmetics required.
You know what? It looks fine to me. You know what? I mean, if you guys are watching drifting for the first time, these incidents look a lot worse than they are because these back ends of the car are built for crumple zones.
Of course, yeah.
They're built to take an impact sometimes, and that was a pretty hefty one.
Yeah, that was a very hefty hit to the wall there, as we can see Ayurveda's car in absolute bits. And 90% of these cars now, the rear end, all made of fiberglass, so that they're designed to be removed. Here we go, let's see where it all went wrong. Nice initiation, tags that cone, but stayed off the throttle. If he would have got on the throttle a little bit earlier there, he may have made it round outside zone 1, which would have put him on a nicer line. And then this is where it goes really bad. And you can see how far away that tyre wall is from the edge of the circuit.
Well, the duck on the front of the car is fine.
He's
That's
fine,
the most important thing. Home safe. And the back end, not so much. The thing is, I mean, what I love about it is he absolutely smashes the car and still continues around the run, trying to salvage something from it. But unfortunately, at that point, I mean, the damage is done, both literally and figuratively.
In all senses. So these slow-mos, getting all the angles of the body panels, Dave. And there we go. Nice collection
so let's jump down to Becky. Becky is with Veda. That was a big hit.
Ow, that was a bit of a wild ride. What were you thinking when you felt the back end of the car start to slip out just that little bit too far?
I'm not sure it's the very good run because wet condition is very slippery in this track. And in first configuration run, I just do something really bad because I don't have the big points there. And I need to take the full on this disqualification run. And I try it, make it so much. It is impossible, but we see it's not so.
Well, I hope that you can get the car fixed and we'll see you again very soon.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Brilliant.
It's right.
Thank you.
It's amazing that, you know, if you were in an accident anywhere else and the back end of your car fell off and you said, it's not a problem.
He said,
you
it's fine, it still drives.
He said, it's absolutely fine.
There we go, look at that. He takes his battered and bruised BMW E36 back to the paddock.
It's been punched now.
It's, yeah, sore looking. Well, there we go. And the track now getting wet and wetter. We make it official. Is a 0, and he bows out of competition. Now Vader sits on the sidelines, Dave, for the whole day tomorrow, watching the best of the best go to town on each other.
But has another chance on Sunday, round
He
4.
does,
So.
but it's getting the rain is getting heavier.
I still think that it continuously raining here is a good thing because at least in that particular perspective, it's going to be more predictable. It's going to be a full wet track. They can actually work with that.
In my head, I'm trying to go back to previous years. Who has been the rain master? Who's been the guy that literally nails it in the wet?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of them there.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking if they get that chance, but let's see what the next driver can do.
Yeah, Maciej Jarkovic comes off the line. The Polish driver comes through the gears and down. Scored a 47 on his first qualifying run, Dave, so needs to work on this one. But again, another driver sacrificing a lot of points, using the handbrake to adjust the car in the outside zone. Came in a little bit too tentative. Now he's going to go wide. He's going to go very wide. Another sacrificed rear end up onto the wall and an over rotation, and just goes to show you how treacherous that outside zone 4 is.
I think that's going to be the make or break of all these.
Yes,
I've watched a couple of the bigger names in the championship struggle there, and then if you know that's happening, guys that are debuting or wildcarding this weekend are going to suffer even more. They haven't driven this track as many times. We can see the wide line is not going to work. He misses that inner zone. He's on a wide arc. He tries to use the angle to get out of it. He just bumps off the tyre veil, and he got away with it.
Look at this, look, up.
Oh, fixed it. Fixed the wall, in fact. But yeah, at that point, he knew the run was over. So are we going to see a repeat pattern now through the next couple of runs? 0-0-0. Let's see what happens. And guys who are sitting in that 25 to 30 second bracket who thought my weekend, or my round 3 could be over, might start to get a little bit of hope now, saying we might have 0-0-0 for a while. But it looks like out of competition will be Jarkovic with a 39th position finish.
Look at the rain, Dave.
It's
hammering now.
Miserable out there right now. These are thunder showers, so as I mentioned, it's raining, but it's actually quite warm and humid. So the track, once it stops, just dries within 10, 15 runs. But now we're getting another downpour, and you have Puentelaxo. He is in a position where he's in 22nd in qualifying. He's got a 68, not a bad run. It was in the dry. That went very difficult to do.
It certainly is very difficult to do. An incredible looking car. Can he hold it together? Can he keep it in one piece through this treacherous track as he comes down now through into the scoring zone, into outside zone 1, stays committed. Look at that big drag of the handbrake to set the car up. Looking very nice. As Juha Puentelaxo, is he going to get to transition perfectly on time, nicely through outside zone 2 and 3, comes down. This is the do or die portion of the circuit, but he makes it through unscathed. Comes into outside zone 5 now. Juha Puentelaxo looking even more comfortable in the wet than he did in the dry as he works his way into outside zone 6. He's going to just drop out. He's going to work his way back in just on that wrong arc, as Dave mentioned earlier. Going to get to the wall very late, and across the line goes Juha Puentelaxo.
Yeah, very solid first 3/4 of the run. Last outer zone could have been a little closer to the wall, especially in the wet. I feel like I want to see these guys, rubbing bumpers on that concrete because it's a little slower, it's a little bit more predictable, but that transition was a little early, so he just couldn't get himself back out there. But top marks for commitment on the first corner. Big angle, quite a lot of speed.
Nice.
I mean, these guys are still at a lot of speed at that particular point, and a 76 does improve into 14th position, so you can't complain about that.
We could see some real upset this weekend, Dave, and I like it.
Well,
I'm
you
all
talk
about
the Rainmaster.
Well,
You know what? So the machine, James Dean, has been recalibrating to try and adjust to these conditions, and this is going to be a big test of what's possible, because James, very good in the wet and the dry, such a highly ranked driver, but if he can put a big run in here in his second run, he'll give hope to the rest of the grid that they can improve their score. If James struggles here, I think everyone's going to struggle. So this is a good benchmark for what's possible.
well, he's already topping qualifying, Dave. Can he do any better as the machine comes down? Look at that, dragging on the handbrake, sets that car up into outside zone 1. He'll be feeling out the conditions, dials on the angle, left foot brake in as James Dean transitions into outside zone 2. Looks out the side window, now it starts to get treacherous. Weights off the throttle, perfectly timed, back onto it again. And James Dean looking comfortable as ever in the car. Dials on the angle, looks for outside zone 6, puts the back end of that BMW into the outside zone, and now starts to work the back bumper. That E92 BMW up onto the wall as Dean drags the back end along the wall and across the line.
Well, it goes to show that it is possible to put a big score in these conditions, fully wet out there. James Dean having a little bit of fun, just managing his way away from the finish line, getting a feel for the grip levels.
Do you know why I think he done that? Because he knows that no one can beat his qualifying run.
You think so?
Because he knows that there's not going to be a dry run. No one can beat a 91 in the wet.
Well, big statement, Ian.
That's what I think, Dave.
And you are known to be quite wrong most of the time, so we'll see. But I love this. Look at the finish to the run, the exclamation point, just flexing that back bumper, leaving the paint there, but not even cracking the bumper. And a 90.
Wow.
So can it be beaten? Someone only needs 2 points.
I don't know. I don't know. That was
91.90.
pure precision.
Yeah, he's struggling out there today. That's one dry run, one wet run. That's why he's one of the best in the world, right?
Well,
so we're moving along. I think it's out there. I think a plus 91 run, it could be done, but they're going to have to absolutely throw everything at it, and it's going to be an uncomfortable run where it could go wrong.
Yeah, you're going to put yourself and your car on the line. Nicola Matala now comes off the line, the Finnish driver. Can he be the man that's going to put the car on the line? He's carrying a lot of speed as he comes down. He's going to fire that car in, dips the front bumper, almost touches the tarmac as he gets himself into it. Stays one wheel in outside zone 1. Now starts to work his way into outside zone 2. You can see how tentative he is on that. Or stays away from the curb. Doesn't want to upset the balance of the car. You can modulate the throttle as he comes past the judging tower. Track almost flooded as Nico Matala gets himself into 5. Tidy job there as Matala goes for outside zone 6. Big drag of the handbrake though. Underestimated the amount of grip there, and now he's struggling. You can see him working that car, trying to get it up onto the wall. He gets there, but it wasn't tidy as Matala finishes up his second qualifying run.
And that's a very solid running. The first section of the course, absolutely spot on. As you said, the transition a little bit mistimed, didn't get out to that last outer zone as much as he would have liked, but he got there in the end. I think this is going to be quite a good score. I mean, he's sitting on 34 from his first runs. I think it's definitely going to be higher than that. I think this could be enough to get him in the show.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he feels comfortable in this weather conditions as well. Just a little bit slower, a bit more time to think about what he's doing. Very nice transition. Look at this, perfectly timed on the foot brake, and even there on outside zone 5. You can see where he dialed on the angle, kept the car off the curbs. He knew he'd gotten those curbs in this weather condition. He'll upset the balance. So we go at 78. Moves himself up into the mid pack of the top 32 and says, well, that'll do me till tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Matala's going to go into the pits. I think that could very well be enough. I mean, I'm not predicting the scores, but I think we
know where we're at.
We know where we're at right now. We know there's going to be a couple of double zeros running in there. This guy's going to be unlucky. One guy that was absolutely flying on the first run is Paweł Grosz, 82 on his first run. He's in 9th position at the moment. I think that's enough to be safe. Can risk it here. Could say, hey, James Dean scored a 90 in the rain. Get me a 92 and I'm top qualifier.
I mean, I'd love to see it, Dave, but I don't know if Paweł Grosz has got it, but who am I to underestimate this young man from Poland flying down the outside zone, looking very comfortable in the wet weather as he dials on the left foot brake, drops 2 wheels off the edge of the circuit though, and I've got a feeling that's going to be a 0. Oh, and he's up and into the wall. He's up and into the wall, Dave, and that's the end of that.
Big impact with the wall, just as we said how beautiful this car was turned out this weekend. In a heartbeat, in an instant, it can all go wrong. And now look, this format can suit him. Because if this was the Austrian format from the start of the season, he would have to go into top 32 battles, and that would be a tough order to repair that car. We can see massive suspension failure to the back of the car. However, he does have overnight to get himself, and he's out of the car. He's okay. You can see our marshals checking on him, and that's why these guys, have the best of the best safety equipment. You can see the hands device, which is essentially to stop his neck being injured in the car. These guys have the harnesses. They're well strapped in, and they can take a hit to it. And that is an immovable wall. Whatever about the wall at the end of the course, which is his blocks placed there, that wall is not moving, and that's why it's done so much damage to that car. And it was so beautifully presented, and I think because it was a bit of an impact in one corner, I think he's definitely got suspension damage. But the fact that he can go again.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. You could just see where it all went wrong. Gets a nice job at getting to the outside zone. Snaps to angle, drops 2 wheels off. Kind of gets himself out of it, but as he jumps back on track on throttle, the car dives across the circuit. That was a hard impact, Dave.
Big impact, and it's all lateral as well. A lot of damage done. Look, we're going to go down to Becky. Becky is with Pavel Grosham. He's got to be shook up. Oh, big impact. So there you have it, Pavel Gross. I'm my mistake. Pavel Gross just checking on the car, just make sure everything's okay. And Becky is down with him now. Becky, how's he feeling?
Pavel,
Hi.
first of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fully okay and calm. I'm getting calm. So, no, car is a little bit crashed. Left rear suspension gets a little bit of shot. It happens because I get too much speed because I want to make it like really big flick and fast entry. That's what it's all about, to be honest. And I catch the grass, no luck, and after that I just hit the wall. I was trying my best, but nothing I can do, to be honest.
What were you thinking when you suddenly felt the back end slipping away from you?
I was screaming, no! To be honest, I was screaming. That's recording as well. But it's first crash. It's my new car and first crash, but it's what it needs to be honest.
I was about to say that as well. Obviously, it's a brand new car. You're coming out here, yay Riga, and now unfortunately this. But looking at the damage, left rear suspension, do you think that you can get it fixed in time?
Yes, we get all spare parts. So I think if nothing happens with the brakes, we will be okay. I think we're gonna fix it tomorrow. No problem.
Well, the main thing is you're still in the show. You're in the top 10. Are you happy? Are we still smiling?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy because first run is really good. I'm top 10. It's really good for the first event in new car in Drift Masters, because I had like 3 years of not being in Drift Masters because I was building new car. So that's good. I'm really happy.
I'm delighted that you're smiling, Pavel. Glad to see that you're okay and there's a big smile on your face. So we will see you tomorrow and good luck getting the car fixed.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
There's a man very casual about the whole situation. I think the one thing I wouldn't describe it as a little bit of crash, because he hit the wall at about 50 miles an hour.
Look at the wheel.
He's destroyed the wheel. Look at the spokes of the wheel. And he says, no problem.
It's just
Once
a
the brakes
small,
are
small bit of a crash.
Small bit of a crash. A little bit of crash.
A little bit of crash.
I'll just fix it and come back out tomorrow, and no problem at all. And that goes to show the attitude of these guys, the do or die attitude. If you were, anywhere else, that would be a major impact. But he gets out of the car. He's like, oh well, these things happen. It's my new car. It's the first. It's out of the way. It's he's
done. Yeah,
It's used now. It's like the first time someone steps on your brand new shoes, and you say, you know what? They're used shoes now.
Yeah, they're done.
And they're made for walking. So he's going to go back into tomorrow. He's going to try and get himself. I suppose these guys do come on a big spares package with these cars. They're expecting some impact, and they'll get that car sorted and back and ready to go again. But definitely and he's still smiling.
He's still smiling,
Well,
even now on the recovery track.
I think in his own head he's going, I think I've probably done enough to qualify for tomorrow. If this happened on the first run, he's out of competition. So I'm not saying it's good when it happens, but it's not the worst case scenario. That rear wheel has been shredded.
Yeah, I mean, it took a big impact into the wall. And we see one of the marshals there holding on to the actual part of the rim. So, I mean, this is just a mad situation.
Absolutely. Well, I want to throw over to a man we haven't heard from today yet, is Kevin O'Connell. Kevin, how are you guys judging this in the dry compared to the wet? Are you giving these guys a bit of leniency? Are you still being super harsh? Talk us through it. It's tough out there.
Yeah, well, look, unfortunately, Dave, it's that. To be honest with you, we can't really mark it any easier in the dry, because that would be just or in the wet, because that would just be unfair compared to the guys that have previously gone. A mistake is a mistake, whether you do it in the wet or the dry. It's the same correction. It's the same missing in an outer zone or anything. It is very difficult in these conditions, but to be honest with you, it's it's great to see the guys having this kind of level of control. They're really, to be honest, a few guys are really nailing it on this circuit for these conditions.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, as we heard there, harsh as always.
Yeah.
A mistake is a mistake, wet or dry. And from where I'm sitting, Ian, you know what? We were all kind of, talking so much about the technicality of the run, the scoring of the run. We've seen some big impacts now. 2 big impacts in the last 4 or 5 runs. There is a real danger out there. This is not something that you can, you're watching, it's entertainment, sure, but they're taking big risks.
And there's another situation now. There's obviously some oil on the track.
Oh,
so there's
fantastic.
obviously some oil right on the transition into outside zone 2. So, I mean, you're throwing different variables in every single time. And as you can see, the rain still absolutely hammering down. Our incredible marshals out there in their wet weather gear. I mean, these guys, Dave, they go through absolute hell to keep the show running.
They do, and try and disperse all of that. Look at this. They dry up the oil with all of the granules, and then the leaf blower blows. These guys are pros. They know what they're doing.
They certainly are, Dave.
Trying to get this track, the conditions have to be perfect for every run. That's trying to make it as fair as possible. I think one of the biggest things for me, and I know we want to see dry drifting. We want to see smoke. We want to see the horsepower figures that we're hearing be used. But there's some part of me that loves this unpredictability that the weather brings. The unpredictability of, it's more a little bit of luck goes a long way here. You might get away with it, you might not. You might spin, you might crash, you might get a 90. Who knows? We're going to see some drivers excel. We're going to see some of the big names fail. And then we're going to get this big mixed bag for top 32 where it's not as predictable. And there's parts of me, especially at a midpoint in the season, that likes that little bit of mix-up.
Yes, I do as well. Because you know what? If someone just runs away with a championship, run after run, event after event, you kind of just get a little bit numb to the whole situation. But when you throw a variable in like this, a complete wet qualifying session, and guys, we see Peter Vincek nowhere near the top 10.
Well, he's in 21st.
It throws things, Dave. It completely shakes the apple tree, and I love that. And like I said to you, people like James Dean, Max Cotton.
Well, what about, Connor Shannon outside the top 32?
That's what I'm saying.
That's where we're at right now. We're going to see big pressure runs coming up soon.
And it's going to be do or die. Risk or reward is going to come into play. And you know what? Here we go. Paweł Korpolinski now warms up the tyres on the back of this Nissan 200SX S14, the Polish driver. Well, Dave, he sits in 3rd place with an 87 at the moment.
I think he's going to go for James Dean here. I think he's going to go for top. I think he's going to go out there and try and put a 92 or higher on the board.
That's a statement.
It's a big statement. But I saw the confidence in the first run. I saw the confidence in this chassis. I think he's a very, very technical driver. He spends thousands of hours on the sim. He's competed in Sweden, Poland, and everywhere, over the last year and a half. I think we're expecting, I'm not going to try and jinx him, but I think he's got what it takes here.
Well, he's going to go for it, Dave, and he's going for a very fast, big initiation. Oh, wobbles into it, but just about holds it together as he comes through. Look at that dab in the foot brake. Stays in and on the circuit, looking tidy right now as Paweł Korpolinski comes down in front of the judging tower. This is where it gets treacherous. Dials on the angle and over-rotates. And Dave, what did you do, man?
Yeah, I should have said anything. I mean, I think
he was going for it.
I think he was going for it.
Yeah.
I think he could have put an easy run in there. I think the wobble on the initiation might have thrown him a little bit. Once I saw that, I think his confidence dropped a little bit. He went full tilt, but there is no grip there. And watch this. He is a passenger as he comes to this outer zone. Like, he is just all up on the curb, all that. Look, he tried it. It didn't work out. He's still in 3rd place. Nothing lost.
No, nothing lost, nothing gained. But he had all to play for. There we go, we make it official. It will be a 0 for Paweł Korpolinski. Stays where he is in 3rd place with an 87, and we go back to the start line. As you see in the background, the English driver, Martin Richards. Well, the English and the Irish, Dave, they're used to a bit of wet weather every now and then.
Used to it. We live in it. This is a summer's day to us.
This is a beautiful summer's
day.
This is
a beautiful summer's day. So Martin Richards sits at the moment in 17th position, right in the mid-pack. Safe enough. He's keeping his head down. He's just sort of floating through the middle. But he's a very good wet weather driver. So I think he's going to have to go for it here. I think he's going to be watching a fully wet track.
Wow, he's going for it.
He's going for it here. Big entry. This is very dangerous for Martin Richards as he goes right to the edge of the circuit. He's going to pick up this cone. This is where we saw Gross just loses the bumper. Doesn't even affect the car. Definitely going for it. This is the trickiest part of the track now. Come off throttle. Can he hold it? He can't hold it. Too much speed.
Do you know what, Dave? That outside zone, I just want to explain to a lot of people why they're spinning here at outside zone 3. There is an immense, and I say that, an immense amount of rubber down there. It must be at least 10 to 15 millimeters thick of rubber down there. When the water lays on there, it is absolutely glass. The car just cannot hold onto that rubber, especially in the wet. The rear wheels get up on the curb, it unloads the rear loads the rear suspension, puts all the front on the weight on the front wheels, the cars just over-rotate. There is no way you can hold on to it. It's like you almost want to sacrifice that outside zone to make it round the track.
Absolutely, and now we're starting to see a little bit of standing water come in there as well. Heavy rain in the last 30 seconds to a minute. I'm feeling it in the commentary booth here, and I'm thinking we may have a bit of standing water, which now makes it dangerous for understeer, dangerous for all four wheels going off the track. I think we're going to see some very sketchy moments in the next couple of runs, and I would not like to be Steve Bikernieki right now.
No, no, you're right. I wouldn't want to be any single one of those drivers sitting out there right now. Bagsy sits in 30th place, Dave, with a 61.
And what do you do?
I mean, look, he's just seen Richard spin. He's just seen Korpelinski spin. He's seen Pavel Grosz smash the car to bits.
And you're talking about Korpelinski and Richards, who are podium drivers.
Yeah, podium drivers.
In Drift Masters.
Bagsy has come a long way from home. Look at the windscreen. Cannot see out of the windscreen.
I wonder, has he got an issue with the windscreen? It looks like it's completely fogged up.
I mean, look, you're in a situation now where you say, do you risk the car or do you go for a qualifying run?
And now track manager Maciek Polity, this is an inspection run. And this inspection run will be to see if the track is drivable. Is the track drivable? Is it flooded? Is there standing water? Is there an issue? And he's going to be checking that out because we're starting to see little rivers appear.
Of course.
We're starting to see a little bit of standing water. And the standing water, where the issue comes, is the front wheels of the car.
Of course.
They'll have no grip now.
No. And it goes back to the situation where we had in 2019, the final round of the Drift Master European Championship at Mondello Park, where we had standing water, a very dangerous part of the circuit, and James Dean ended up understeering, catching the rear wheel of the car, pulling the front in, and we had 2-3 big impacts there. We had to, refigure out the track and rework on that and get ourselves in a situation where it's safe for our drivers, Dave.
Well, I think Steve Bikernieki now is not in a comfortable place. He's sitting on the start line. He knows he now has the worst conditions of anybody to attempt this track this weekend. He has no idea what the levels are, and let's be realistic, he's in 30th position, so he has to improve to be safe into battles. So he has to risk it. He has no idea what the grip levels are like. He has absolutely no idea what's about to happen. No driver wants to be in this position. And is he going to be brave? Is he going to be calculated? He kind of has to be brave, doesn't he?
I think you go for a moment, Dave, where you're not only brave, but you're calculated to a point where you risk quite a lot, but then you take a very safe line and score enough to get into the show. But I mean, at the moment, 61 is the 30th place qualifying spot.
And that to me is a safe run.
Well, he's getting the thumbs up and he is good to go. Bagsy's going to leave the line this Dave. Hold to your hats because this could be wet and wild and dangerous. Steve Bikernieki representing the UK comes through, down the gears he comes. He doesn't know what to expect. All he knows is there's been a few casualties so far. Fires in, can Bagsy hold on to it right to the edge of the circuit. Bagsy looking strong, stands on the accelerator, unleashes the power from that supercharged V8 under the bonnet. This is where things start to get a little hairy. Can he hold on to it? Dials on the angle, Bagsy makes it through the puddle he goes. Now he knows he's in a safer position. Down through the puddle he goes, up onto the curb. Look at the puddles, the standing water is absolutely treacherous. Into the outside zone he goes, dabs the handbrake, up into the wall, he looks for it as he splashes through the puddles. Onto the wall once again, Bagsy just about keeps it together across the line.
We expected drama, and he gave the bumper bar hanging out the back of the car. He hit an immense amount of pressure onto the back of that car on that last wall, but he got around the circuit, but he's in puddled. I mean, he doesn't need a V8, he needs a propeller for that last section.
Look at the standing water here, look. And the car he's not in control of the car at that point.
He jumped into a puddle.
Yeah, he literally jumped. Look at Bagsy working the car, accelerator, clutch, handbrake, foot brake, just trying to balance that car. And you can't even see out the window. He's just dicing with death as he makes it across the line. And Bagsy says, well, that's literally all I have.
I don't think he can try it anymore.
No.
And
he's rewarded.
He's rewarded for the bravery. 73 from the judges, into 17th position he goes. Well earned.
Well earned.
Well earned from my perspective, simply because he risked it.
Yeah,
and I think all the drivers watching on now are going to have to do exactly that. If you're sitting on the drop zone or just outside it, what can you do? You've got to go for it.
Yeah, you've got to risk the car. You've got to risk the car, and you've got to be absolutely lightning quick reactions. You see Bagsy in the car working the clutch and the handbrake, trying to balance that car, all through the circuit. And again, Maciek Polity out on track, reporting back to our clerk of course to make sure that it is safe to run. And they would have watched the live stream, see where the puddles are, and
I mean, this track is not safe when it's bone dry. So I don't know, where's the threshold of what's safe and what's not. I mean, there is standing, I mean, we now have a Pontiac Trans Am with an LSX engine coming into a wet, I mean, this car's probably never even seen rain in its life.
Well, it has now, and
now,
a lot of it.
And a lot of it. I don't think he has no windows. It's raining in on top of him. He's got to try and get through this course, although Christian Burkhoff's a very capable driver in the wet. I think this is going to be a big test. This is a new machine, and this is all if he can get through this course.
Well, it certainly is, Dave, through the gears. He comes down, and he's going to take this one very, very tentative as he gets himself into the outside zone. A lot of grip in that car, though. Wanders out of outside zone 1. Look at the big puddle just after the before the transition, sorry. Gets himself through and down now into the very sketchy section. You can see how there is no grip down there whatsoever. It's just water, standing water outside zone 5. Picks it up nicely. Oh, very straight there as Burkhoff almost comes to a complete stop. Gets himself back into it. He's going to sacrifice outside zone 6 on a very odd arc, though. Taps the back end on the wall.
Yeah, the speed has come right down. There is no grip on that last outer zone. Just barely keeping the car moving. Very difficult. Gives a little wave to the fans that are still in attendance. Look at this, right to the edge of the circuit, splashing up on the curb. Watch the grip, though. This car just moves forward very quickly. And there is an element of a dry line there if you can get to it. But look at these shots.
Look at the amount of water, Dave. So just hearing in the ears that Maciek Holiday, our track manager, is going to be checking the track after every run just to make sure that the conditions don't worsen to a point where it's dangerous for our drivers. And yeah, I mean, for me, that's quite a sketchy standing water point, because you can see the tyre marks on the curbs. That is where drivers are transitioning just that little bit too early. 63 just moves himself up the order slightly into 30th place. Christian Burkhoff hangs on in there.
Yeah, well, we always say anything can and often does happen at Drift Masters. We're getting another one of those days where it really can happen. We're in, you can see our Starline Marshal now using a leaf blower to demist the windows and the front windows of these cars. I mean, what a legend this guy is. He's out there trying to, he's being impartial, so he has to help. Every single driver, and he absolutely loves it. Marcin on our start line, he's just making sure these guys are safe. They've got a fair shot at a run. We're now moving on to Victor Jönsson, one of the Swedish Drift brothers. He's got a 66, so he sits in 27th position, which would sound scary, but right now a score on the board at all is a good place to be.
Yeah, there we go. So through the start line chicane he comes, and you know what, for me, I think he's feeling a lot more confident than he did in Austria. Car working, is he used to this wet weather? Look at the speed though as he's coming down. You can see the rain beating off the windscreen, off the side glass as he makes his way into outside zone 1. Big angle carried, very nice job. He just wobbles ever so slightly, looks for outside zone 2, now holds it together. Victor Jönsson looking very, very strong, shallows up the angle. Very wise move there from Victor Jönsson. These guys will be watching the live stream on their phones, in the cars, seeing what the conditions are like and where the treacherous water is. Transitions back. Victor Jönsson, has to bail out of it. Catches a lot of understeer, Dave.
Understeer and a lot of grip. It looks like the car just gripped up all of a sudden. He reacted, not razor sharp. And he finishes the run, but the judges are going to check that over to see, did he stop drifting? If he did, it's a 0. If not, I think the score might be okay, but it was a big error.
It was a big error, yeah. And I think, I mean, look, you're heading towards that wall at any speed, understeering. You kind of just have to get yourself around it. And I think Victor Jönsson was like, look, I'll stop and reinitiate. He was very committed, though, into first outside zone, stayed into it, kept his foot planted. You can see the brake lights come on the transition. So there we go, it is a 0. It was a prolonged amount of straightening, Dave, and unfortunately no progression up the top 32 qualifying order.
No, that was what I was afraid of. It just looked like he just stopped drifting for long enough that the judges would say, hey, we have to score a 0 on that. And here's a man under big pressure, Adam Nagy from Hungary. He's in 46th at the moment. He has 0 on the board.
Yeah.
What are you thinking right now? You have a 0 on the board. You're going into incredibly difficult conditions. It's not looking good for you.
No, I mean, I think you and your spotters just say, well, look, all we can do is try it, because we don't know, there's no feedback. We can only watch the live stream, stand in the spotters tower and report back and tell you where the dangerous areas are, where there are 0 grip, and, time those transitions absolutely perfect. And I think I go back to saying what I said earlier, where you go for keeping it safe and keeping it on a shallower line than trying to risk everything and jump on the curve and go for that deep 90+ run.
You've got to be calculated. Let's see what happens with Adam Nagy off the line through the gears. This first corner, you're going to watch the drivers initiate very early here just to make sure they've got a good hold. Nice line so far, right out to the edge of the circuit from Adam Nagy. He's filling that outer zone absolutely perfectly. Oh, and a little bit of a wobble on the transition. Expected the car to snap the other way, and now this is the slippiest part of the circuit. He's put too much angle on. He's lost it. He's out of the competition. And it was looking so good through that. It filled the whole outer zone. Goes to show that in an instant it could be all over.
Yeah, it's just, look at the angle he's driving on as well now. Just so easy to get it so wrong so quick.
Looks like they're driving on a lake through that last section. It's just, standing water there, concrete wall, double zero. So he's got to wait till Sunday for round 4 to try and rectify that. That's going to hurt a little bit. But you know what? The conditions, the way they are today, I think a lot of drivers are going to go back to that pit area and say, look, it's a roll of the dice. It's complete luck. And I think even some of the top guys in this championship, when we watched it, will say it's complete luck.
So we go, Szymanski now sits on the line. Sebastian Szymanski, the Polish driver. He also sits on a 0.46th place at the moment in qualifying, so out of the show for tomorrow's top 32 action. Needs to keep it together. Can he hold on to it? All he needs to do is make it round and get himself into it. Szymanski comes down through the gears now, looking for that white line across the circuit. Denotes the beginning of the scoring zone. Fires it in. He's going to be way shallow. Drops a wheel on the inside of the circuit. He's going to carry big angle now. This is dangerous for Szymanski. Not messing around. Catches a bit of understeer. Has to reinitiate. Sebastian Szymanski shallows up the angle through the centre of the circuit. Doesn't want to go anywhere near that tyre wall as he splashes through the puddle down outside zone 5. Big splash through that other puddle as he comes in to outside zone 6, but gets on the inside edge of the circuit. You can see way away from the wall. And Sebastian Szymanski, I can't see this being enough to get himself into the show. So there we go. Szymanski finishes up the run, makes his way back down into the paddock, and he'll have to think about this one, reset and go again. And Szymanski just not finding form today here. It's
like one of those moments where I think everything's going pretty good. I mean, what could possibly happen? Oh my God, there's a massive puddle, and I'm absolutely it's the splash zone.
It's
like being at SeaWorld. It's like crazy, and I mean, what can you expect? I mean, it's very difficult to put a score on the board.
And it was a very, it was scrappy anyway because of just a few mistakes he'd made, and now sits out of the competition. Another man sitting out of competition is this young man, Peter Kozlowski, 43 points in his first qualifying run.
Well, that's not a position to be in.
I mean, he's got 1,000 odd horsepower in this car, and
he's going to use about 7 on this one. So here we go. Kozlowski into that first corner. It's coming very hot here. He's got to watch himself. It's going to get away from him very fast, and it does. And this is where we've had trouble before. Woof. Sketchy transition. He is out of control at the moment. And I think we might see a spin here. Yeah, and into the tyre bales. That is a very wild ride through the centre section of the course. Now he's in the puddle. The bumper's coming off. It's carnage as he still stays going through the course.
He can't steer.
But he can't steer. That bumper's jammed up on the suspension, and that went wrong fast from the first outer zone, and he avoided about 740 crashes there, and he takes that car home with just a scrape bumper. Incredible save.
It was an incredible save. How he held on to it, I don't even know. And you can see Marshall's out there just going to sweep that bit of mud off the circuit back onto the infield. And Kozlowski went to turn the steering wheel, nothing happened, and he said, well, I have to bail out of this. And look how wild he got. 2 wheels off the edge of the track. And he was lucky he didn't end up in Pavel Grosh's situation, because that's exactly what he did.
He just got enough grip at the front end of the car to transition, but here he's bobbing up and down on the curb and right now way too fast into this section. And all of a sudden we see that car absolutely spin right out of control and into those puddles. And look at this. It is just undrivable out there, Ian.
Look at this. Look how far off track he goes. How he held on to that, I don't even know. Just about managed to keep that car off of the tyre wall, up on the curb on the outside, wheels dropped again. Yeah, Kozlowski not having a good weekend.
No, he's not, and we're hearing some word in our headsets from the head marshal on the track. So here's the situation. It's now stopped raining, so that's good news. But there is a lot of standing water on the track. So the guys are going to go out there and try and clear as much of the standing water as possible, saying that at the moment it is a little bit dangerous right now. So as you can see, they are now pushing the water out of the way. They're trying to get all the water off the track, and they have got the equipment to do so. Now, with the rain stopping, and the sky, to be fair, clearing up a little bit, we may see this track start to dry again, which would mean that we've had every single type of weather in this particular qualifying session. You come to Riga, you expect it to be, in my opinion, one of the most unpredictable rounds, and now we're starting to see why. Because this track can dry so quickly, it can stand in water so quickly. Incredible stuff. And Kozlowski, I think he's just happy to get back into the pits in the car in one piece, because he was a little bit out of control.
He was a lot out of control, Dave. Yeah, we make it official. A 0 on his second run, 42nd place. And yeah, look, I mean, the rain's starting to slow down massively. And
there you have it, Driftmasters president Arkadiusz Dudko on the start line, trying to help everyone down there, trying to get the water off the track. And that's what it's all about at Driftmasters. It's a team effort. Everybody's out there for the safety of the drivers. They want to, they want the best show possible for the fans. There is not one person on the Driftmasters team that is going to be down there not trying to clear that track. But while we have a moment, let's go to the man sitting top of the qualifying table. Becky is with James Dean.
Well, I hope the guys that are sat in the commentary box are lovely and warm and dry up there, because I tell you what, down here it is severely wet. But I'm here with James Dean, currently sitting in the top spot. James, how difficult is it out there for our drivers?
It's extremely difficult, and all of today has been like this. We all started practice this morning in the dry, everyone trying to commit as hard as possible, and then for the second session it was wet, then the track was patchy for the rest of practice, so it's been very changeable for everybody. But I guess I was a bit lucky in my first run. It wasn't a perfect run, but we scored high. I was hoping that the second run was going to be dry so we could try to put it all down, but we still went for it in the wet, and currently sitting in first. But you never know what to expect. It's tricky.
What were you thinking when you suddenly saw all of the rain coming down so hard there? Like, does that changes your approach? Like, what's running through your mind on the start line?
Yeah, for me, I'm personally hoping that the whole track is wet and that it's not going to be patchy, because then you know that the grip is consistent. So once you initiate, a lot of the hard work is done, but there's 4 different surface changes on the track, so you need to work with the clutch quite a lot, and really, I guess, a bit of experience pays off on this track because of those different surface changes. But we just, it came together pretty nice. I had a little wobble on the first transition, but the rest of the run was nice. I pushed as hard as I could for the conditions, and I'm happy to be sitting where I am currently.
Let's talk about experience on this track. You must have been coming here for nigh on 7 years now. Does it ever get any easier?
No, this track is always challenging. I think that's why it's my favourite as well. It's definitely the most challenging track in Europe, and it takes full commitment to nail it all down. And as the grip levels and power levels are going up every year, you're just pushing harder and harder. So it was probably even a bit easier back in the early days when we were coming here, because the cars were a lot looser and easier to get to the zones. But now everyone is trying to be as fast as possible, and you really have to pedal the car to make it out wide and, keep that speed up high. But it's difficult, but yeah, I've been coming here since 2014, and it's definitely my favourite place in Europe.
Let's talk about speed as well, because obviously you have to adjust that coming into the first outer zone. If you had to guess, how quick were you coming in?
In the dry, I'd be lying if I said an exact figure, but it feels something like 150 kilometers as you're flicking the car, and then it's probably down to like 130 for the first 2 corners. So you're carrying a lot of speed to be, especially when it comes into tandem, when you're, door to door with the lead driver. It's and there's so much tire smoke blowing off the car in front. It takes a lot of commitment, but when you pull it off, it's the best feeling here.
We have to talk about Max Cotton. I mean, just incredible. His first time here in Riga, and he's sitting in second place with 88 points. He told me he's been on the sim a lot, so it's very interesting to see how the experience on the sim has translated onto the track. Do you think that doing your practice laps on the sim can really, enhance your experience here?
Yeah, I think I need to start playing the sim a bit more myself. But it's unbelievable seeing these young guys come up, and Max is only 16, and you can see that he's really playing it smart. So he started practice this morning, every run pushing it a little bit more, and then his first qualifying run. Yeah, fair enough, the car doesn't have the power, so his speed is a bit down, but he painted the line exactly where the judges want to see him, and he's pitted next to us, and I was delighted to see his father so happy, and they gave each other a big hug when they came in, and it was just great. They're a small team. I think he has a bright future ahead, and it's great to see. I think they're delighted with that in itself, and I'm sure he'll do very good this weekend.
Let's talk about tomorrow. I mean, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but tomorrow, the matchups, how are you feeling going into the battles?
So we haven't done any tandem practice yet. Everybody today was just focusing. There's so many cars here, so practice was very limited. So everybody just focused on trying to get a qualifying line in. And tomorrow morning we have tandem practice, so everyone will be focusing on getting as close as possible to your opponent. But I'm excited. I love this track. I think the car is working well. We have it turned up to the max because we're currently, we're not in the championship this year, so we're just going all in this weekend. So it's probably the most power I've ever ran in that car on this track, and we'll just have to see how far we can take it. But I'm excited. I want to, it's my first appearance in competition in Europe this year, and I want to put on a show for the fans that are watching. Riga is one of my favorite places in Europe, and we have a lot of fans here, so I just want to try to put smiles on people's faces, hopefully.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, James Dean. Well, guys, back to you in the warm and dry commentary box. Enjoy.
Well, it is warm and it is dry, but I'll tell you one thing. It's still nerve-wracking being up here watching the scenes. I mean, you watch Peter Wieńcek come into those first 2 rounds. He stamps his authority, and I mean this literally. James Dean a little bit raining on his parade right now because he comes back in for this special appearance. He is the current king of Riga, and Peter Wieńcek gets the raw deal, gets the wet, patchy run. He's sitting down the order. He will be our last driver to go in qualifying. He's got to get it together. And if it's a fully wet track, I don't think it will be. I think we're going to start to see this track dry a little bit again, and he could be in the same position again. And that puts Peter Wieńcek in an unpredictable part of the bracket. When it comes, he could see James Dean far earlier in competition. He could see a high-ranked driver far earlier. He could see a championship rival far earlier. And James Dean is sitting in first position. You can see how calm and relaxed he is. He's been all over the world. He's got the experience. But a lot of the drivers on this grid are now going to be a little worried. And we're seeing tire smoke, when these guys put down those burnouts. But it's going to be wet for a good 10 or 15 runs, I think, here. Then it's going to get patchy, which is the worst conditions. Then when we see dry runs, will Peter Wieńcek get that last run in the dry? The sky is a lot clearer now. And then we saw it on the first half of qualifying. Big rain clouds. All of a sudden, we're back to dry again. Will that happen again? You can't take your eyes off it.
I just don't even know. Just like the weather, it's unpredictable.
I mean, we know very little at the best of times, Ian, but right now we are all at sea.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we are all out on a limbo because who knows? I mean, yeah, it's may have stopped or slowed down raining, but right now, who knows if there's going to be another storm blowing in. There is a storm blowing down the track, though, and it is Eli Hutanji, the German driver, in his brand new BMW G82. Makes his way in. M4 absolutely lit on angle and lit out the back window as Eli Hutanji comes in, no messing around. This young man looking to find some form here. Drift Masters gets up on the curb, holds onto it though as he drops a wheel in the mud. Oh, and goes to shut it down but then reinitiates. Maybe he thought there was a problem with the car, gets himself back into it. Oh no, a big handbrake drag now into outside zone 6, and now it's starting to fall apart, Dave. So promising at the beginning of the run.
It was. He's sitting in 29th position at the moment at a 66. He's not going to improve on that. That could be very close to a 0, if not a 0, for completely straightening out in the middle of the circuit. And the shake of the head maybe tells the story here, because he knows very, very clearly how these drift competitions work. He's an experienced driver. He knows that at some point he was not drifting, which, Kevin and Vernon and David, our 3 judges, are going to be looking at that going, that could be a 0. And I mean, how scary is it? I mean, people driving a road-going version of an M4 wouldn't attempt anything like this. But, this is a very expensive, experimental car, pushing the boundaries of drifting. But when he got up on the curb here, he gets into the dirt, he transitions, and watch this, stops. Drift, I think that could be a 0. That's a big straightening out.
It happens twice though, Dave. It happens as well after this transition on outside zone 5. Look, it goes to 6, handbrakes in a straight line. Judges will be looking at it, Dave, and they're looking for, the best lead run, the best run out of 100 that they can possibly score. And unfortunately for Eli Hutanji, 0, a prolonged amount of straightening.
And he sits in 27. That's a nervous wait.
That's a nervous wait for Eli Hutanji. We move it back to the line to Gediminas Ivanuskis, the Lithuanian driver. It's 200 SX, 800 horsepower. Now look, power is just a mere number nowadays.
It's irrelevant because, I mean, if you had, 100 horsepower right now, you'd probably have an advantage because you don't have to worry about how much power do I put down. You just put it all down. But these guys now have to modulate that, because if they put the foot to the floor, just going nowhere. They're just going to stay where they are. So they've got to be sort of quarter, half throttle, and then know when to put the power down. It's a completely different technique in the wet.
Exactly that. There we go. Through the start line chicane he goes. Or can he modulate that power? Can he modulate the grip? Can he get it together? Jedinas Ivanuskis now comes down, a big flick across the track, thinks about it, backs out of it and readjusts himself, Dave. I think he thought for a moment that he could make it happen. Drops 2 wheels off the edge of the circuit. Judge will be looking at that one. Big transition across the track, carrying big angle. Now this is going to be too much. Yeah, puts himself into a spin.
You could see it coming halfway through
just
the corner.
The angle.
Just too much angle, didn't have enough control of the car, and there's a reset straight off the track, another 0. And he was lucky here. I mean, you saw Pavel Grosz go straight into the wall. He's in a little bit of a weird position here. He's transitioned back. Now, this is where I could see it. Just comes on the throttle way too heavy here. He's on almost full angle now. He's nothing left in the car to save himself, and he spins out.
So there we go, make it official. Another 0 stacked up.
And out of competition.
And out of the show, yeah, 38th place. No more driving this tomorrow or today for Jevadinas Ivanuskis. We move it along to Roslav Rarahoski, who as well sits out of competition.
Yeah, struggling with the car in the dry.
Yeah, in the dry.
So now he's in the wet, this is even tougher.
Yeah. Yeah, you're battling demons in dry conditions, what this car is built to do. Now he sits in a completely drenched track, rain still hammering down onto the circuit, and Rarahoski sits on the line saying, well, you know, it's do or die, I give it a shot, I go for it, there's nothing I can do, I'm out of the show already. Just try and string together a run enough to get himself in, but he's coming in very, very hot there. Sacrifices outside zone 1, he's going to transition right through that standing water, that could be very dangerous. Comes out alive though as Rarahovski looks for inside zone. Now he's firing it in, he's into the wall,
You can see it coming just on the wrong line. It just messed up everything, and you know, I think he'll drive away from that one, or at least he'll drive away with very little damage. The tire bale doing its job, stopping the impact, absorbing it. You know, the driver will drive away from that, but that's another driver straight out of the show. I mean, it's fascinating to watch. I mean, these guys are definitely feeling the temperature change here over the last couple of hours, and you know, just trying to get comfortable in the dry, and then all of a sudden you're in the wet, and it's even worse. And I mean, there's a lot of guys here, I think, that will feel that they gave it their best shot and it just wasn't their day. But there's a lot of championship contenders watching these runs go in going, I can't afford to have this happen or my entire season is done.
So there we go, we're just taking a look back at the replay. This is where it all went wrong for Rarahovski.
Again, on the big angle here.
Look at this.
Nothing to say. You can't go at big angle there because you've nothing to save yourself when it gets even slipperier.
So there we go, make it official, 0 and out of competition. Tomorrow, Rarahoski gets another shot on Sunday.
And this is where you can see Conor Shanahan and James Dean having a real conversation. Conor Shanahan sitting out of the top 32. James Dean now explaining maybe to Conor Shanahan what he needs to do. And easier said than done, right? And this is very nervous, strategic moments for a lot of these drivers. You can see the worry in Conor Shanahan's face there because he's saying, you know, I'm sitting second in the championship. If I don't put in a run, if he spins, I think that's championship over. That's he's not going to. I think it is because I mean, if you look at it from
and so many good contenders this weekend.
That's the thing. So I mean, you
tomorrow,
you can't sit on the sideline for that top 32 and still be in contention.
Tomorrow's a new day. Who knows what the weather's going to bring? It could be bone dry. It
could be snow.
It could be. It could be. I didn't bring clothes for snow, Dave. You didn't. That wasn't on my list.
Nobody can pack for weather like this. That's for sure.
Look, tomorrow it could be bone dry, glorious sunshine, Benedikt Aschurba's perfect weather. He sits third place. He could leapfrog Shanahan and start to chip away at Peter Vincek's championship.
But the problem is Vincek's still there. So Shanahan cannot afford. Yeah, but he cannot afford at all to slip up on that run, or he's going to be out of the championship. Because I feel like if you want to be a championship contender, you've got to score points at every single round. You can't sit on the fence for one round and expect to just jump back into the mix. So, well, you know what? Why are we speculating about it? Why don't we just talk to Conor Shanahan? Becky's with him now.
Conor, lovely weather, eh?
Oh, feels like I'm just at home.
I was about to say, this is very Irish weather. How are you feeling about that first run?
Oh yeah, I'm quite annoyed. The conditions was one, which was a massive challenge even to try get some sort of a score on the board, which I thought I could be able to, but unfortunately we had a clutch problem as well. So the team literally in a stream had to rip the gearbox out. They got it sorted. They have a gearbox back in now, and hopefully everything will be okay for this run. To be honest, I hope it stays a little bit drizzly like this. The patchy conditions is probably the most demanding driving you could ever do, but Yeah, I don't think I've ever been as nervous, to be honest. This, the scare of not qualifying is obviously on my mind, and I need to try, kind of keep myself focused and try to get the job done in the second run.
You know, you just mentioned there very quickly, they took the gearbox out and put it back in. Explain to people at home, that is no mean feat. That is a difficult thing to do. Like, your team are just incredible.
Yeah, they're like, once something needs to be, I said to my dad, I was like, what will we do? I was like, we don't have much time, should we take the risk and hopefully the clutch will cool down? If it was raining like this, I probably would get away with just doing a run. And he was like, get out of the way, and he just ran under the car. So yeah, the guys got it done. I'm quite lucky to have such support behind me, which is always the case. Probably the most hot-headed team in the event, but they always get the job done when it needs to be done. But hopefully I can do them proud, do the whole nation back home proud, and hopefully get into the top 32 for tomorrow.
Connor, you've been, competing at events with your brother for years now. It must be great to see you both out there. I mean, you had an absolute corker of an event in Austria. Is it good to be out there with Jack?
Yeah, it's amazing. Austria, I think, was quite a special one because Jack literally has built the whole car, what I'm driving, which is amazing for him, I think, to see that, he's built something what's, a pretty special piece of equipment, you could say. And Austria was amazing. If I could try get somewhere close at some stage this weekend, it would be a really good, consistent way through the championship. Now sitting second in the championship, which is also a bit of pressure added as well. But, I got to put all them things in the back of my mind now. I'm only focused on one thing, and that's to get the job done and hopefully get into the top 32 for tomorrow.
Connor, last question for you. Obviously, you're feeling the pressure. It's, your nerves are getting up there. Do you have any kind of ritual which you kind of use to calm yourself down and get ready for in the zone?
I wouldn't say so. I try to keep it as normal as possible because if you let it get into your head, it's even worse. So I think, yeah, I've been in these situations before. Maybe I'm not this biggest point of competition, but it is what it is. I just got to try, do my job and get the job done hopefully, and just stay focused, just breathe when I have the helmet on, and just think that I'm in practice. That's all it is.
Thank you, Connor. I have every faith in you. Good luck out there.
Well, that's a task in itself, Ian, to pretend it's practice when your entire championship hopes are on the line, which they will be.
I mean, look, we just took a quick look at the laptop, went through the numbers. At the moment, Peter Vincek, your championship leader, sitting in 22nd place in qualifying. Look, I'm not really good at maths, Dave. You know that. It's not my strong point.
Wouldn't, you know what?
You're
no mathematician.
But I don't know where that is going to put Peter after, all of the qualifying runs are done, where that's going to sit him in the bracket. That's what's going to be interesting to me. Back to the line, a man who's in 6th place, 84 in his first qualifying run, looked comfortable. Oran Nilsson from Norway now sits on the line.
With the conditions, I would go as far as saying that Oran Nilsson is safe right now.
Yeah.
With the score he got from the first run at 84, he can afford to risk a little bit here. If he spins, not the end of the world. Very lucky that he got that strong first run in, and it was an impressive run.
It certainly was, and dry weather, and we said maybe Austria didn't suit his track with driving style. Those Norwegians love those big, fast-flowing tracks, and Riga, well, that certainly suits his style. Through the gears he comes, though, the Norwegian. Oran Nilsson going to go for his second qualifying run. What can he do? 100 kilometres an hour as he fires down to outside zone 1, looking confident once again, goes wide, dabbing the foot brake. Look at that, you can see the anti-lag running away there in the background, flames popping out the exhaust as Oran Nilsson looks very, very comfortable. Now, look at this, clever, dials on the angle, holds onto it. Can he keep into it? He certainly can. Just about gets himself into it, right to the outside limits of the track, as Oran Nilsson, one of the first guys to make his way down into outside zone 6 for a very long time. This part of the track, not seen any action for a long time. Gets the back bumper up close to the wall, and Oran Nilsson splashes through the puddle and makes it across the line.
That's another phenomenal run. I mean, Oran Nilsson this weekend is saying, hey, rain, sunshine, snow,
bring it.
I'm good. 84 on the board. I'm not sure if that's going to improve on an 84, but I think that's still a very solid score. I mean, he looked comfortable, except for this moment right here where he said, please, 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 have I got enough steering angle? And that is all the steering angle that car had. And he got back out of it. He got back into the second section of the course, and to be honest, looks comfortable. If I can say it in these conditions, looked okay.
And I think that'll be a massive confidence booster, because not only in the dry will he be saying, yeah, I can nail this track, but in the wet, yeah, I can get around it. Not the best, but look at that, 69, stays where he is in 6th place.
Not a lot of drivers with 2 scores on the board right now. Not a lot. So something to be proud of there for Oran Nilsson. I think we'll see him in competition tomorrow for top 32. Now, Christian Erlandsen, on the other hand, 0 on the first run, 1 run to get it done, come all the way from Sweden to Riga, and if he doesn't put it on the board here, he's out of competition. Big stress, big nerves, and a guy that does suffer from nerves at the best of times. Big ask here.
Massive ask right now for Christian Erlsson. Comes through the gears. His Subaru BRZ. He's going to put it right to the edge of the track. Tags the cone out of the way. A little wobble. Gets himself right onto the edge of outside zone 1. He just needs to put a run in, but he's going wild and he's carrying big angle. That can't pay off right here in the outside zone, can it? Yeah, well, he can, and he makes it work as Christian Erlsson looks to make his way down into outside zone 6, getting through it. Christian Erlsson knows he needs to put a score on the ball, but he's going to over-rotate on outside zone 6.
Wow, just when it looked like he was going to take that to the top 32, the frustration straight away, you can tell from that heavy right foot on the throttle. He knows it's not enough to get him through to the top 32, and just, you could see the finish. He was so close, he could taste it. But just like that, double zeros and a 47th place finish. Wow. Harsh out there.
It's very, very harsh out there, and it is a cruel game that we're playing this weekend in these really, really bad weather conditions. Up next is Nodu Kodua.
Just inside the top 32.
Just
inside. 66 on the board, which we would have said after the first run, not a hope.
No.
But now with the conditions, I'm thinking just put a score in and cross your fingers and hope it's enough.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of hoping going on out there.
There's a lot of hoping. There's a paddock full of hope. But at the moment, you can see our track manager just inspecting, making sure there's no fluids on the track, on top of the large amount of fluid that is on the track, which came from the sky, that there's no extra fluid, power steering, oil, that kind of stuff, which would make it even worse. I mean, he looks confident. He looks like he's still having a good time. So, I mean, I like to see a guy waving to the camera because he's not tensed up, he's not stressed.
He's forgetting about the situation.
Yeah, I think he's saying,
the nerves go.
Yeah. If you can say what will be, I think you've got a shot here. If you get too stressed, you're going to make big errors.
Yes, certainly so. Well, through the chicane he comes. It is Nodu Kodua from Georgia. His way down, he's going to go for a big flick right across the track. That's going to sacrifice a lot of line. He's going to have to work really hard to stay in outside zone 1. He just cannot make it work. Splashes through the puddle down to outside zone 2. He's going to fall way off that qualifying line now as Nodu Kodua gets into the tyres, takes the back bumper off, disposes of that on the tyre wall and says, I'm going to keep going. I need to get a few more points on the board, but I'm not sure he's going to get any more than a 66 in this run, sacrificing outside zone 6 as he looks for the finish line. And the end of the concrete wall as he puts back end toward across the line.
Well, if his aim was to destroy the car, mission accomplished, because he hit absolutely everything on the way through there. To be honest, the entry was kamikaze. He's initiated unlike any other driver we've watched today, but this is where he really gets away with it. He goes up on the curb, he just about gets away with it there, bounces back down again, but it's messy. The judge is going to watch that. Is that 2 wheels off the track? Just about, I would say, 2 wheels off the track. And then when he transitions back here, he goes deep into the wall here. This is a little bit out of control, hits the standing water. He's lucky the flex on the back of that car is the way it is because he gets away with it. But, I mean, it's not pretty.
No, it's not pretty. I'm going to say it's a 0 from where I'm sitting because, 2 wheels off track, at the wall, going too wild, taking the back bumper off, not what the judges wanted to see. So, stays where he is, tentative wait for him. Kevin Piscotty now sits on the line, the Hungarian driver, Dave.
How cool are the purple
That is
Eons
so cool. Why has no one else ever done that?
You know what?
You're going to do that, aren't you?
I might.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not going to save you. You can look as cool as you want.
But you could look cool zeroing.
You could, but I think Kevin, he's got a 67 on the board. He's in 25th position. He's only 20 years of age. Is this the moment to go out there and wow everybody? Well, we hope it is.
Well, he's going to try to, that's for sure, Dave. Look at the windscreen. Rain absolutely beating down still. When a little bit of grip found, though, on outside zone 1. Sacrifices most of it. Just drips a wheel in the end of it. Now sacrifices outside zone 2. Starting to fall apart this run. And yet again, another driver who I do believe is not going to improve from where I'm sitting. Looks to make his way in to outside zone 5, splashes through the puddles, down he comes into outside zone 6. Can he get the back bumper of that BMW onto the wall? Cannot get there. You can see how slow the speed. Sacrifice cut completely in half as Kevin Piscotty gets to the wall just at the end of the run.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got to say, it was a tentative one, which is probably the clever approach, but errors creeping in, zones missed, judges. I mean, if it was me, I'm a nice guy. I would give them all a lot of scores for just trying because it's very dangerous. But the judges say, hey, whether it's raining, whether it's not, we're still scoring the same. We're still scoring the mistakes the same, the errors, the line, the speed, the angle. And it's very difficult to live up to their expectations when conditions are like this.
Exactly that. Yeah, struggling are these guys. So we go at 56. He does get a score on the board, stays where he is, though, in 25th place. And I think he's safe with that, Dave.
And you know what? There hasn't been a lot of scores in the last couple of runs. So putting a 56 down on this, not so bad. But a man that definitely needs to score is now Linus Junsu from Sweden. 0 on his first run. Cannot afford to go safe. Cannot afford to spin. Worst position you could possibly be in. All the stress, all the pressure. Didn't have a good round 1 and round 2. All the hopes of the Swedish Drift Brothers probably lie on this one.
I mean, they certainly do. Through the gears, down he comes. Linus Junsu, the Swedish driver. Tentative initiation, gets onto the handbrake, sets himself up for outside zone 1, sticks a wheel into it and holds onto it. Oh, but a big error. And that is going to be a straighten. So judges will be looking at that one. Makes his way down, though, through the treacherous part of the circuit. Stays in it. He's going to sacrifice outside zone 5 there. As you can see, straightens again. Big handbrake drag into 6. Oh,
I think that might be all she wrote.
That's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, look at this.
He has not completed that run. I'm not sure what's happening there. Maybe the car taking a little bit of water in, maybe not into the intake, not running correctly, but that looked to me like a 0, 3 fairly sizable straightening ups through the run. And this is the European Drift Championship, Ian, and not the European Drive Championship, so you've got to stay sideways and double zeros. Another tough round for Linus Junsu. And again, if it's not mechanical failures, it's the weather.
It just
not catching a break.
No, it just cannot catch a break, Dave. And there we go, double zeros out. Gets another shot on Sunday at round 4 here in Riga. But a long wait now as he waits all day tomorrow. Up next, it is Grzegorz Hipki.
Yeah, sitting comfy at the moment. 12th position, 80 points on the board. I think that's going to see him into battles. Does he try and go big? Does he try and, get up into the 90s, try and, stamp his authority? It is a big statement. If you come out there with a big run, you get a big score, people will be afraid of you. They will be a little bit intimidated. You're handling these conditions well, you're confident. And there is a little bit of mind games that goes on in drifting. If someone's out there like James Dean smashing 90s in the dry and 91s in the wet, people get a little afraid. They overcommit in their battles. And Grzegorz Hipki's long enough in the game now to know that putting in a big run here will size him up, put him in the position where everyone in the paddock's having a little look across his pit area saying, this guy's on it. I don't want to get him in the battles. He's already got the psychological warfare advantage against his opponent tomorrow. So, but also, on the flip side of that, Grzegorz Hipki is a bit wild, and he has been known to do a little crashing.
He has known to be doing a little bit of crashing, and these weather conditions are going to make it tricky, especially down on that wall where he crashed last year when he debuted this car. And yeah, you're right, Dave, putting in a big run now will scare your opponents in top 32 tomorrow, because they'll know what you're capable of. Comes through the gears, look at that little test of the handbrake, big drag though, gets himself set up for outside zone 1. Look at this, very nice job. Oh, another little dab there as he goes wide. Oh, and it's going to be wheels off track, and he bails out of it. Has to reinitiate. Grzegorz Hipki now unsettled. The nerves now calmed once again. Back onto the throttle goes Grzegorz Hipki down into outside zone 6. And
what I'm noticing, Ian, is that the big puddles of standing water are not really there anymore. It is drivable. It's very wet, but that those big, huge puddles when it was raining earlier are starting to dissipate a little bit. It's possible.
Yeah,
it's drivable. It's drivable. It's possible to go out there and get a big run. But as you mentioned, it's not that these guys can't drive in the wet. It's the amount of rubber laid down from the start of practice. They're not drifting on asphalt or tarmac. They're drifting on rubber, which is wet. And I mean, that's slippy stuff.
That's very, very slippery, and it's very, very difficult. So there we go. We made it official. 0 for Grzegorz Hipki. Prolonged amount of strain. And there we go. Norbert Zamic now sits on the line. And Zamic out of top 32, a 52 on his first qualifying run.
It was uncharacteristic of him. It was messy.
Yeah, it was
and he'll be kicking himself. He had a dry run. He uncharacteristically made a lot of errors. That was the best shot he had. Now he's got to do it in even harder conditions. Lopping ass here of Norbert Zamic.
To leave, down through the gears he goes. Can he hold it together? Can he feel a little bit more confidence in the car and in himself? Goes for a nice wide initiation. He knows he needs to be pinpoint perfect on those outside zones, but in these weather conditions that is almost impossible. And yeah, sacrificing too. Going to get a wheel on the inside curb there as he makes his way down, and he's going to spin.
I was just about to say, get the line wrong now and you're in trouble, because he went too fast and too close to the inner clip, put him on the wrong line, had to dial on the big angle to slow the car down, and you're in the slippiest part of the track. Round she went.
Yeah, and completely aborts the run, makes
So
it
that's another big name out of top 32.
competition. And they are dropping like flies, Dave.
Survival of the fittest out there right now, and I don't know. I mean, you normally we'll sit here and kind of have a fair idea of what the drivers are trying to achieve. We're watching very experienced. We're talking champions here. Champions from across Europe, not being able to complete runs, which goes to show how difficult this track is right now. And Michael Reichardt, 0 on his first run. Remember, had mechanical, mechanical failure, couldn't even get off the start line. And he says, "Oh, no problem. We'll go back out for the second run. The heavens open, totally different track." Whew, what's he thinking right now?
He's probably thinking, "What's the lowest score I need? What's the lowest score to get into top 32?" He's
I'm going to try and check it out for you because I want to know what the cutoff is, and the cutoff at the moment is a 59.
So he's sitting there saying, "Well, we need a 59 minimum."
60s.
60 will do.
Could be okay
60 will do, and I'll get in the show because I do believe after that, apart from Dimitri Ilyich, who we're not sure made it back out on track,
and Connor Shanahan,
everybody else has scored. So a mid-60 score could get you in the show tomorrow, top 32.
And you're hoping for, drier conditions, fair fight, but he's got to get the run done, right? And he's had no practice in these conditions, and he didn't even get his first run, and all of those nerves, and he's traveled a very long way to be here, and he's had a tough road in the championship so far. There's a lot of pressures on the Czech Republic driver.
He certainly is. Well, here he goes. One shot to get it done. Michael Reichardt now looks for a little bit of redemption on the circuit. Drops down on the inside. You can see out of outside zone 1. Holding on to it, though. And at the moment, it's going to be a war on attrition. Can he hold on to it? Big angle already. And now this is dangerous when he comes into outside zone 4. But look at that left foot brake. Just about keeps that car on a sensible angle to make his way round on the transition for 5. Now down into 6. Looks for the wall. Big handbrake drag. He's on the inside edge of the circuit. Going to sacrifice outside zone 6. Or get to the edge of that concrete wall right at the last moment. And there we go. On the wrong arc. Just pushes the back end up in the air.
I was just thinking, which is dangerous for me. I'm wondering why no one's getting to that outer zone at the wall at the end, and I've just realized there's another tarmac change just before it. So the track is super slippery, and the drivers think, because they've had no practice to adjust to this, that the track is super slippery. When they transition back, it grips up, and that's why they can't push out to that wall. You see there's a little line just about here where the surface is much more abrasive. Right there, see the way they change it? And they think it's going to wash through that, but it doesn't. It actually grips up, and they can't keep the car on angle to go back out to the wall. So, I mean, you're dealing with so many variables there. 66 on the board, though. 29th, you never know.
You never know.
You never know. Michael Reichardt jumps in. And it goes to show that, there was quite a disparity in scoring between 32nd and 28th. So, Krzysztof Romanowski is our next driver. He's got an 81. He's in 10th. I think he's safe where he is for top 32 action. Does he take an easy little parade lap around here, or does he try and go for a big score? We're about to find out.
I think he's going to take it easy. Personally, I think he's seen what's happened. He's seen a lot of guys break the cars, take on some damage. Don't need that tonight in this weather, in the paddock before tomorrow's big show. So he's going to play it safe. As Krzysztof Romanowski makes his way down. Yeah, look at this. Keeping it dialed, modulating the throttle, shallowing up at the angle, just going to make it round. Just going to try and feel out the weather conditions, because if it's the same tomorrow, he knows that he can make it round and how to drive in this situation. As Krzysztof Romanowski looks for outside zone 6, and yet again, another driver sacrificing it. Going to be on that wrong line, going to get to the outside edge of the wall right at the very last minute.
I think it's down to that grip level. Yeah. I think when they transition back for that decel zone onto the wall, the surface changes and it just grips the car up massively. They think it's going to wash, and they're kind of backing off because they think it's going to wash into the wall.
Yeah.
They're not even getting close.
No, exactly that. So there we go, a replay of Krzysztof Romanowski's run.
Brave on the first corner, to be fair.
Yeah, he was very, very brave, to be fair. And sketchy place, you can see this is the decel before outside zone 5. And he goes not too close to the curb, keeps it safe. Keeps himself in the fight and in the show for tomorrow.
Well, I mean, experience pays dividends, because you don't want to end up with a crash car and have, as you said, spend all night fixing it when you're already in the show. So I think the sensible approach, when you've got an 80 run in the board, would be the right way to go. And you're trying to ask a 16-year-old now to do what
Just
he's told.
that, yeah.
I'm sure his dad's been like, Max, you got an 88, you're sitting in second, You're definitely in the show. You've impressed everybody. Don't go out there and try and top qualifying. Just relax. But will you listen?
No,
That's the question.
probably not, Dave. Probably not.
When you were
because I tell
16, did you listen to your dad?
No, never.
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to try and beat James Dean. I think he's going to go out there and, for the first time since the start of the Drift Masters Championship, the odds are in Max Cotton's favour because the power means nothing.
Yes, and I think you're right. Look at this. He sits on the line, ready to rock and roll. He's an incredible line driver, incredible amount of talent, and now power means nothing. So he can look absolutely exquisite and nail the line and score high.
What if 16-year-old Max Cotton out-qualified James Dean in Riga at his first time ever driving the track, and James has been there 7 years in a row? Could we be writing the history books right now, or are we putting way too much pressure on the shoulders of a 16-year-old? Let's see what happens.
Well, we're about to find out. Tentative initiation for young Max Cotton. You can see a little dab of the handbrake, slows the rear wheels down right to the edge of the circuit. Looks for the transition back, gets it done nicely down on that line. Picks up that inside clipping point 3. Look at the angle, shallows it up. Just gets to 4 though, a little bit shallow on that one as well. He's playing this one safe, Dave. I don't know if he's going to be rewarded. Oh, and the car gets up on the curb and unloads the weight.
Well, wasn't to be the fairy tale story, but it's still quite a fairy tale story. Sits in second position with an 88. Will that be beaten? That's a tough order for anyone right now. Max Cotton. No? Will he finish qualifying? 3 points behind the machine, James Dean. After his second ever European event?
I don't know if anyone else is going to... It's so hard out there.
Yeah.
It's incredibly difficult. There you go. We make it official. 0, second place at the moment for young Max Cotton.
But we haven't, you know, no driver has gone out to that outer zone at the end of the course in, what, maybe the last 30 runs?
30 runs, yeah, easily.
So that's, I think, where the points are going to be made. You've got to figure that out.
Yes, I'm ready.
So we have Max Cotton with Becky.
Max, what an incredible debut. I can see the smile on your face, which is exactly what I wanted to see. Obviously, that run didn't quite go to plan. No. But how was it out there? Because it's looking super duper wet.
I mean, this track in the wet is vicious. But I thought, you know what, we're going to go around. I'm not going to not do my run. I just want to go around, get the driving experience. I spun out, which was quite funny. But the car's in one piece, and that's all that matters.
Absolutely. Do you know, it's so good to see such a big smile on your face, and you absolutely should do. You're in second place. Think about that for a second. Look at you. It's just incredible. It's so good. Your dad is so proud. I've been watching him up there on the tower. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's obviously the person that makes me able to do this, and he supports me so much. And it's just so nice to try and make him proud when I go out on the track.
You've absolutely done that. Good luck for tomorrow, Max. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Heartwarming stuff.
Heartwarming.
And we go back to the start line to Caelan Kierton, who did not have a good time on his first run. He was a victim of the weather. Weather changed just before his first qualifying run. Scored a 0, spun out. Now the pressure's back on again.
So we're now getting to those guys that went out in them patchy weather conditions for the first spout of rain. Now it's fully wet. They kind of know what to expect. They drove in those conditions earlier, as James Dean said earlier in the interview with Becky, and now Caelan Kierton needs to make it work, fails to get to outside zone 1. He's in the dead centre of the circuit, so he's not scoring. He's on the wrong line, gets to outside zone.
He's in trouble.
Yeah, he's going to be trouble. He's going to carry some big angle. He's going to put it way up onto the curb. Just about holds onto it, Dave. But he knows a 60-point run could get him into the show. I'm not sure if this could be a 60-point run unless he can get way onto the outside zone 6, and he can't.
I think that's going to catch every driver out. They think they're going to wash out there. It's almost like someone throws an anchor out of the door and they just stop. So, yeah, going to be tight for the scoring there on Caelan Kierton at the moment. And obviously we have scores popping up in front of us, left, right, center. Amazing technology here, courtesy of Red Bull TV. And we are looking at a 61 now as the cutoff. So, you know, you're going to have to score above that or you're going home.
I think that's going to be a 0, Dave. 2 wheels off track. It was both wheels up on the curb and into the dirt. So I'm going to go ahead there and guesstimate at a 0-point run.
It's so hard. I mean, it's a long way to come for a lot of these drivers. I know they get another shot back at round 4 on Sunday, but I think a lot of guys are going to scratch this down to experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you've got guys like James Dean and Conor Shanahan saying this is a tough track to drive, and they're at the very top level, from my perspective, anyone lesser than that has a bigger challenge again. So here we go, 2 double zeros for Caelan Kierton. And, you know, he's always smiling.
Yeah.
He says any day he's drifting, he's having a good time. And I think when he dries out a little bit, he'll probably say, "Look, we've got another chance on Sunday. Let's come back. Let's rethink it." And a driver that's sitting, we would expect in the business end of the championship, Juha Rintanen, also sitting on a very, very low score from the first run. So let's see what he can do.
There we go. It sits on the line. It's incredible. S206 S15.
Well, not so low a score. I'm looking at 73,
No, yeah, 73, 19. So he's sitting comfortable. He was one of the higher qualifiers in the patchy weather conditions. Now, when it's really wet, maybe he feels a little bit more confident. He certainly looks it. Throws on the angle. Down he comes into outside zone 2. Wow, look at this. From Juha Rintanen shallows up the angle, fires it up onto the dirt. Did he drop 2 wheels off the edge of the circuit? That will be the nail in the coffin if he did. Shallows up for outside zone 5, looks for 6. Can he get out deep onto the wall? Again, another driver sacrificing that line, but now works the back end of that Nissan up onto the wall. He's in outside zone 6, 9 degrees to it, tags it, upsets himself a little bit. He spins across the line.
I think, well, so you're just saying the end of the course is the end of the wall.
End of the wall, yeah.
So I think he got away with that one. But did he get away with the 2 wheels off track?
I'm
not too sure.
He did, yeah.
Ian, you look a little bit like you don't want to be right.
I don't want to be right because, do you know what? It was a very impressive run in these weather conditions. And he's one of the only guys that's really made it round that well. Here we go. Judges looking for the alternative angle. Yeah, look at that.
That to me is 2 wheels off the track.
Man, so do you know what? Just would have reined it in. 5% would have been.
Yeah, and he was one of the few drivers to figure out that last section as well, where he actually, got pretty close to the wall on the last center zone. So to be fair, we all know that Juha Rintanen never backs down from a fight, never backs down from a challenge, but I don't think it can save him here.
There we go. We'll make it official. Is a 0. 2 wheels off track there outside zone 4. He stays where he is, 19th position.
It's okay though. I mean, he's in the mix. I mean, just getting to the top 32 at this point is an achievement for anybody.
Yeah, exactly that. We move back to the line. Max Heidrich, the young German driver now, sits there in this Nissan 200SX again.
So Heidrich is sitting in 21st. I think that's safe right now. But he'd like to improve on a 70. He's a high-scoring qualifying driver. He had a little bit of bad luck in Austria at round 1 and round 2. Wants to come back to Riga and prove his point. And there's no stopping this man when it comes to full aggression. So I think he's going to go in hot here. A little flick, throws in late, nice. Gets to the outer zone. Line of drops out of it though as he comes through the course. This is the sketchy part. Got to dial off the angle here. Going big angle, you're going to be in trouble. It gets slippy right here. Oh, just lets that car wash, and a nice job from Max Heidrich. Now, got to let the car wash here, but this is the point that everyone's struggling with. When they transition back here, you've got to be a little bit committed, and he is. Good job from Max Heidrich. Stays committed and goes out to the wall early. Now he's in the wall, back spoiler, flexing. Nice finish to the run for Max Heidrich, and that's going to be a good score. Judges going to reward the bravery there.
Yeah, 110% there, Dave. And yeah, 110% from Max Heidrich. Just a few little wobbles there, a few little mistakes crept in, but to be expected in the situation.
I like the run. I like the run.
No, I liked it. I don't know if it's better than a 70.
I mean, the first corner, yeah, he's a little shallow. He's barely in that outer zone, but from here, I think he's done as good a job as anybody in the last, hour or so of qualifying. I mean, he is totally off throttle and off brake, and that is just hitting hope, floating through that section. And then at the end, he's got that rear wheel into that outer zone. Not a lot of drivers doing that. I don't think we've seen a driver since maybe James Dean actually get out to that outer zone.
Yeah, I mean,
and he improves.
Well, there we go, a 74. Yeah, what do I know?
Stays where he is, but he improves his score, and he can be very happy with that. Consistent in the dry, consistent in the wet, and in the mid-pack. Into the battles tomorrow, and he's a great battle driver. He's going to be one guy that's smiling tonight as he sweeps all the water out of his pit area. You need that little bit of enthusiasm to be able to go back to the pits and, dry everything down.
Dry everything down and get ready. Well, Mikolaj Zajewski now sits on line. Polish driver. He's Sora, big heavy car, Dave, to be thrown around these weather conditions.
There's a lot of people refer to this as a boat. He might need one because it is very, very wet.
He's coming fast.
Wow, he's coming very aggressive there. Almost too early and a little too aggressive. Little modulation of the front brakes to try and transition that car back, and as he comes down, he's on a poor line here. He's going to be very wide. Oh, and he just about gets away with it. We'll have to check the alternate angle to see where those wheels went, but he might just go away, and he's in trouble again here as the back bumper is getting absolutely decimated at every single curb, and he shuts it down. That could be a 0.
Yeah.
Shuts it down there. He's got a problem with that car, Ian, and he has no drive whatsoever. So that is a 0 on the board which means he will stay in 23rd position, which could be okay. It's a sketchy. It's probably the sketchiest qualifying session I've watched in drift. That's 2 wheels off the track as far as I can see, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Probably felt that in the car for sure, and with those curbs you definitely feel it.
Yeah, exactly, you're not escaping that. There we go, 0 for Mikolaj, and stays where he is, 22nd position, and this been such a tough qualifying session for these guys today.
Tough to watch, tough to judge, tough to drive.
It just tough all round. Well, tough for this guy in the car as well right now, brand new build and being tested to the limit. Joe Hutanji from Germany, G82 BMW M4, sits on the line, snaps it into gear and says, well, we've got a shot at it now. What can we do? Comes through and you can see the steam rising as the temperature rises ever so slightly down the back end of the circuit. Opposite flicks it. Oh, and it wobbles, but he holds on to it. Joe Hutanji stays in it, drops down though, out of that scoring zone, back into it he goes as he looks to transition for outside zone 2. Gets it done nicely as Joe Hutanji now stands on the throttle, shallows up the angle, looks for outside zone 4, tidily done from Joe Hutanji, making his way now into outside zone 5. This one could string together to be a good run. Zeroed out on his first qualifying run, needs the points, but he's going to struggle to get into 6. And yeah, you can see that white line, his rear wheel just away from it. Not filling that yellow box on your screen at the bottom, as you can see. He's going to tag the back end on the wall once again. Joe Hutanji,
I would say professional run.
Survived.
Very professional. I would say tentative run, didn't want to spin, knew he had a 0 from the first run, couldn't afford any mistakes, and I think he's put a score on the board. Is it enough? He's not going to have the style, he's not going to have the angle, he missed a bit of the line, but has he put enough of a score to get that wobble on initiation? Must have been frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have gone left instead of right there, and just about got away with it, but look, not in the outer zone early in that corner, but for the rest of the course, pretty tidy. So the judges, his fate is in their hands.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but for me, not too many mistakes. Yeah, look, it wasn't pinpoint perfect, but what can you expect from these guys at the moment on this circuit in this weather?
Looks pretty though.
Yeah, looks very good.
Very cool car. Look at that, just about.
Wow.
Creeps with his fingernails into 31st position, and he's just about in the show.
Just about,
just
65.
about.
65, just about. Scrapes in for Joe Hutanji as Felix Lindvall now steps up to the plate, taps the side of the car. He's ready for action outside of the show.
Yeah, he's outside of the top 32. He got a 47 on his first run. Was a sketchy run. I think he'd agree with that. Now, demisting the windscreen, he's again another driver going, what have I got to do?
Yeah.
What have I got to do? I can't see. It's raining. The track is completely just an ice rink, and I've got to make it happen. And it's very difficult to make it happen when you're under these conditions. Look, I'll be honest, Felix is a Scandinavian driver. I always have a little bit of belief in the Scandinavian drivers because, you know, they're a little bit like, you know, the Irish and the English. We've seen a bit of rain in our day, so hopefully they're used to driving in it. Let's see how he gets on. It's Felix Lindvall into that first corner, coming through the gears, initiates very fast. So this is looking pretty good so far. Definitely lots of commitment, but a little bit maybe he's going to drop, hit that cone. No, gets away with it. Nice from Felix Lindvall so far now. This is the point. He's got to modulate the throttle. He cannot go too aggressive here. Absolutely nails it. Unbelievable from Felix Lindvall. He was outside the top 32. Now he is one corner away from making history and get himself into the first top 32 in Riga. And he's even almost into that outer zone. Oh, a little bit of stall up there. Got to keep on the power. Puts the power down, gets out to the wall, flexes the carbon Kevlar. We've been waiting for a run like that for a couple of runs now. Felix Lindvall once again stepping up.
Yeah, certainly did, Dave. And look at that, made a mark and said, well, you know what?
Look at the bottom of your screen.
You've got to go for it. Yeah, all zones fulfilled. And from where I was sitting, didn't look like too bad of a line to get there either. So Felix Lindvall will be looking happy at that. For me, just this little mistake here, just dropped out. You can see he keeps one wheel in it, drops one wheel on the edge of the circuit. So will be a few points deducted. But nevertheless, Felix Lindvall doing everything he could to make it round, and a 73 drops him into 19th position, jumps way up the order there for Felix Lindvall. And now he's looking strong for competition tomorrow. Back on the line, Torane Kavia. Oh, no.
Kavia, we're just hearing reports, having a mechanical issue, so I'm just trying to check his first score. He's sitting in 11th, so he is safe for battle action, maybe saving the car for tomorrow. Also not going to see Theo Correa from Portugal. He's also knocked out of competition, mechanical failure, engine failure. So we move it on to the Italian, Manuel Vacca, who is coming in very hot into that first corner for a man that needs a score on the board. He's currently sitting in 35th position, 59 was the score on his first run, and he's a little bit sketchy through the midfield here.
Yeah, he certainly is, Dave. Just sacrificed outside zone 2, but he's going to make it work now. Just pops the wheel just on the edge of the curb there on outside zone 4. Comes down for 5, looking confident, no window. You can see him just bobbing about inside the car as he goes for outside zone 6. Just cannot make it out there as he's going to sacrifice that zone or get to the end of it. Very close there to the wall, tags the back end, snaps the spoiler off, holds into it though, and Manuel Vaca, I think he's done enough there to get a score high enough up.
So if he goes, he will eliminate our 32nd driver if he does score higher, which will put Joe Hutunji out of competition. So if he scores into the top 32, Joe Hutunji will be eliminated, and this is how close and how harsh it is right now.
So Manuel Vaca there, the Italian, doing everything he can.
So he is expecting to score, but will it be enough to put him into the top 32?
And he's there, parked up, waiting for the score. 62, no, outside of top 32.
That big wobble.
And the line just cost him more, and he's angry. You can hear it down there.
Yeah.
He's looked at the big screen, he sees the score, now he drives off back to the paddock and says, Sunday, I've got to make it count. And the rain starts to fall again, Dave.
Well, I mean, look, some of the drivers are saying we want to just keep it wet, because if it's wet, at least it's predictable. The patchy conditions are worse, but I still think in the wet, this track is pretty undrivable. I mean, if you're watching some of these runs, to not straighten up, to not have a big correction, to not over-rotate is a big ask. We've watched some drivers fall off very, very quickly, and we move on to what is essentially the last couple of drivers in qualifying. We have got eight drivers remaining. It's teed up nicely, isn't it?
It's just, well, I mean, look, this is the 8 drivers left to go, and the first up will be Marco Zaccaril, 8th place.
Yeah, Zaccaril is safe.
Yeah.
He's got an 83 on the board. He is into battles tomorrow. All he can do now is try and improve that score. Can he get up towards the 90s? Does he make that big statement? He looked like he was so brave on the first run because he had patchy conditions as well, but he went for it. And I think he's going to go for it again here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to go for it again. And I think he knows he has to if he wants to get himself just that little bit higher up the order and get that run through top 32 tomorrow a little bit easier, knowing that weather conditions could be the complete opposite of what they are today. You have to push hard through. He comes absolutely flying. Marco Zaccaril not messing around. Down he comes in across that white line. The scoring zone begins right now. Big angle dialed on into the outside zone. Look at that foot brake on. You can see him controlling the back end. That car keeps one wheel on the tarmac as he transitions down. This is an absolutely flying run so far from Marco Zaccaril. Shallows up the angle, dials it on and over rotates.
The speed, I don't think you can go through there that fast. I just don't think, no matter what car you're in, especially on angle, you've got to either go, I'm going to go slow with big angle, or I'm going to go shallow at speed.
Yeah.
You can't do both. And I think he tried to do both there. I think he tried to go at big angle at high speed, and all of a sudden had no rear grip. Car over rotates, 0 on the board. It doesn't really matter. He's still in the show tomorrow, but it goes to show someone as experienced and talented as Marco Zaccaril making big errors.
Well, there he goes, makes his way off the track, and he'll know what he's done, but he'll know he'll be safe.
That's a self-scorer. That's a stone.
Self-score, yeah. He's like,
facing the wrong way.
I know. Yep, I know what happened there.
Pretty sure. I know what I've got my score there. Now we're down to 7 drivers remaining in qualifying. We still have James Dean sitting at the top. It's going to be a tough order to get. He did get that 91 though in the wet. Max Cotton sits in 2nd position with an 88, and Korpolinski 3rd position with an 87 from his first run. So from that perspective, we have, a couple of drivers here that can shake that up.
Yeah, certainly so. And Axel Francois now warms up the tyres on the front and the rear of that Toyota GT86. A Toyota V8 turbo underneath the bonnet. 700 horsepower, and we know Francois, 700 horsepower, still struggles with his car ever so slightly. A few issues creeping in, and we know he competes on a budget, built the car on a budget as well. And Axel Francois maybe will feel a little bit more confident. 79, 13th place.
Very, very precise driver.
Yes.
And he had a patchy first run. So now he's got a full wet second run. I'm expecting big things.
Yeah, I am. I think this could be an absolute stormer for Axel Francois. He's going to curse him from the line through the gears he goes, and look at that big clutch kick flick as he handbrakes down, sets the car up for outside zone 1. Oh, and he drops out. You can see him on the foot brake trying to get it back in there, just can't make it work as Axel Francois pops a wheel on the edge of the curb. Starts to dial on big angle. Now he's carrying a lot of speed, but he's on the foot brake, holds on to it just about as Francois looks for outside zone 5. Big handbrake drag once again to get that car set up, and that was what crucified his score last time. A lot of handbrake drags, getting himself into those zones. There we go, up and close to the wall. Axel Francois, oh, a little tag onto the wall as Francois goes for it again. Another tag and another one again as he finishes off the tail light and across the line.
Well, he had 3 crashes in one zone, and he still put a score on the board. Impressive stuff. 360. Axel Francois knows he's safe for the show. Irregardless of the score, he has a 79 on his first run, so he's in 13th. The worst I think he can finish at this point would be somewhere around 14, 15, so it's not the end of the world. But super aggressive towards those outer zones, and to be honest, he filled them all. So judges are going to have to reward him for that.
Yeah, he certainly is. He certainly is. And there you go, as you can see him make his way back. He's happy with that one. Fist bumps in the air. He says, you know what? Yeah, happy. So there we go. 69 stays where he is, but 2 scores. And again, like you said earlier, Dave, not a lot of drivers putting 2 scores on the board.
It's a rare occurrence to see the two numbers light up without one of them being 0.
So Oliver Randalou now, the Estonian driver, sits on the line for his next qualifying run. 24th place for Randalou, 69. He was looking so confident in practice. Very, very fast. Not sure if improvement is available.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of these guys have been watching a lot of runs in the wet, so they're learning. Every run, they're watching the guys in front of them. So you see Randalou coming in very fast. He holds it, and this is the point that everyone's having him. They're going in way too hot here. He's very, very fast. He's going to come off the throttle, and he does. But he's up onto the curb, maybe just one wheel on the curb there as he now fires it the opposite direction, and he is right to the outer zones. Now this is where it's tricky. You got to dial off the angle, try and stay out as wide as you can. It does a good job, puts a wheel inside that outer zone. He'll now move closer and closer to that wall and just flexes the back bumper. Good safe run. What's the score on the board? Randalou, will he improve to 24th? I'm not sure. Bit up on the curb at outer zone 4. I mean, the judges are going to look at that and say, hey, he was kind of sitting up there.
Yeah, he had promise at the beginning of the run on the initiation, but then kind of just let a few mistakes creep in. This, for me, was very brave. Look at the way he shallowed off the angle there. You can see the steering input. Oh, I think that's 2 wheels, Dave. I think that could potentially be 2 wheels off track. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think that was 2 wheels off track. Yeah, I think it was.
The enforcer. Throwing down the big statements. 2 wheels off track. You think so?
Yeah, I just know how these guys are playing it. No, it wasn't. 75 and improves.
Yeah. Just set you up there. Let you walk into it.
And let me fall. Let me fall massively.
Straight in your face. 75 on the board for Oliver Randalou. And that's an improvement. He's even safer in 17th position. Now we move to Jack Shannon. So we are now into the top 5 drivers in the championship. Jack Shannon, big solid first run, 85 on the board. I think he left a little bit in the locker. I think he thought he would have a second run.
Yeah.
At this point in time, we have Jack Shannon in a position where he's comfortable in the car, he's confident in the car, he's also a very, very good driver in the wet. So he's going to go for it here. I think Jack Shannon right now, in his mind, believes he can beat James Dean here. 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
He is not backing down here. He's going to go into that first corner faster than you've watched any driver go through there since James Dean. I'm going to make that assumption now. But I think Jack likes qualifying. I think he likes when it's just him and the track, and he likes to go home saying he mastered that track. So let's see if he can do it.
Well, let's see if he can do it. Oh, he comes through the start line. Look at this, already firing that car on angle. Big initiation, takes down the cone right to the edge of the circuit. And you're right, Dave, he's going to go for it. Oh, but he's 2 wheels off the edge of the track. Oh, and he messes up DB's the tyre.
Yeah, he's DB'd the tyre on the back. He went a little bit too hot into that first corner. And a tyre off the rim, Jack knows instantly and says, hey, I'm not going to finish this run or risk the car. You can see here, what an initiation. Look how early he is. And you know what? He almost gets away with it just until here. Doesn't slow the car down enough. Puts 2 wheels right to the edge of the concrete. And that edge is just enough to take the tyre off the rim. And Jack Shanahan scoring a 0 in qualifying tells you the whole story of this qualifying session.
It certainly does. Certainly does, Dave. We go back to the start line to yet another GT86 with another 2 JZ and another 21-year-old behind the wheel. But this time it is the former Drift Masters European champion, is of course Adam Zalewski.
Well, here's the thing. You talk about the self-confidence of Shanahan. You talk about the belief that he can top qualifying. You know what? There's a lot of self-confidence behind Adam Zalewski as well. This is a guy who's hit so many podiums. He's an ex-Drift Masters European champion. He's got that little bit of rivalry with Jack Shanahan. Jack Shanahan's put in a 0. Wouldn't Adam Zalewski love to step up?
Oh.
Take a higher score than Jack Shanahan and beat James Dean to the top of the standings. That would be Dream Street.
I mean, you're putting it all out there, Dave. I'm just going to say it. But yeah, well, look, we know it could happen, and we know Zalewski has got what it takes. Can he do it?
Comfortable in the rain?
He is comfortable in the rain. Can he do it? Well, he's just going to get
tell. And if you know Adam Zalewski, he's in that car, cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
He's no risk. He's got an 84. He knows he's in the show. He cannot lose anything on this run. But what can he gain? He can put a statement out. He can take down James Dean.
Yeah.
He can be the guy that everyone's talking about in the paddock. He can be that guy that everyone's afraid to go up against tomorrow. And he's a psychological player, Adam Zalewski. A young kid, 21 years of age, but he's been in this sport a long time.
Yeah, he has been in this game a long time. He knows what he's doing. And like you say, it's a psychological game. He knows if he can take James Dean down, who's come in for just these 2 events, he's going to walk in and say, Adam Zalewski is going to stand there and say, look, 4th in the championship, don't want you coming in and messing up my shot of this.
Well, also, if you put an 84 down in the dry and an 84 down in the wet, like, it doesn't matter what the weather is like tomorrow. Everyone's afraid of him.
Yeah, everyone's scared.
So Adam Zalewski just waiting to have his windscreen demisted by Marcin on the start line. It's like he does full valets now as well. He's
detailing.
He's detailing it, yeah, and he's just trying to make sure that every driver can. I mean, it is terrifying going into that corner. I mean, even walking along, you only get a sense for how fast it is and how big that first corner is when you walk it.
Yeah,
and it is depth-defying that they're throwing the cars in at 150 kilometers an hour. It's crazy.
So there we go. Looks like he is almost ready to leave the line. Car sluts into gear. As you can see it jump up in the air. Adam Zalewski now ready to rock and roll. Down he comes. And Zalewski, well, is he going to make a statement or is he just going to play it safe? I think he's going to make a statement. Looks like he's going to make a big statement. Goes wide. Looks for a nice initiation. Big drag of the handbrake though. Jumps onto the foot brake. Keeps that car right to the edge of the circuit. Clinical so far from Adam Zalewski as he picks up that front clipping point, dials on the angle and he over-rotates.
Oh, and he's into the wall now. It's no damage done. And look, Shanahan and Zalewski, they're like mirror images. Neither Zalewski or Shanahan made it around the second corner. That's how tough this track is. And he's dragged quite a lot of debris onto the track, which means that for our last 3 drivers rather, that is a slippy part of the track again, and I think that's actually a big reason why everyone's spinning there.
Yeah, because of the mud.
It's the mud. It's ricocheting those stones from the gravel trap back off the conveyor and putting it back onto the track. I mean, watch this as he goes wide here. Watch how much debris goes back onto the circuit. Boom, muck everywhere. You can see it all over the circuit, and the guy's going to come down and sweep it, but you can't sweep that mud.
No, you can't get that off of the track. So this is going to be a task now for our guys to make sure it's clean.
This guy's got one dry, part of his glasses, one wet. That sums up qualifying.
He's not even a rain jacket, nothing. He's just happy to be here. Hardcore.
He's
hardcore fans.
But it's not super cold here. It's still quite humid. But I mean, if you look at the weather from this morning to now, it seems like a completely different planet.
Yeah,
because we were sweltering, we were melting, we were like, this is so hot, and now it's raining and a little bit breezy.
Yep.
And I think it's going to continue this pattern for the weekend. I think we are in a situation where we have, anyone can win this. And one guy that wants to win this is Adam Zalewski, and Becky's with him now.
Adam, not quite how you wanted to end up your second qualifying run. What did you think when you got to that outer zone? Were you like, oh, I'm going in?
To be honest, when I went to the inner clip, I was like, yeah, everything is fine and so on. And then, like, my rear axle just like dropped, and I was like, okay, not big speed, so I think nothing much happened like with the car. So I'm going back to the pits, and hopefully tomorrow we will have a little bit of better weather, right? But yeah, it was a mistake. So what can I say?
What were you thinking when you were on the start line? Were you going to change your approach? Were you like, okay, I'm going to come in really fast with a shallow angle, or were you going to go slightly slower with like a bigger angle?
To be honest, I didn't expect like to be so icy on this place where I hit, and yeah, that was just a mistake, and I think I couldn't predict that. So it is how it is, and let's see tomorrow, and whole weekend will be just better.
I saw you watching the screen as you went into the wall there. Were you just trying to see, oh, what's damaged? Maybe this, maybe that?
Yeah, I was looking at the car, at the rear of the car, and just to see if it's much, if it has a lot of damage. But I think it's all fine, and I also looked the way I crashed, because from inside it's just different perspective. So yeah, I was just interested in that.
For everybody at home, you have to explain to them these cars are built so incredibly safe. So obviously you did have a little tap, but you didn't feel it too much inside the car?
No, to be honest, we have all kinds of systems inside. So like the hand system, really safe helmets, the suits, also the shoes. So it's a lot of safety, as you can see. I also have like the really thick bout, so nothing much can happen when I accidentally hit the wall, let's say. And yeah, it's pretty much really safe in here, so I'm very happy.
Well, Adam, you're in the show. It's going to be a good day tomorrow. We wish you good luck, and I hope the car's not too bad.
Hopefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. I'm not going to breeze by something here, Ian. The man watched himself crash on a screen. He was spinning around, looked up at the screen, saw himself crash, so he could check out how much damage was done to the car.
That's a wise man.
You got to be pretty cool for that. You got to be pretty like, oh, you know. You check the car out from the replay himself, and then I'll go back into the pips.
Yeah,
so a 0 for Adam Zalewski, obviously facing the wrong way on the track. He ain't going to score for that, leaving us with 3 drivers remaining in qualifying and a big cleanup as we try and move some of the water. It's been a real tough day on those marshals down there. They have been pushing water around all over the place. They have been wet and mud and oil. And I mean, it's been a long qualifying session.
Yeah.
But it's been quite an interesting one.
It's been a very, very long qualifying session, you know. But what can we do? You know, this is what happens. We are part and parcel of this. The weather can change in an instant, and it has all day today, and it's absolutely thrown some spanners in the works, especially for a lot of our guys. Look, I'm looking across at the monitor now, Dave, and it says Benedictus Gerber currently sits in 28th place with a 66. He is 3rd in the points, and he's 28th place qualifier.
And you know what I want to see? I want to see the battle grid for tomorrow, because it's absolutely
going to
all over
be
the place.
carnage.
Because you're going to have to look at the fact that normally, you know, your top 8 qualifiers aren't going to meet each other until, you know, top 8 or so.
Yeah.
But now, as you said, Benedictus Gerber is in 28th. I think Peter Wiańczek is way down the order as well. I think he's got to improve on his score. Obviously, he gets another shot, but he's in 25th. So, you know, championship leader's in 25th at the moment in qualifying. Your 2nd place championship contender, Conor Shannon, is in 37th out of the top 32. And the man in 3rd place in the championship is in 28th. So, well, there's no predicting that.
I mean, no.
I mean, the only predictable thing, you know, and the 16-year-old Max Cotton, who struggled at round 1 and 2, is in 2nd place, and then business as usual for James Dean in 1st. But imagine, at the moment, James Dean is right down. You know, if you look at the bracket, he's going to start meeting up with those big championship contenders early, and James Dean could decide a lot of championship hopefuls, you know, where they end up, because they're going to hit big battles early on. They could even hit, you know, battles against each other very early on.
Well,
so Chirba's in a position where he's got to get up the order here to get away from the drop zone.
He certainly has, and there he is, sits on the line, ready to rock and roll. We see him warming up the tyres. Benedictus Gerber, I mean, 28th place, he has to improve. The championship is within reach right now still. He comes through the chicane down. Looks like the rain's still hammering down here in Riga as Benedictus Gerber looks to improve on a 66. Can he get himself higher up in the order? He's certainly going to go for it. He's stuck the back wheels into outside zone 1, hammers down on the throttle as he looks for outside zone 2 and does it absolutely textbook. Picks up out inside zone 3, shallows off the angle, dials it on a little bit more just as he makes his way through. Now looks for 5. This is a very nice run from Benedictus Gerber. This could go up there. This could be in the top 5 if he can get the back end of that E92 Eurofighter to the wall, and he certainly looks like he's going to go for it. Benedictus Gerber is going up there for the top 5, and he takes it across the line.
Well, you know what? To me, this was the biggest test of his, you know, is he really a contender? Is he really a championship contender? That was the test off the line there. And if you are a championship contender, you've got to take on these challenges and come through them. It's got to be your year. Out to the edge of the circuit, painting the white line with the rear wheels. But you know what? He still has a level of control here, a level of tentativeness. He locks there just to make sure he's getting the outer zones. And this is the clever part. Puts very little angle at this point. He's watched so many people spin. He said, not me, not today. And he even gets out to that outer zone fairly early compared to everybody else. So I think it's going to be a good score. I think he's definitely going to improve. But from my perspective, it shows more about his level of driving ability. And 84 puts him into 7th. He's now back in the conversation of an event winner. And that, to me, if he was down in 26th, 27th, he might be out. And think about it. Cherba says, I'm in the running, guys. And now you've got Biancek and Shanahan left to go, who are both under big pressure. All the drama coming at the end. Conor Shanahan is outside the top 32. He cannot afford a spin. He cannot afford 2 wheels off. He cannot afford any big mistakes, because if he does, his championship may be over. He talked in the interview with Becky about not showing that, the nerves. Got to ignore it. Treat it like it's practice. But he's praying. He's praying for a little bit of luck, because his championship, I think, in this wet and windy evening in Latvia is on the line.
He certainly is. Sits on the line, ready to rock and roll. The dryer goes down, the bonnet gets checked, the lights start to illuminate. Shanahan's championship hangs in the balance as the track starts to dry. The steam rises here in Latvia as Conor Shanahan smashes through the gears. Can he get it done? One run to make it happen. Big early initiation. He's going for it, Dave. He's going for it. Look at this. Sticks to back wheel in outside zone 1. On the foot brake, balancing it perfectly. Goes for a nice early transition. Not what the judges were looking for, but he's going to make it happen. He needs points on the board right now. Tentative again in outside zone 4. Keeps all 4 wheels on the black stuff as he transitions into outside zone 5. Look how slow he's going. He's going to get absolutely crucified on points, but he doesn't matter. He just needs to get 66 points to get in to top 32. He sacrifices outside zone 6. He's going to get to the wall very late, right to the end of the circuit, tags the back end on the wall and across the line. Has he done enough?
Taking no chances whatsoever. A lot of left foot braking, not letting the car get away from it. Clever driving for a very young driver to say, I know I'm going to get, hurt on my score for slowing a little bit through the course, but at least I know I can't spin or put 2 wheels off if I'm in that level of control. Now it comes down to the judges. What are they going to score him? The line was perfect the whole way around. He did as good as anyone's done in the rain. The only thing I would say is a lot of left foot braking, especially in this particular part. He knew this is the toughest part of the track. Look at that. He's so precise, just puts a wheel up on the curb, comes off the front brake there, and as I said, on the front brake again coming through this last section. Played it safe, played it clever. Let's see if it pays off from the judges' scores will drop in, and we'll know if Conor Shanahan is in the top 32. He is. Into 19th position he goes with a 75. You could hear from the way he drove away the relief from the Shanahan camp that he's still in the game. It leaves us with 1 driver remaining in qualifying, and that driver happens to be undefeated this year so far.
Well, he's in undefeated, but right now he kind of feels defeated. Peter Vincek sits way down the order, 27th place, I do believe you said to me earlier on, Dave. That may have changed ever so slightly now.
No, he's in 27th.
Shanahan, 27th place for Peter Vincek, sits on the line. He wants this championship. He's leading the points. He comes through the gate. The spotters would have said to him, you need to go for broke. Get yourself up there, or you could be meeting some of these heavy hitters early on. Big flick across the track as Peter Vincek gets the rear wheels into the outside zone, looking absolutely pinpoint perfect. Transitions early once again, gets in to outside zone 2, picks up. Now this is the treacherous part. Can he hold on to it? Fires big angle at it, holds on to it. How many wheels were still on the tarmac? We'll find out on another replay. As Peter Vincek makes his way down, looks for the wall, gets himself into outside zone 6, shallows up the angle massively. Very tentative from the Polish driver as he puts back bumper to wall, and Peter Vincek rounds out qualifying here at round 3 of the 2021 Drift Masters European Championship.
I mean, look, he did what he needed to do. He put a run in. It wasn't perfect. He did throw caution to the wind. He did throw some big angles in there, and he's showing off for his team and the fans. He's safe into battle action. Remember, you can qualify first. You don't always win the event. But he wants to show James Dean and all the other guys up there at the top end of the qualifying bracket that he's in the game here. But the question is, how many wheels did he put off the track? And it was close. He went pretty wide. 1 went up, 1 went off. I think that's 1 wheel off the track, but it's a deduction from the judges.
Yeah, it's definitely 1 wheel.
There is that curb is a good 4 or 5, about 3 or 4 feet wide.
Yep.
So it's seen as an error. And then a lot of what I'm looking at right now is the unpredictability of what happens tomorrow when you put 2 cars together here. What happens if this is the case? I mean, it's a lottery. I mean, if you're trying to, I like the way that Peter went out to the wall there, but look, gripped up straight away. That part of the track, so hard to negotiate. Look at this right at the end. This is precise though, very precise. On the front brake, just dialing it in. Biancek doing a great job. And I think he's going to jump up the order here, but I don't think he's going to jump anywhere near the top.
Well,
we're about to find out.
We're about to find out, Dave. We wait for the score to drop in. Peter Vincek, your championship points leader at the moment. The scores drop in. 75, 18th position, mid-pack. He's in the show. But tomorrow's going to be a tough day for that man.
It is, and he's going to hit some big names early on. So if he wants this championship, or if you're another driver in the championship, you're delighted because he's going to start hitting big names early on in the top 32. It's going to be such a game of chess tomorrow. I cannot wait to see it. And of course, we'll be able to check back through now how everybody did in qualifying in a wet and wild Riga here at round 3. Back-to-back rounds this weekend, round 3 and round 4. Remember, exclusively on Red Bull TV tomorrow. You can watch the top 32, and then we've got everything on Sunday. But here we are. Here's what happened today. James Dean, business as usual, 91 points, tops qualifying. Max Cotton, 16 years of age, in second, and Korpelinski in a brand new car in third position. Jack Shannon had to do it on his first run, spun out in a second in fourth, and the reaction from these drivers right now is, you can see Max Cotton there, absolutely delighted. Second place in his second ever, European weekend. Incredible stuff. And Laurie Heinen, another name there, jumping in as a wild card. There you have it. All the guys stacking in for tomorrow's top 32. Some big names, some big casualties. 24 drivers eliminated, and some of those eliminated in dramatic fashion. We've had guys jumping in, like Pavel Grosz in the top 10, who have a car in half in the pits right now with a crash. Wiancek, the big story though, 18th position. Connor Shannon second in the championship, 20th position. But they're all in, they're all safe, and they're all ready. And our championship contenders are all in the mix for top 32 tomorrow. And there you have it. Michael Reichardt just squeezed in. A lot of guys on 66 down there, just all in that sort of drop zone area. Just about both Red Bull Drift Brothers getting in, or sorry, Joe Hutunji being eliminated, Ellie getting in, and Michael Reichardt going back out on the track, vlogging away and looking for pieces of his car. What an incredible display of driving, and it's been a tough one. It's been tough for everybody involved. It's been tough for the drivers. It's been tough for the judges to decipher a lot of the rule book used, Ian. And from where I'm sitting right now, there'll be a lot of thinking in the paddock tonight about what are the conditions tomorrow. A lot of looking at the radar. And you know what? I'm as excited as anybody to see what happens. Becky, it's been wet, it's been wild, thrills and spills, but we rounded up qualifying, and we are looking so forward to tomorrow.
Well, there you have it, guys. That was our qualifying session. It was wet, it was wild, but look, we've got our top 32 battles decided. We've got the cat amongst the pigeons with James Dean coming back. He's just done one round in Drift Masters this year, and it's really shook things up for people. But look, we had a huge grid of drivers, 56 cars out there, whittled down to just 32. So let's have a look at the bracket here. So we have James Dean with Michael Reichardt, Juha Poitalaxko with Sebastian Fontin, Adam Zaleski and Juha Rintanen, Marco Zaccaril with Martin Richards, Jack Shanahan with Victor Juensu, Dragos Hipki with Connor Shanahan, Laurie Heinen, Kevin Piscolti, Tor Arne Kavir with Max Heidrich. Now to the other side, we have Max Cotton with Elias Hutunji, Nico Matala with Peter Wiancek, Benedictus Cherba with Ivo Siroulis, Pavel Grosz with Felix Lindvall, Pavel Korpelinski with Nodu Kodua, Axel Francois, Olivier Randulu, Oren Nielsen, Mikolai Zakruski, Krzysztof Romanowski with Stephen Bagsy out there. My goodness, what a lineup tomorrow, guys. Hopefully the weather is going to pick up so we won't have to be down here in the rain. But look, it's going to be absolutely huge, action-packed. Make sure that you join us on Red Bull TV tomorrow. We'll be kicking off at 3:15. Make sure you check it out. Thanks so much, guys. Good night.